into the finals. It's a David and Goliath face-off that will forge legacies and the final contender for the Summoners Cup. On one side, the reigning LCK champions who once sat atop the world and are on the precipice of regaining that glory. And facing them are a squad that has gone the distance, fighting all the way from Mexico City on the road to San Francisco. Give it up for Gen G and DRX! Starting from the top, facing former teammates and...
Ya ves que Captain Jack no me inspira demasiada confianza, así que bueno, creo que le pueden matar fácil.
Estamos viendo cuáles son realmente los dos protagonistas de este 2 contra 2. Bien la jaula sobre Faker una vez más. No tiene limpiar, se mete casco absolutamente todo.
¡Vamos!
Faker que va muriendo. La primera sangre que se la lleva Alex el Capo. Alex el Capo ha matado a Faker. Alex el Capo ha matado a Faker. El limpiar de Captain Jack se escapa muy poquita vida. Se ha muerto Caps también, pero guardad esto.
Creo que
Alex el Capo ha matado a Faker.
Habéis sacado guiazo, ¿no? El gif. Lo que ha pasado después no importa. Lo que ha pasado, da igual.
Mira, ya está, me doy por satisfecha. Pero es que va a volver a suceder.
Me da un poco de rabia porque
Faker vuelve a línea sabiendo que esto se va a repetir.
Tendrían que haber, o sea, cuando han conseguido la kill, echarse para atrás, curarse y no regalar la segunda, ¿no? Porque, o sea, la kill que le han regalado a la dupla coreana. Creo que estaba ya la jugada bastante bien, pero han querido ir a por todas. Y no sé si esto les va a pasar factura. Creo que conseguir una kill lo tiene más fácil una Morgana con Lissandra, que en este caso que la consiga tanto Faker como Captain Jack. Pero tienen que intentar aprovechar también la ventana de tiempo que tienen hasta que recuperen sobre todo ese limpiar.
Mira, Lissandra ya es 6. Faker, ni Faker ni Captain Jack
una bola de nieve, una bola de nieve skill.
Una bola de nieve, una jaula como esa que ha pasado rozando de la oreja a Faker, al tricampeón del mundo, que está pasando las canutas contra Alex el Capo, se lo está explicando. El español aquí, dominando en el abismo de los lamentos. Los quieren buscar en todo momento. Vamos a ver cuánto queda para la siguiente bola de nieve, porque Caps también está bastante travieso. Alex el Capo se tiene que adelantar, ¿no? Empezar a amenazar con la siguiente jaula. Ahí lo teníamos. Querían buscar a Capitán ya, que tampoco tiene ese limpiar disponible. Pero cuidado porque tenemos ya cadenas de corrupción. También tenemos la definitiva por parte de Faker, que puede hacer bastante daño desde muy lejos. Y al final esto es importante, ¿no? Te escapas a uno de vida, utiliza la R-Cheraz.
Y lo importante es que en Farm también están ahí, ¿eh? En Farm también están ahí. Y con,
no se puede ganar
y con la presión que está metiendo también tanto Caps como Alex el Capo, creo que pueden denegar incluso algún que otro minion más porque tienen que jugar muy por detrás, ¿eh? Saben del riesgo que sufren.
No. Ahí se va a meter Lissandra con absolutamente todo. Podría llegar la prisión glacial. Finalmente se guarda la definitiva. Alex el Capo muy debilitado. El cronómetro que es bastante bueno, pero esto va a ser kill para Faker y Captain Jack. ¿Qué ha hecho Caps? ¿Qué ha hecho Caps?
¿Quién eres?
¡Pero Caps!
¿Quién eres?
¡No, Caps!
¿Quién eres, Caps? ¿Qué ha hecho? ¿Pero quién es ese tío? O sea, Alex estaba jugando perfecto. Y viene el niño este. Madre mía. Venga, celebra, venga.
His opponent has waited 8 years to return to the semi-final stage. A man who broke free of the past to claim the future. DRX's Death! Backing up these teams are two of the most innovative players in their role. First up, a man who warps the meta and forces his opponents to find an answer. Gen G's Lehens. And for DRX, a world champion who's risen to the occasion when his team needed him most. Give it up for Barrow. will ascend to the championship stage, and the other will fall just short of the finish line. Atlanta, let me hear you make some noise for your semi-finalists, Gen G and DRX!
Man, do I love a good introduction before a best of 5. Thank you very much, Dash. 10 players on the stage, coaches soon to join them. I'm Dracos, this is Cadril. We're going to be bringing you the cast all day long, and I'm really just looking for 5 games.
Yeah, me too. The stage is even shaking when the music and such and all the voice and hype's coming through. So we're hyped. Everyone in the arena is hyped. It's going to be an incredible matchup. We're hoping for 5 games, but it looks like right now Gen G are the favorites.
And we heard yesterday a little bit of the momentum for DRX. You see how strong the bonds are between the players. They've certainly surpassed every ceiling that has been labeled upon them in the past. Maybe they can do it again, but when you look at Gen G, it's not explosive success, it's consistent success. When your team is built around names like Chovy and Ruler, you know every single game is going to be good.
Probably the 2 most reliable carries in the world, right? They have such a high skill ceiling as well, but we're already straight into the draft. And there goes Meryl's hybriding her off the get-go. Yumi's taken away, so they don't want to deal with Lehens' Yumi. As much as he's such a good player at countering the Yumi with the Singe and such, he's also one of the best Yumi players in the world, I think, too. There's the Akali ban. Sylas is the question. Gen G on blue side could choose not to ban Sylas and first pick it away from Zeka, and we'll see what he has as an answer. Lucian taken away, of course. Ruler Lehen's probably the best Lucian Navi as well in the world. There's a lot of fantastic players here on specific champs, and there's the Aatrox ban.
Absolutely. The 2 big questions coming into this series were, would Zeka get one of his signature picks thus far, and what will the bot lane meta look like? Already Gen G trying to solve a bit of that puzzle by taking the Heimer, and of course DRX responding with the Lucian and the Yumi. How wacky is the bot lane gonna get?
Caitlyn is still up, and Caitlyn's a champ that's often banned against death. I wonder if that's something that DRX will look into on the 1-2. We saw a Filios Lulu with Lucian Nami yesterday. This last ban will tell it all, but they're going to take away the Caitlyn. They don't want Ruler to have it. Maybe they don't have a confident enough counter into it. So now you have to imagine a Filios Bio is very high up, but there's the Sylas pick denial we expected. Zeka is going to have to find something to match it with. We've seen his Azir and Orianna. Control mages, he looks good on. Yep. But on these mages like bruiser mages like Sylas and Akali, he looks world class on.
And they highlighted it on the desk. They looked back a while to the Seraphine game we played previously, and while it was still a fantastic individual performance, we know that this team looks so much stronger, so much more in control when he is on a playmaker in the mid lane, and that certainly is a playmaker, certainly an explosive one that Chovy is no stranger to, as he has pulled it out of the mid lane once already, but instead, perhaps, the more conservative choice, Azir, now locked in.
Gonna go back to comfort there. So they've got the Sejuani flex, the Azir into the Sylas. Graves, the champion that we overlooked a little bit, but this isn't a champion that stands out to us as these are the 2 junglers that would take it. You know, Canyon, Kanavi would be the players that would instantly lock that champion. A little bit of a Kane hover there to shout Canyon out. Diego, another really powerful carry jungle in the current meta. And they're going to round it out with Varus. I expect DRX here. They could just select the full top side here, picking their jungler to match the Diego. Something like Graves could work really well. But with the Sejuani, you really want a meaty jungler. So picking AD carry here is also an option.
Debating. Scrolling for the option. It is going to be the Camille. Strong pick, certainly when you can back it up with double bans as well. A lot of the counters can just be taken off the board. Kingen, notorious carry player, not necessarily always getting the attention in draft, but this time around they're willing to sacrifice bot lane on the side of DRX just to make sure that he has a comfortable matchup, and already the Renekton taken off the board.
I wonder if they ban away Jax. Doran doesn't really have any Jax games in summer. GP could be a good ban depending on what AD carry they're looking for. If they're looking for something immobile, but they're actually just going to leave a Renekton ban and then start the target towards bot lane. Renata's so powerful. We saw it from T1 yesterday, the Varus Renata bot side. Ashe taken away from Death. His options getting slimmer and slimmer here. Aphelios still up. Could be a fallback for him, but we've seen a plethora of champions from Death. They're not afraid to play things like Ezreal Karma. We've seen his MF, we've seen his Tristana, we've seen his Draven. Even though he had not had a single win on it back against the wall, he was confident enough to pull it out. So I think DRX have a lot of champions to choose from. There's the Karma ban to stop the Ezreal Karma push into this Varus.
And I like it because they've taken away 2 of the champions who are so good at taking lane priority. Varus, notoriously strong early game, Karma and Ashe. 2 of the champions that really can't contest him now. We're going to see the Misfortune locked in. This champion, in the hands of most of this tournament, has looked lackluster. Ruler himself, alongside Lehens, pulling it out and looking clean. against down 1 Kia last week. We'll see if Def can repeat some of that success and what the pairing is going to be alongside Beryl.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going into the realm of melee supports here. Lulu is up, but I'm not sure if they want to go for something like the Varus Lulu. We saw how vulnerable Lulu can be against champions like Camille with the full dive. Varus Thumb Pinch is a much better option to keep your Varus safe against the Camille, so your support is a lot more beefy and a lot less likely to get picked off. Now it's just a case of top lane. Does he go for something like the GP? Jax is a good pick, Yora's a good pick, but these aren't really the champions that we've seen out of Thorin. We've mostly seen, you know, the likes of Camille and Renekton and Maokai and Gnar, but he is going to be confident enough to lock the Fiora in. I think that's his first Fiora game of summer.
When we talk about Doran, we talk so often about team play and team fighting. His laning phase is solid, yes, but there we are. Soraka going to be the call here against the Tom Kench. The silence incredibly powerful. Again, more curveballs being thrown by the DRX bottom lane.
Oh, you love to see it. Going for the Soraka there. Normally in the Tam Kench lanes, I see the Varus Tom actually get pushed to the Soraka, but the Soraka will be so powerful in keeping the front line alive. If DRX have a little bit of dive with, of course, the Camille Sejuani, and with the Camille ult, we saw yesterday from T1, you could beat Nami and Lucian with the Camille, and as the Camille would ult, the Nami ult would come over the top of that. Here you've got an MF ult and a Soraka silence that can come over the top of that as well, so they don't have as much dive to follow up, but they have the range of abilities and ultimates to help King and out when he singles out that one target.
And that is an alpaca in the audience. Pleasure to see you, sir. Don't know how you got out of the petting zoo, but you're more than welcome here. Of course, in this first game, lane phase is going to be massive because we really need to see some of those explosive discrepancies are going to show themselves. And of course, struggled against Canyon, the Canyon best in the world. We're going to have to see if Kyoto is up to the task to match him in this game. Peanut notorious for creative early game pathing. If he can find an angle somewhere on the map, he will double lead.
Definitely will, and he's going to have to find Kyosik. I think Kyosik will be hovering on the top side of the map. Needs to cover bot here to get push out for the Soraka. I think their 3v3 will be innately weaker, but the Camille Sejuani is such a strong pairing. Problem is the Fiora will innately outscale the Camille in isolation, so they do need to focus top side. And of course, we saw that Def is the AD carry with the lowest jungle proximity in the entire tournament, and Ruler is first. So we expect Kyosik to be playing around the mid-top side. Has the Sejuani, a lot stronger at 6 to help the Azir out, but double AP in the mid-jungle will make it so Chobi's life is a little bit easier. But here we are, Game 1. Gen G DRX semi-finals.
Loving the crowd here in Atlanta. Every game significant. Remember, DRX has not beaten Gen G this year. It's about small steps. DRX have yet to falter, finding the reverse sweep, finding their way out of every single stage. We'll see if they can do that again today. Tracking early again. Early passing, early impact of these games can be so important as we move on. And more often than not, we're very used to talking about mid and bottom lane deals of these two teams, but with the Camille locked in, with the potential for Sejuani to go topside, we're also going to have to pay some attention to Kingen and Doran as well.
Definitely are. I think topside is going to be the majority of the focus. Oftentimes when you're a jungler and you don't have many options in lanes, Peanut right here, bot lane is not a great option, a little bit of setup. The topside, you need to cover your Fiora. The 2v2 you might lose, but you need to make sure at least you're around to stop any kind of pushing out waves, to set up ganks, any kind of dives if you get good wave states. So both junglers will have to go to topside. Now there's the pink ward, number 1 place down there from Kyosik as we go in the river, just to make sure there's no level 2, level 3 shenanigans towards mid onto Zeka. It's also a ward on the other side of the entrance, so Zeka will have a lot of information to work with. Bot push will be contested oftentimes to see if Tam Kench get the stacks to actually get the push in. So that's why, despite being in a range disadvantage, they can start to push the first couple of waves.
And that's why early vision can be so incredibly crucial, just getting control of those following crushes, stopping Tam Kench from using his ludicrously high base stats. We saw Keria do so well earlier in the tournament. For now, though, a relatively quiet laning phase. Zek getting level 2 first, big health advantage over Chobi. For now, the pressure advantage might be able to deny a few CS here. On the bottom side, of course, Def and Beryl doing everything they can to get level 2 first.
Pretty good trades there by Zeka. Kyosik will be first to level 3. He's done Blue Gromp Wolf, so he'll be level 3 moving into the top side if he wants to look for invades, but top wave's not in a great state. He doesn't have information on the jungler, so we're probably expecting full clears from both sides here. But mid is under pressure. That pink ward could pay dividends there if Peanut went into bot river and tried to gank Zeka, but Zeka has so much information so that he can trade so aggressively onto Chovy and start to queue forward. That's the thing with the Azir. The second you queue forward, the majority of your escape is gone.
It certainly is. Something we'll have to track. Of course, now that level 3 is here as well, has access to the shifting sands, the E, allow him to get back out to safety for the most part, but would want to extend that dash if necessary. Hence clearing out what they can while they wait for the wave to crash, knowing they're not really in a position to contest right at this moment. Of course, you can see Def not opting for a second combat stun, opting instead to take the cleanse. Once level 6 comes around for Ruler, it's going to be so much harder for DRX to weather the storm in the bottom lane.
Just a little bit more setup than isn't there, so Peanut's can pay a visit. Right now he's going for a full clear. Looks like P06's going to focus on his Krug, so he'll get to level 4, whereas Peanut wants to secure this early trap. Now that does mean if P06 base and goes to bot side, he'll be able to trade, otherwise Peanut gets the same double trap. So level up comes through. What's P06's decision here? Does he base or does he move towards mid and move towards top? Looks like he'll go for roll here, but the trap goes gone. He's being sneaky here. They didn't spot him with the sweeper plan. This is an amazing position for the Sejuani. If he can just wait a little bit, hug this wall, and sneak up the side here, they could have set up onto Doran.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh! No, they spot him! Okay, wait, do they back up? Do they know? Yes, they do. Doran walking away.
Yeah, pings are coming down. Splinter Cell failed this time around, but Doran walked up with a creep.
Stepping forward, keep your eyes on the parry. That's going to be everything. So Phosphor is going to go initially getting locked up. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the stacks, waiting it out. They're going to lock up Doran now, but they don't have the follow-up. Now Peanut into the thick of it. 3 stacks on him. 4th, not quite going to come out. DRX backing away, top lane and jungle matching each other.
Really good patience there from Kingen. He actually uses the hook shot to go in front of Doran, intentionally missing him, knowing that he will repose, so he actually gets distance in front of him to force his flash. Wave will crash, Kingen will get a good base, and that could have backfired incredibly quickly if the ward wasn't placed, and River just spotted out P06 at the last second of it. Voltcrab is still up though, and P06 knows it. He's gone for the boots early, and he's trying to run down there to pick that up as quickly as possible. TP back from every solo laner right now so far, except for Kingen, who still needs to take that base. Def and Ruler coming on a base as well.
Tracking the itemization as well. Early scenes for Fiora and effective combat stats, but does have the passive, has that extra damage to come through in the trades. See what DRX can do with that advantage on the top side of the map, having that flash down, having that TP down, and while the TPs will be traded, we're looking at a 5-minute window where Doran's going to feel much more vulnerable, but it is one they have to capitalize on. It's unrealized advantage yet.
It is, and King will take that base. 2v2 will always be in favor of the Camille Sejuani as long as neither of them makes the mistake of fighting into the Fiora post. You know, Sejuani needs to time her E so that Fiora can't W it with range, and Camille can never use her hook shot into the Fiora if it's up. Patience is key when you're playing against Fiora, so DRX showing it already. Bot wave will push in there. DRX had a small window for Drake if they had bot push, but they don't right now, so abandoning that full. P06 just going to go for another full clear towards top side. The closer he gets to level 6, the easier it is to make these plays.
Certainly the case. You can see on the early back, Ruler opting instead of going for something like sustain to match up advantage on the side of Death, opting for triple longsword, extra AD, trying to push more of the individual advantage in trade for us. Notoriously super oppressive. Courtesy was slow, the extra damage coming from the procs as well.
Looking at pings here, I think DRX were scared of some kind of top dive. The wave was crashing and there was a lot of assist with pings, so P06 are out. Kingen doesn't have to sweat too much, and Doran will take a base on that crashing wave. You can see these things happen where you get mid-push, you go into fog of war on one side, and all of a sudden that side lane is incredibly scared. But in actual essence, what you're doing is just basing anyway. So that's just a pressure point that you can use to keep your base timers up, and then that'll help Doran get a base lead onto King. And bot lane trading a little bit. Of course, Soraka has really good sustain. The more Qs she lands, I think he might be maxing Q there. The amount of damage that just did.
Definitely good to have Peanut now for some sort of play here, just on the bottom side. Ruler coming up as well. Chobu with the stone is 0. P06 in the area. That's a massive fan advantage inside of Genji if they do want to go for this play. Peanut now stepping forward. Zeka realizing it is time to get out, but it's P06 now who has been caught. Trying to step forward, trying to body block the escape. Stun going to come in, but will not find purchase there. Failing on the riposte big. Good patience again from P06.
And that's the beauty of phase rush on the Sejuani, especially when the enemy team has so many melee champs. I hold my breath for a second here because Ruler.
The root locked up. That's the root. Barrel from the bush, and the bananas are coming in. That's going to be a flash out and over the wall.
Oh, double summoners blown there from Ruler, trying to get a couple of those creeps trade onto Def, but Barrel being sneaky. Soraka in the bush finds the silence, and Roots Def not in range to follow up. But that's another target for DRX. These side lanes don't have flashes. They just need to bring a numbers advantage and force it, or look for an objective. You know, Herald's up in 30 seconds. If they want to force a 5v5, or if they want to force this Drake 5v5, then they can easily do so, because the Sejuani will be getting closer and closer to that level 6 mark. Always easily select the target inside. There it is, the level up to P06.
If you look at the game from DRX's perspective, a lot of small advantage going over to them. Now they're going to try to capitalize on them. Lands waiting in the brush. P06 now going in. This should be an easy kill. There's just everybody in the bot lane. Surprise, baby! That's a Camille and first blood for DRX.
That was such a good play by Kingen. He got helped out by P06 in the 2v2 top side to force Doran's flash. The wave crashed, Doran has to catch it and base and TP back. Kingen could run back to that lane. So what he does then is he pays his bot side back by ganking down there and then TPing back up. Problem is though is, oh, I think he stole it. Did he just take that one away from Pyosik? Oh my, he did that. That hurts.
I mean, he's the ruler for a reason.
He is.
The man don't miss.
The man don't miss. That's a crab over to Ruler. Pyosik's gonna start off the dragon. Is Furus.
Soloing the Herald.
Yeah, soloing the Herald here, Doran, knowing that they need to cross map quickly.
And remember that Camille is just coming up top lane to catch this massive wave. There's still a CS difference, so it was not without cost. The Kingen went down to the bottom lane that he got in that first blood, but it's a trade objective for Ruler. No,
not again.
You can't do this to them.
No, he has a 900 damage smite. He can't steal this.
There's Forest Q does a lot of damage. Charge? Okay. All right.
Doesn't have the damage. Good smite.
Everybody-
Pyosik being safe, and it's a trade of neutrals. Herald over to Gen G, Dragon over to DRX. Question is, where will they use this Herald? You have to expect it to be topside. Peanut doing a little bit of counter jungling. Red buff's up. Pyosik will spot him, but there's a ward there, so Peanut knows he's around. Chovy has mid push.
Also difficult. The red buff is up and available. Similarly, the empowered recall allows him to get out quite quickly.
Oh, this is one of those moments where you have to find him. You know he's in your jungle somewhere, but the actual fact he's based with the Herald, so Pyosik will check his camps and make sure he's safe, and we'll clear those up.
It's the second time you've highlighted that, but the absence of information, what could be waiting for you in far forward, you always have to respect it. Guy Chovy spotted as he returns to mid, getting that information from the Zeka. You take stock of the lane state and CS lead from the top side of the map. Bot lane very much in favor of Def on the back of early lane pressure as well as that positive sum trade. So overall, things are going pretty well right now.
Oh,
that was side of TRX.
That was really smart from Deft. He knew Ruler was hugging the wall, so he couldn't go up, so he actually ulted right through the wave in his face, knowing the only way he could run is backwards. So he used the E first to slow him. Gets a really good trade and takes the base, and now he'll run back the lane as quick as possible with that 20 CS lead and keep up the pressure. Still no summoners on that bot side. 3 minutes, 40 seconds away from the dragon. We expect the game to be slow like this because on one side, DRX have a fantastic scaling with Azir and Soraka and things like this. Really good team fight with the map. And Gen G want to scale because they're playing safe with Varus Tom, and the Fiora will do well into the Fiora the later the game goes. The later the game goes.
Certainly the case. And I like what we're seeing as well from Deft in terms of itemization. Early GT has been super popular, allows you to mitigate a lot of trading, as well as just raw AD for your ultimate. But most importantly, the dreamy life of any MF main is just don't have to buy boots. Feels good. Just strut your way back to lane, although it could come to haunt it depending on how aggressive Lehens wants to get.
Deft's been holding the breeze here for so long. Feral gonna stop Chovy's base. And speaking so of Genji's ruler, it feels Genji's bot lane where it feels so exposed when they walk up and try to push out these waves and crash them. Especially given that Freeman's covering top of the majority of the time. But I think what DRX are saying now is they want a Herald somewhere and we need to match it. So Feral's looking for information through the map. Because Deft's freezing bot here, Ruler says we're not going to go back down there. We're going to run towards the top side, go forward here, and likely place the Herald down. So DRX are ready to respond, ready to cover. We'll see what Zeka's movement is here. Because he could TP up to this tower to help the defense. We'll see what Deft does as well. He's going to hold the freeze, he's going to fast push. Peanut stepping forward.
Peanut, the patience here, waiting till he's got backup so they cannot collapse on him. Does not overplay his hand. Thorn and Ruler now stepping forward. DRX doing what they can to clear the wave for now. Certainly do not have the best tools to stop this push from happening.
This is a really good map read here from DRX. They just stopped the Herald in its tracks. They can't place it now, Gen G. It's an even numbers, and Chovy's gone towards bot with no unleashed TP, meaning Zeka has the mid push. But they need to force something. The second this wave dies, that's it. The play's off, and they have 2 minutes left for plates.
And a reminder that so many creeps are dying. So much money that Gen G could have had is dying on that bottom side of the map, is dying in the mid lane as we see Chovy return back. So DRX being there not only stops the Herald, but takes so much potential income away from the side of Gen G.
Might just have to be a case of Peanut placing it either top or mid to get gold for himself. But eventually DRX will have to back off of this top side because Deft is still bot. So if they just keep rinse and repeating, DRX will back away. And now with this wave coming in, the Herald will like to be put down. The gold will be funneled over to Ruler, who's struggling. It's interesting that Gen G don't give the gold to Doran. Doran's ahead and he's going to outscale. Ruler is behind. Let's give him as much gold as possible.
That's just the power of the nameplate. It's not about the champion, it's about the player. In this case, gold going to be split a little bit here. Deft on the bottom side walking away from the Fiora. Pyosik taking a decent amount of poke, and Gen G doing what they can to keep this siege up. Plates are still going to be up for another minute. Right now, the gold within touching distance, 200 gold for the Ocean Drake on the side of DRX, really the only difference.
Deft has no flash, he has to be careful.
Deft walking away to Clans. Torn, is he just going to walk him down the heel? Now coming in for this rocket, is he going to beat up? He's trying to pitch the win. Oh! The 1-for-1? Torn, no! How does he do it? He makes it out even in the face of the heal from Barrel.
With the Sunderer spike, Deft thought that he was safe because of the Soraka ult. Maybe he thought he could bait Doran in, but the healing from Grasp and Sunderer and the kill was enough to make it so he would live through that last tower shot. Deft overstepping a little bit. Not sure about the limits there on the 1v1 with the Soraka ult, and now that means that Ruler can step forwards here and look for this tower. Big gold swing over to Gen.G.
Gen.G, no fear to step forward here, and we talk about the 2v2 matchup. We forgot about Barrel being top lane and Deft being bottom, and well punished from the side of Gen.G. Again, if DRX had continued to hold that, it could have gotten very bad very quickly, but Doran playing this fantastically.
Yeah, Deft, no flash here, just trying to kite out Doran. And no, this is where you had to flash initially, so he was scared of Doran proccing the vitals. And then he steps up for the wave, and Doran just goes for the flash Q. Look where that vital is. It's in the perfect spot. Cleanses away from what he expects to be the slow. Pops the W, gets the Soraka ult, and then Doran manages to get the kill with the grab, with the Sunderer, with the level up. Just enough to make it a 1-0.
The credit to Doran for playing that well, but also 3 back-to-back very fortunate vital procs. Low key. Right. Behind as tower as well. So not only was it well executed, but the RNG going in his favor too, as DRX now trying to bully their way in. They've got the one-item spike for Deft. He's got his ulti up and available. This is going to be tough for Gen.G to contest.
No TP on Doran, so he'll be very late to this fight. DRX want to get this down as quick as possible. Can Peanut steal? Will DRX engage? The Tahm Kench ult is crucial against the Sejuani, but Zeka can look to shuffle.
Still in the area. They're ready to flip this on the 50-50. He can go unstoppable over the wall if he needs to. Chovy. Can he find something? Barzal is going to be big. Peanut now locked up, but that's the Tahm Kench ultimate coming in. King is still in the pin. Chovy still in the pin. Looking to get it. He's going to lock it down. The Juggler now going in. Zeka fishing, looking for an opportunity. The grand challenge issue. That's the 2-man from Lehends. The follow-up now from Gen.G. They will take their kills and walk away happy.
DRX tried to take the 5v5. Yes, they get the dragon, but they overstep, and Gen.G punish and pounce onto them. Both carries full. We'll see what they can get off the back of this. King is hovering around on this bot side. Pyosik is behind him. Soraka ult is up in around 5 to 10 seconds if they want to opt into this 2v2.
It's going to get bad very quickly. The hook shot to the wall dive will make it out. But he can't hold on to the tower. But again, good news for DRX. They are able to grab that dragon, but giving more kills over certainly not going to feel good. And certainly when the follow-up second Herald to the side of Gen.G, it's not looking quite as positive as it once did.
Tools now for Gen.G to work with. We'll look at this one again because I think the Varus ult comes out here onto Pyosik, so he can't hit the dragon, so he decides to ult onto Peanut, who gets the ultimate from Tahm Kench. Now the fight slows down a bit, but then Zeka tries to make it an explosive one. So the dragon goes over to Pyosik, but let's keep our eyes on the Azir here. He goes for Peanut and tries to flash predict, but he actually knocks him away rather than towards his team. I wonder if he could have pushed him into DRX. They could have picked up that kill. Chovy arrives, Doran arrives, and with the gap closed, DRX have no way out.
And you can see in theory how much value you get out of DRX's composition when you can take out 1 or 2 members when a fight begins, but if you bumble some of those major cooldowns, it is so easy for Lehends, for Chovy, for Doran, Peanut, for all of the members of this team, this lineup, to turn on you in an instant.
This is why Gen.G has just been so successful throughout the year. 50 wins in 9 losses, something along those lines after the quarterfinals since the start of Summer Split. Their carries are just absolute rocks. Look at Chovy's CS right now. He's up 20 over Zeka despite losing the push. Was struggling to get his ball away. Ruder fell behind a little bit, but Gen.G know exactly how to get him back in the game. Of course, he has #1 jungle proximity. Peanut always hovering around his AD carry. Here comes the second Herald onto this mid tower. Deft doesn't have the MF ult for the next 3 or 4 seconds, so he can't use it.
Breaking mid lane, are they going to push for the second charge here?
MF ult's up now.
They get that out before any other objectives are up. Pretty good. Just going to be the charge for now. A bit more poke, a bit more damage. Chovy now retreating. It's going to be another Cloud Drake. Shout out to our boy Atlas.
Cloud Soul indeed, yeah. And it's roughly a 4k gold lead here for Gen.G. DRX, the only saving grace is they have 2 dragons under their belt, but the Cloud Soul is not a great combat soul to have. You would much rather have something like the Infernal or the Hextech. But it's still a soul, and they'll try to keep focusing on these dragon stacks. The problem is they have Zeka on the side lane is really exposed. He has no tower next to him. Yes, he has a passive that he can put down right now, but if he doesn't have his jungle hopping around, he's a very easy target for Gen.G. If they just push him mid and move towards top, Lehends is already on the way up. Peanut's right behind him. They have TP on King and a Soraka ult to keep him alive, but this will always be a pressure point for Gen.G playing on 2 lanes.
With Pyosik shadowing on the bottom side, maybe hoping to find a pick, it just means that the entirety of the top side jungle is off limits. Doran gonna find the parry, now dashing out to safety. What's he gonna get? Grand challenge, looking for multiple marks. Now gonna get locked up in the Hextech. Ultimatum should just fall here. A little bit more healing. Is it going to be enough? Needs to dash forward, but no, that's the shutdown. Hit him with the flail and walk away.
Big shutdown now over to DRX. It's a shame it didn't go onto King, and that'll sting because it went onto their Sejuani, but a kill's a kill. They actually saved the mid-tier 2 with the MF ult, but I think Gen G can stick around. Chobi's actually just going to push out top and TP down here to keep the tower alive. So it's a kill, but it's not an objective. Need a little bit more than that DRX, but they have to send 2 members to kill this Fiora. The Camille will not win 1v1 with the Fiora being this far ahead. So desperation moves on numbers advantage, but it's their only real way to find these plays.
Certainly is a tricky map state. It's only going to get harder as Gen G holding on to this 3K gold lead. And as you highlighted earlier, Cloud Soul is going to be important. You got an MF on your team, you love to have those ultis. It's a similar story for Soraka, but it's not infernal. It's not something that could offer you much more effective combat stats. Hopefully outvalue some of the champions on the opposite side. So for now, a brief period of quiet before the next dragon. 1 minute away, a minute 30 on the Baron. Neither of these teams so far ahead. Quieter mid game here, and I think this is the nature of game 1s and best of 5 K-Trolls. We so often see game 1 a testing ground. Games 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you're going to talk about, often much more explosive, much more bloody, but game 1 often really about testing your metal, poking, looking for weaknesses, trying to find those avenues and angles. Gen G take control of mid.
Yeah, T1 of course losing that game yesterday in game 1, but then bouncing back as the series progresses. A good example of that. So what DRX have done right now on the map is they've actually sent King in towards top. They know that bot side is a liability and they can't stick around there for too long, and Zeka will never get this top push, so they said let's just cross map. Let's just force a tier 2 top while they go towards a dragon, and we'll race them on side lanes to trade gold. It's always good to trade gold when you're behind, and when you're ahead you always want to trade to your own benefit, but now it's 1-for-1 in towers so far. It might be 2-for-2, but Doran has flash. He's playing a very confident next to Lehens.
Really want to get this kill, but of course the Tom Kench being there stops it in its track. It's going to be tower for tower now match. DRX trying really hard to overload top side. They will get the tower trade, but very little else past that.
The losing play for this would be you would actually give up the dragon, but DRX, seeing Lehens and Doran up towards that top side, they say, well, we'll just run towards mid here as 5, push this wave in, and I expect them to go towards bot side, or decide to back away and give up this dragon, but no, they're staying around looking for this mid tower. Gen G, Chobi doesn't have the TP, so he can't look to flank them. They are going to move into this bot side river. They are going to take out a little bit of this vision, but they just got a lot of gold in their back pockets and they haven't spent it, so opting into a fight is very dangerous. Giving Gen G just 1 dragon at 20 minutes is not that much of a pain.
And going to be very difficult to force that fight, especially when Chovy already at 2 items. Shadow Flame as well as the Everfrost here. Going to be a very difficult man to lock down and to shut down in these fights. Doran just clearing out vision, gets that top wave pushed in, and the map state returns to normalcy. So Gen G realizing that DRX have backed away, knowing that they are stronger in the fight, will take the free dragon.
It's been a consistent 4,000 gold lead roughly for Gen G over the last 3 or 4 minutes. They're holding on to it. It's very hard for DRX to find plays. Doran is their best target, but Chobi's constantly pushing out sides and just disappearing into fog of war. Here comes the top pressure again for DRX. The benefit of this is if you commit numbers top for pressure, then of course you get vision around Baron, which will help you slow the game down. Peanut finds P06. Zeka's looking for this blue buff. Chobi is on the way. This could be dangerous if they overstay for too long. Will Zeka get it? Yes, he will. And they will get out. Death just farming up. Kingen was hovering around, but he'll go back towards the bot side now. So DRX trying to get as much shallow vision on this top side as possible, putting down some pinks, buying time for this Azir.
Scaling. Zeka, 1.5 items. Now going to be 2 as he backs and finishes the Relinomicon. Grabs an extra Amp Tome as well, but definitely not full on late game Azir status quite yet in the game.
The Azir is really far behind, isn't he? Just bought the Morello now, so that'll help out a little bit, but needs a lot more damage. I believe that Morello doesn't give you that much of a power spike. The Azir really wants to... I think he was looking for a shuffle there, Zeka, or some kind of WE to get closer with his Q to actually chunk Peanut out, but he needs to get a Rabadons as quick as possible. Build up to that late game Azir threat. Now they're going to contest some mid-waves here. DRX will get the push out because Gen G are showing both their solo laners on side, so TP actually coming in from Chovy. Maybe he was scared they were going to force that tower.
There's the potential of the DRX composition. That is the strength of Sejuani that we highlighted earlier on, as well as the Camille. The reliable engage tools certainly are there for DRX, and while Lehens is around, can mitigate some of it, they always have to be careful, they always have to give that respect, but you can see Gen G have not struggled to give them respect. They have not misstepped, they have not given anything away, and the gold lead does just continue to grow as they keep picking up these side waves, as they keep farming more, pushing their vision out. Soon, I expect, we're going to start looking to contest the Baron.
Vedius was touching on the desk how DRX don't often draft this traditional form of engage. In the game that they have done it with the Sejuani, there's a Tam Kench on the other side, right? So the second the Sejuani ult lands, that's at each target, and then they disengage, and the fight continues, so you lose that engage quite quickly. Gen G sweeping out this top side. It's very hard for them to start up the Baron. Of course, DRX have double TP, and they can easily walk into this pit. There's no real great turn for Gen G that actually merits a Baron start. DRX, I guess they could sneak a Baron over the wall with the Azir and Sejuani, but Gen G will never allow that to happen. And it looks like it might just be a slow dragon stacking game. Gen G can't really overforce, and DRX have to commit 2 numbers to make this play happen. The only danger of this is losing Nash, but Doran will see him, and he'll back away.
Kingen obviously at the point in the game we're going to start to shred through those towers. Dorn for now, confident staying under this tier 1. You can see why, because just to the left of your screen is Lehen's now walking in, and that's the cue for DRX to hightail it out of there.
So the reason DRX are even looking for that play in the first place is because they know Chovy doesn't have TP. They're trying to use that to their advantage by trying to force a 2-man play onto Doran, knowing that Peanut and Chovy cannot respond, but it's Lehen's who's been covering the side lanes on Tahm Kench because he knows Ruler is safe on these mid waves. And Gen G are happy to slow the game down as well. They're incredibly good scaling too, and they control the game right now. There's no real threat of that soul. They took away the 3rd one, and it's just a matter of time before Gen G overcommit on this top side, push out top, starts forcing a Baron as Doran's pushing in bot, and you have to make a choice. Do you stop Doran with your jungle top, or do you give up the Baron? And of course, DRX will always try to fight the Baron, but Gen G needs to hit towards that 3-item spike before they can force it.
Barrel checks the brush there with the silence, getting what information he can. Chovy retreats back in the safety of his own side of the map, and again, Cagel, you highlighted so well, but it is just looking, fishing for any opportunity, trying to find these pockets of vision, hoping that that control ward won't be there the second time around, trying to find picks to lead to greater advantages or objectives. Because again, as long as neither team feels confident enough to just force to start the Baron, it's going to be about playing for the next dragon. It's going to be about playing for these side lanes, finding these objectives. DRX obviously very easy for them to look at that tier 1 in the bottom lane, the next target in their eyes.
And let's not forget, of course, DRX are 0-8 against Gen G this year. 0-12 overall, but they've never beaten Gen G once this year in the best of 3s. And there's often been games like in the first round of summer regular season where they're playing Kog'Maw, Seraphine, Lulu, and they're ahead. They have Ocean Soul, they're up 5 gold or something, and then they throw the game away around Elder Dragons. So DRX have always struggled. Gen G's almost like their kryptonite at times in the regular season. 4 times they played a best of 3, 8 games won for Gen G. DRX now controlling this top side, fighting back, trying to get some kind of vision. Gen G quick to respond. Ruler's on red buff though, so they have to be a bit slow before they walk in. Peanut paying respect as he waits for his World Championship AD carry to step up and be behind him on that 3-item spike. Now they'll start to move forward. You expect Gen G will start to push DRX back.
They see an opportunity, they want to get it because Depth is waiting over the wall, but keep your eyes on the ultimate. It could be big, but it is not enough. Leaping in now, Chovy diving to the back line, taking the ultimate away from Kingen and finding the kill. Just like that, Gen G see their opportunity, and they're right onto the Baron.
Ruler arrives, and in a blink of an eye, he starts to fight onto Pyosik. Actually gets the kill in the roots, so Pyosik can't even respond, do anything at all. Chovy takes away the Camille ult, E-Flash ult on top of Beryl. He has no way out, and Gen G, with that one fight, now have a Baron in their hands. TP coming in here from Chovy. They want to force this mid push so they can secure the dragon as well. They don't want DRX to get absolutely anything. Zeka was hovering around that dragon pit, trying to trade it as an objective, try and find some kind of consolation prize. But now, with this 1-3-1, Gen G will start to run away with it.
You can see why Gen G are so confident to keep scaling to this game when they're coming in from multiple angles, when Deft is not there, when DRX do not have that strong front-to-back team fight. They just get picked to pieces.
So he's rooted into a stun. I think it was the repulse from Fiora instantly get the kill, or the Viego W, but there's Chovy with the stolen Hextech ultimatum, just dashes forwards, flashes on the Soraka. He knows that the Soraka is a key target in these fights. DRX, as much as they want to contest there, they didn't even stand a bloody chance, did they? Ruler just melted straight through their front line.
And again, this is what we talked about. You spend the whole game fishing, and all it takes is one misstep, one over-eager attempt to gain control of the Baron for the game to fall further out of the hands of DRX. And while scaling versus scaling certainly isn't gas considered, an execution will always be a part of the equation. 7k gold starts to feel more and more insurmountable. The Baron buff as well, 2 minutes left. The only good news is they don't have the best champions in the world to try and force a siege. Yeah, they're going to grab a couple tier 2s, but short of a DRX mistake, very unlikely they'll grab anything else. That said, Lance there to back up, waiting, going to go for the Devour, waiting out the timer. TP now coming in. Gen G think they have their fight now. It's the Camille that's been isolated instantly. Doran now leaping forward. Grand challenge, stepping in, finding a bit more healing. DRX on the back split. Gen G, they want more. They got the wave to back them up. A single cannon minion, Barrel locked down. Barrel taken out. Death to the Soraka. Now the single cannon minion, all that remains. Zeka going to clear that one out. A new wave to come in, and Gen G taking control of the mid lane.
Health bars are low, so Gen G are going to send their top jungle to force down this tier 2 on the top side while Ruler gets through this tier 3 in mid. DRX have thrown so many things at Gen G, but they found a response to absolutely everything. And you can't really blame DRX. Their only plays this game have been overcommitting numbers to side. How can they engage mid up against this Tahm Kench with a Sejuani on your team, with a Soraka on your team? It's so hard to dive onto them and follow up. Your best bet is these side plays, but Gen G know it. Lehens has been covering. Doran's ready with the TPs. Chovy too. And the second they overstep for it, Gen G are there.
Again, DRX think they have their avenue, they think they have their opening, but both of the single target CC options come out. That is the cue for Lehens to use the Devour. And effortless now for Doran to turn. Gives enough respect to back away, but DRX running out of time, at a deficit, and right now Gen G absolutely out-executing.
Barrel, no flash there, instantly picked up by the Overfrost of Chovy. No way out. Baron buff still up for the next 20 seconds. They didn't get the inhibitor, and they're trying to push in a bot wave right now. Chovy doesn't have the TP, but there's the E.
Lehens! He's just eating the top laner, doesn't even mind. He's a support, but he's got the team to back him up. Rule are gonna finish the job, and it is a slaughter in the DRX jungle.
It is clean, calm, and consistent from Gen G. We talked about how stable and reliable their carries are, while their team is as well. Little to no mistakes.
Lockdown, Zeka, the knock-up now coming in. The Soraka healing will not be enough. DRX have yet to find a win against Gen G, and this game is not the game where it'll happen. Absolute dominance from Ruler, from Chovy, from the entirety of Gen G.
37 seconds. Lehens pops the stopwatch, manages to live through the ultimate. Does he die? No, he doesn't.
Pushing forward, Def locked up, instant cleanse, not enough. Def taken down, and we talked about it. This is what makes Gen G terrifying. The consistency and execution. It is top tier, flawless League of Legends.
You can't fault it, can you? They play it by the book, and they play it clean. DRX do everything they can in their power to find these plays, to actually find advantages in any of these lanes, because all three lanes are pushing into them. They had to do something, and Gen G knew it. They read them back. This game have been overcommitting.
The game where it'll happen. Absolute dominance from Ruler, from Chovy, from the entirety of Gen G.
37 seconds. Lehens pops the stopwatch, manages to live through the ultimate. Does he die? No, he doesn't.
Pushing forward, Def locked up, instant cleanse, not enough.
Def
taken down, and we talked about it. This is what makes Gen G terrifying. The consistency and execution. It is top tier, flawless League of Legends.
You can't fault it, can you? They play it by the book, and they play it clean. DRX do everything they can in their power to find these plays, to actually find advantages in any of these lanes, because all three lanes are pushing into them. They had to do something, and Gen G knew it. They read them back. And Ruler on the Varus, despite falling behind in the early portions of the lane, the Herald got him back into it, and he kept farming mid-waves, was sitting very quietly while his team sorted out those side lanes, got his 3 items, started the fight, got a Baron. So, can't really fault it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the team-wide effort to make sure that the Camille and the Sejuani look absolutely useless this game is outstanding play across the board. It is not just the Tahm Kench pick, it was the excellent vision, it was the discipline to not over-push in the side lanes. This could have been a much more explosive, much more bloody game, but Gen G were just in total control of the map.
Yeah, I think DRX want the game to be faster paced. They want Zeka on something that can fight back, not on a Azir that can scale. So now I expect DRX to go over to the blue side, and it gets a bit complicated for Gen G because you've got things like Yuumi, Kate, Nakali, Sylas, Aatrox. What are you going to leave open that DRX is going to take away to make sure the game is a lot more bloody?
It's a difficult puzzle that has to be solved, of course. See what DRX want to bring to the table. If it's the exact same band, you can obviously look down to things like Sylas, see what Zeka can do on it. But sadly for DRX, we know what you want to see from them, and those options in draft are limited. It is the Akali, it is the Sylas, and it is going to put them on the back foot. So I feel like in order for them to break through yet another ceiling, whether it was quarters or now into semis, whether it was making out the LCK, if they want to take another leap forward, we're going to need to see another level. We're going to need to see more from these players.
Yeah, and despite this being a disastrous game one for DRX and a heartbreaking one in that sense of just they can't do anything. They were down 0-2 against EDG, right? We always doubt DRX, so I expect them to bounce back a lot heavier in this game too because of blue side, and we'll see a much quicker paced game, I expect.
I certainly do as well. Of course, if more than a month of non-stop Worlds action is not enough to satiate you, check out the Riff Reaction podcast on Spotify for even more tasty League content. Every week, hosts Emily Rand and Travis Gafford share the latest League news, deliver hot takes, and respond to fan questions. Of course, stay tuned for the World's final episode, which is dropping soon. And while you queue up the next episode, while you step away, we're going to be breaking down the game at the Endless Nest.
Thank you so much, Dracos, and welcome back to the analyst desk here at the State Farm Arena. I love me some riff reaction with Travis Gafford and Emily Rand. Luckily, we got Emily Rand on the desk here to help us break down this series as it happens. Gen G striking first blood and bringing the series to 1-0. But Vedius, what a different pace we have going here in this series as compared to yesterday. Averaging almost a kill per minute yesterday, and today it was like a kill every 5 minutes?
It was an LCK classic, I would say.
The rotation.
We saw a lot of map movements. We saw a lot of quite clever play pretty much at every stage. I just want to quickly touch on the draft and their approach because we talked so much about it coming into this matchup. And what I'll say is we saw a similar trend from DRX in terms of their limited engage, kind of multiple spread approach, with the Sejuani being the primary response to start fights. The Tahm Kench answer from Gen G was just so smart. And I think that they recognized this approach from DRX and made their options very hard, which put a lot of responsibility and pressure on DRX to get early advantages.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising after they saw the Forest that they didn't respond in 4-5 with that TK ban. I was a little surprised at that. But the other thing we saw, to your point, that was a little bit out of the ordinary, even with a comfortable kind of pushing lane, was that they did pay attention and get first blood on bot side. That did allow them to get first Drake. It did give them a lot of control. And it did look for a little bit like this MF Soraka lane was going to do quite well going forward.
Yeah, and Mark, this is where I want to jump to second blood. Doran finding a solo kill in the bot lane on Def to kind of talk about the way that these two teams navigated the early game, and Gen G was kind of able to wrestle their way out of bad lane assignments.
So you're obviously going to be paying attention to solo kill. This is not actually what we care about here. It's actually the mini-map. This is the important part of the replay, is how long they've been in this lane assignment. The fact that they had... there's supposed to be more to this replay at the beginning, but they had been up there, leaving Barrel with the Camille in the top lane for that entire extended sequence. And that's actually how Gen G got back in this game. We talk about how good they are about picking things apart. The fact that they realize our bot lane's going bad, first blood happened down there, we've been losing flashes, they go rotate up to the top side, make this lane swap happen, and unfortunately for DRX, they just have the wrong read, thinking that they can just leave Def down there on the bot side.
A part of what makes Gen G so good is the fact that Chovy and Ruler are typically unmovable. And if they do ever get moved off the right path, they are immediately put back on it. And we saw that in how they set up the lanes and how they used the Herald to get that gold back into Ruler's pocket. And the stats on your screen are highlighting, even in a matchup that shouldn't go Chovy's way, he was still ahead in CS at 14, and he was up in gold. And Ruler, even though down 20 CS, still found a way back in because of that Herald and investment in plates. And the second that you give these two players any type of window to get ahead, the moment they enter the mid game, this team is almost impossible to stop.
That's to Mark's point about the lane assignments, right?
Yeah, the Ruler's falling behind, Ruler's our carry, get him out of the bad lane, go top, and let's start funneling gold.
And it was kind of surprising that they kept pinging up there, right? This is the backbreaker fight. After that happened on the top side, they got Ruler back into the game. It did look like DRX were kind of stuck. They were like, well, we kind of want to stall this out, and Gen G's like, okay, that's fine. Like, as soon as we engage on you and pick one of you off, we completely take over the game, and this is kind of where we see the difference between Gen G and DRX as teams, unfortunately, going back through the entire LCK season and coming into this tournament. This is exactly why Gen G is such an overwhelming favorite, is because they just see the map a lot better. They know exactly how to get themselves out of disadvantageous positions, and during a lot of that mid-game posturing, Gen G really took over the entire map, and DRX didn't know what to do.
I think that moving into the next game, DRX needs to up the tempo a bit. I think that we saw, in terms of the formula for challenging this roster, was attacking the jungle early from Canyon. Now, of course, that's no easy feat. Canyon is quite individual. But I think that using that as a formula, as everyone was saying at the beginning of the day, is a way in which you can take advantage of this Gen G team.
I still see your shadows in my room. Can't take back the love that I gave you. It's to the point where I love and I hate you, and I cannot change you, so I must replace you. Easier said than done. I thought you were the one listening to my heart instead of my head. You found another one, but I am the better one. I won't let you forget me. I still see your shadows in my room. Can't take back the love that I gave you. It's to the point where I love and I hate you, and I cannot change you, so I must replace you. Easier said than done. I thought you were the one listening to my heart instead of my head. You found another one, but I am the better one. I won't let you forget me. You left
be swapping to the blue side.
I
And
take
I'm really wondering if they get
prescriptions to make me
Gen G,
feel
rather, are going to end up
okay.
banning
I know
Timer
it's
on
all
red,
in
if they're gonna
my
have to end up
head.
making UV on red. I'm really curious.
I have these lucid dreams where I can't move a thing, thinking of you in my bed. You were my everything, thoughts of a wedding ring. Now I'm just better off dead. I'll do it over again. I didn't want it to end. Now watch it blow.
Eyes on them. Land's waiting in the brush. Piosik now going in. This should be an easy kill. There's just everybody in the bot lane. Surprise, baby! That's a Camille and first blood for DRX. Zeka fishing, looking for an opportunity. The grand challenge issue. That's the two-man from Lahens. The follow-up now from Gen G. They will take their kills down. Zeka, the knock-up now coming in. The Soraka healing will not be enough. DRX have yet to find a win against Gen G.
Behind 21 epic days of epicness. Behind 1 billion hours of drop jaws. Behind every match, every broadcast, every moment at League of Legends World Championship 2022 is the network capable of making it all happen. The Cisco Network, aka The Realm. Cisco, powering the future of esports.
Red Bull gives you wings.
getting a little overexcited here, but as we grow ever closer to crowning our next world champions, a reminder, if you can't make it to San Francisco for the finals, you can watch on the big screen with friends and family at one of 600 theaters and counting near you. Use the QR code below to purchase tickets. They won't put it in front of me. They will, because I'll miss. Nope, we got it. Took an entire tournament, but we got there. That's the only dub I'm getting today. But we'll hope it's a different story for DRX as we segue back into focusing on the game.
And it'll be an exciting finals, right? Faker is waiting for whoever wins this series. Is it going to be Chovy and Ruler up against Faker? Is it going to be his high school buddy of Deft? Right now, Gen.G are up 1-0. Incredibly dominant game. DRX need to shake things up. They need a quicker paced game if they want to fight back against Gen.G because they excel in slow games. They excel in scaling. And the slower the game goes, I feel like the more comfortable Gen.G feels.
It's truly a tall task to take down Gen.G. They are incredibly consistent. We will just continue to highlight it because it is something that is so difficult to match. It will require the explosiveness you have to feel of DRX to find it. You highlighted it. Explosiveness begins in the draft. Not as simple as just saying you're going to do it. Not as simple as just diving into enemy champions with no fear. But what is the option going to be? Because this is certainly a difficult puzzle to dissect. You can hear it on the desk. You can hear it just about everywhere. How tricky it can be to try to take down this team, to try to find greater edges in draft when they're so flexible. And from what we've seen from DRX, they're very good when they have the right champions. But it's hard for them to find that right draft when Gen.G are so prepared for it.
I think they need to value counts picks towards the top side more. You know, Sejuani's not exactly a winning jungle matchup into Viego. Your 2v2 was good, but Camille, of course, loses as well. Now they're on the blue side, DRX. They're going to swap it up. Lucian Bang expected. But what's Gen.G going to take away? Yuumi, you have to wonder, is it going to be a ban from Gen.G or DRX? Heimerdinger, another one. Akali, Sylas, Aatrox, Sejuani. These are all champions that
Coragem, mano! Você vai ter que segurar, mano!
See if they want to continue. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's one way to get a Yuumi ban out of them.
I like it. Respect. Trying to force out.
Fama por admiración. Nunca me quedo sin munición. Quieren frontear, pero no tienen condición. Sigo mi vida vivo, cabrón. Siempre eterno rango la voz.
And assume that you can beat. You can't beat the cat. You can ban the cat, but you can't beat the cat. You know that better than anybody.
There's the Aatrox ban. So, Akali, Sylas, Caitlyn, Yuumi. 4 champions that will be up and available. And DRX can look to target ban certain things here.
I'm going to be honest.
Something like a Viego ban, for example.
You're thinking about a lot of things, but we're both just waiting to see.
Yeah.
Will the Akali get banned? Will the Sylas get banned? Zeka, despite the fact that
Rise.
Oh, okay.
Smart ban. I think it was Faker yesterday who picked it into the Sylas. I mean, Rise is good into these kind of champions like Sylas where you can just quick trade, run away with phase rush, right? It's really hard to lock him down despite him being short range, and you can get the waves in quicker, so it means you can roam around the map faster. Of course, he can hit you while you're in the wave as well if Sylas tries to trade his HP to get the push.
And we've seen against these short range composition how much havoc can be wreaked, but now the Akali's up, Sylas is up. DRX will have their pick of the litter in terms of who they want to prioritize.
Caitlyn is
but
up
Caitlyn
as well. I think what they're saying here, DRX, is Sylas and Akali are up. We'll get one of them no matter what on the 2-3. We'll prioritize Caitlyn here. Now, Gen.G has the options of things like Sejuani, Viego, their preference on this mid matchup. And for bot lane, they might have to lean towards something like Varus again into this Caitlyn. They will have support counter pick on red side, so that helps out a little bit. But DRX here are probably just going to pick Akali or Sylas on 2 with a Lux on 3.
Lux would certainly make a lot of sense. Definitely the premier pairing for that option. Sylas going to be the lock-in, and you can see overall the more flexible champion. Based on what we've seen thus far, Zeka definitely coming out on top of that matchup more often than not. The Sylas into Akali. Have to assume they'll lock it in, but see if there are any bot lane responses from the side of Gen.G. Instead, though, again, when you have so many specific target bans, more and more of the S tiers leak through. Graves feels like undisputed king of the jungle, but so frequently taken off the board, will now go into the hands of Peanut.
And of course, Graves, you have to think about the level 1s. DRX needs to be very aware of what could Peanut do level 1 with the late invades. And how does he want to match the Graves? I'd be very shocked if they drop the Akali and actually prioritize jungle here if they drop support, especially given that Gen.G haven't picked their AD carry yet. But it could be a teaser of what's to come. No, it's going to be it! It's going to be the Kindred. They're going to drop support by the looks of it. Wow. Kindred, of course, Piosik.
Are they willing to drop the Akali for Zeka? A pick that has gotten so much done for DRX to make sure that their bot lane is that they are. Zeka, he wants us to remember the name. He wants us to remember that he is not afraid to take the back foot and a few more target bans to make sure that his bot lane can come out on top.
3 range champions already. Gen.G need to match this Lux right now by looks of it, so they're going to go for something like the Karma. Means that on 4 you'll have plenty of options to choose from, but contesting push against Caitlyn Lux is always a very difficult one. Of course, Piosik, if you're wondering why he's picked Kindred and not many other people are, he was a one-trick Kindred streamer, and it's his favorite champion. I think it's probably one of his best as well. A lot of success on this champion.
Yeah, the classic fun fact, of course, Piosik meaning Mark, Korean. Have to see what the options are going to be here, though. And even though DRX have secured for themselves an incredible powerhouse bot lane, Caitlyn Lux, it is a bot lane that requires an insanely high level of execution. If you make one misstep, this lane falls apart so incredibly quickly. And the cost of securing this bot lane, securing these 2 champions together, is the Akali falling away from Zeka. Where will his champion
I wonder if we'll see a Zoe from Zeka. It's the first thing I can think of when I see the way their comp is leaning towards. And into the Sylas, it can be a good matchup in terms of getting the push in the early stages. Because Ryze is out, Akali's out. Azir run back with 4 range champions. I don't think that's the play for DRX. Again, they need the game to be a bit faster paced. They need to have a little bit more pressure. Yes, Zoe's a range champion as well, but she can actually walk up on sieges and help out the Caitlyn Lux. There's the Azir man to no one's surprise. They could also go towards a Lissandra direction, but into Sylas, it's really, really hard to pick. And Swain, Galio, I don't really feel like these are champions in Zeka's wheelhouse.
Definitely going to be tricky. Definitely going to need to see Zeka dig deep. Don't want to end up in a situation where you do not have some sort of playmaking in the mid. Again, a lot of range, but a very squishy, very vulnerable composition. Not a lot of hard engage options. Light binding, not enough to let you really comfortably front to back team fight. But now the Camille taken off the board. Ruler can just pick up the Varus here. Does he want to go for something a bit more spicy?
There's no way he goes Samira with Karma, right? Especially into Caitlyn. Yeah, Varus would make the most sense. He needs something that can wave clear, not look for all-ins, get the push. Try to contest the Caitlyn Lux and have set up for your jungler, right? The Varus ult so pivotal in that sense. Now it's on DRX, blind picking their top lane and their answer to Sylas. This is the question we've had from the get-go. Ahri would be one of them. Of course, will fall off the later the game goes, but it's going to be Zeka's Ahri. Now, he dropped Ahri towards the end of the summer regular season. They lost to Hanwha, they lost to KT in the last week of the regular season in the LCK summer split this year. And it was Ahri which was Zeka's main priority, and he was really struggling in those games. So confident enough to bring it back here on the World semi-final stage, and Gragas locked in there for Kingen. I don't think Doran will struggle to find a counter pick to that champion. Sejuani actually still up, interesting enough.
Debating the option is, can't go for Sejuani instead. The Ornn. You want fights this game, you're going to get them. Ornn and the Gragas ready to kick things off, most certainly, but the early game naturally where we have to keep our eyes anytime there's a Caitlyn Lux in the game. Ahri as well, keeping track of where the early action is going to be.
Yeah, good pick there from Gen.G. They needed frontline, they needed engage. They had pushing bot, they had skirmish heavy, mid-jungle. You need to slot in a tank there somewhere, and they found it in the Ornn. So very similar compositions from both sides here. Top will be in isolation. I expect the majority of the game. And the Kindred Ahri will be trying to fight back against the Graves Sylas. Whoever can get to bots first will have the push. In isolation, it can be situational on how the mantra queues go, but if either mid-jungle is hovering towards bot side, then they have to give up the push, right? So mid-jungle is important in this game in making sure that Caitlyn can look for plates or the Varus can fight back and go even and sustain the push against the Caitlyn.
Very volatile compositions, tons of pressure when it comes to execution on the side of DRX. Gen.G sitting comfortably, knowing that they are up a game. A spot in finals on the line. Can Gen.G move up to 2-0, move to match point, or will DRX be able to fire back? We wanted to see more in the draft phase. We wanted to see a curveball, and we certainly have found it now. The Caitlyn and Lux, the Ahri to match the Sylas on the opposite side. Very different look as we gear up for game 2.
A lot of pressure on DRX to look for these plays now. You've got the Ahri, you've got the pushing bot, you need to act upon it. Kindred is a champion that, when I was a professional jungler in scrims, you would get a lot of stacks, you'd fight a lot in marks, and you'd be able to find lots of stacks in the early stages, but on stage in professional games, it's almost becomes an objective. You know, when the enemy jungle has a stack in your jungle, you make sure it's warded, you make sure you're around to cover it. DRX, of course, we talked about the level 1s. We talked about Graves' level 1. Normally it's been on blue side towards top to take away your red buff, and of course you can fight back against most junglers with Graves level 1. So I wonder if DRX is thinking about that, and they're conscious of it, of Peanut just walking in alongside Ruler and Lehens and forcing DRX back.
Oh, and it's Comet Ruler could be going for the lethality build, just trying to outrange, outpoke here.
Yeah, I think it was Hope who was the majority of the time playing Hail of Blades Varus, but Comet Varus also works very well. Double Comet in bot to push back against the Caitlyn Lux. I've said push a lot because that's just how Caitlyn works. You get push, you can win. If you don't get push as Caitlyn, you're very useless. So this is the late invade that Gen G are going for, I wonder.
Speaking of push the connect button and make sure to grab the exclusive Very Nasa's Much Wow emote from Prime Gaming by connecting your League of Legends account with your Prime account. Turn our attention back towards this one, of course. Tracking the early mark, tracking bot lane a lot. Very explosive bot lane. Double Comet, something we need to keep our eye on, and both sides opting for longsword 3-pots. Again, less all-in power, but the sustain, the immediate effective health you get from just having 3 pots in lane, much higher.
Nice E there by Beryl, will land the first poke. Mantra Q really important here in this lane. Trying to poke them out as much as possible, but Lehens will focus on the creeps to contest the push. Pyosik starting topside. Peanut, he's gonna go for the invade, so he didn't go for the level 1, but he's going for the level 2. There's a ward right next to the brush that'll spot him, and Pyosik will know. But the information doesn't help, does it? Because you're losing your red. Pyosik has to go to Peanuts right now, and your Caitlyn Lux are on a split map. I think this is a huge blunder from DRX, because your Caitlyn Lux will not be able to get the push. They'll send under their tower, and what are you playing towards? You're playing towards your Gragas lane, right? So Peanut, really good play here to deny Pyosik from affecting bot and helping out this Caitlyn Lux.
Pressure now on Pyosik to really have a big impact again, because as you highlighted, the damage is done by isolating that lane. Peanut walking down immediately forces Beryl and Deft to back up. And if we look back, everyone knows the potential of this lane. You've seen the masterclass games, you've seen the flawless games where Caitlyn is getting 10 tower plates in 5 minutes. This is not going to be one of those games when Peanut is already shutting it down in the early game.
Yeah, and it's kind of frozen as well, so it's just so hard for DRX to step up that wave. Pyosik hopefully will cross back into bot side here and try to help out this bot lane to get that push. Waiting for the cannon to die there so he doesn't get spotted. Quite smart play to make sure he's in fog of war. For all Peanut could know, he could be on Raptors right now, he could be on his Krugs, could be even ganking towards top side. So Peanut might get a bit of a surprise when he sees Pyosik in this bot side jungle. 10 seconds on the crab spawn. Peanut will go towards the wolves. We'll see if Pyosik can roll a good spawn on his mark, but Ruler and Lehens might be pushing up.
The entire time Pyosik is looking for this angle. Camps are being cleared. He is betting so much just to be here. He reveals himself on the bottom side. Beryl immediately flashing forward, waiting on the binding, but the binding goes wide. Lehens still standing. One, looking for more stacks in the mounting dread, but they cannot find the kill. Only the summoner spell, and Ruler firing back. Oh, man, he's a monster.
The 2v3 turned in favor of Gen G. There was so much hesitation from DRX. Beryl trying to flash on top of Lehens to land the Q when he flashes away. Just about misses it. Peanut will get bot crab. Could look for his Raptors here as well, so he's going to get off to a sizable lead. I would love to see that replay again, because I'm really not sure what Pyosik was doing. I thought he could have just picked up the kill onto Lehens with his flash, but he opted to back away. But I'll hold my breath till we see it.
Certainly something we're going to have to wait for. And remember, Pyosik used so much time to be there, to make that play happen. He moved down to the bottom side of the map. He did not take his own camps, and now Peanut is making his way into the mid lane. That's smoke screen slow. Looking for a bit more damage, taking his time on this one. Incredible patience from Zeka, even standing in the smoke screen, even with zero information, knew that he was safe.
Is he confident enough to cross into topside here and take away that next crab? No smite, but it's the Kindred stack. It's so important, but Zeka's basing right now.
Moving up.
He's gonna have to
needs to get out.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get out. Double crab, lost his Raptors. It's a disaster for the Kindred in the early stages.
For the DRX fans out there, this hurts, because you know how important this early game was. You know that Deft and Beryl needed to get off to a good start, but they bet everything on this play, and it turned against them.
So Deft is just calling here. Let's just go on this this karma. It must be a free kill. What does Pyosik do here? He lands the E. Why doesn't he go forwards? He must think that the play is off when the binding misses, but he could get in easily a couple more autos there with the flash. There's no heal on Ruler, and Beryl commits the flash to make sure it happens, and it's the Comet.
Oh, it's a little pebble!
And the Scorch that gets the kill, I believe, and turns the 2v3 on its head.
You can see the joy on Ruler's face. He knows that they were already winning just by surviving that play, just by holding on. The fact that they get the kill as well is incredible. And crushing for DRX.
Yeah.
As comedic as that reaction was.
Crushing indeed, and Ruler's going towards the lethality. Varus build will be a poke champion, and we'll try to push DRX off of these objectives the longer the game goes.
So let's take stock. Already you're seeing almost 1,000 gold in the favor of Gen G. That's the CS discrepancy on the bottom side, the massive CS discrepancy in the jungle. XP-wise, DRX still leading the charts, although it's neck and neck. Zeka and Chovy both ticking over to level 5, almost level 6 now.
Pyosik looking down towards his bot side again. He knows he needs to get the ball rolling. Lehens has no flash. Wonder if he's going to jump over and then blast cone back into the bush to make sure he avoids the ward. No, he's just going to run straight through, but Lahenz has no flash, and he'll be here first.
There's also a very scary boy. Meanwhile, on the top side, King and Doran trading back and forth. Pyosik, he's only level 4. Lahenz isn't even concerned. He's not even scared. There's no red buff to back him up. Oh, looking for the 1v1. King now getting hit. It's a big hammer. The Ornn now trying to get him down. They're toes ticking. Oh, look at the blinking health bars, the flash out. It's so tense. He's buying time. He's waiting for cooldown. That's the passive backup and available. 8 seconds. He gets the healing just in time. The thumbs up, baby. It's okay. They're going to walk away. Both men standing.
What a great day. What a great fight. Doran just trying to flash R2, and King knocks him back into it because he knew Doran would flash over it. Both of them walk away. Peanut now on this bot side.
Got to keep our eyes. How close is Ruler to level 6? That is going to be the engage tool they need to start getting aggressive onto Beryl and Deft. Stepping forward, big poke, Beryl, the snare. Once it connects, they're going to hit the free target. No intent, turning to Deft. Oh. Big damage, can't even dodge that one as he stands in the smoke screen.
Little bait and switch there. Beryl was the target, so Deft thought he could weave in auto attacks to push them back. Pyosik level 5 now though, but sorry to Dirk on the Graves. Face check could be good. Zeka doesn't have a lot of mana though to join.
Pyosik getting aggressive, mounting Dread, big source of damage, does get that down initially.
That's the stack right there. That's Kindred's mark. He needs that stack.
Flash forward! Ooh, not this time! This time there's a shield. Matt doesn't quite check out.
Yeah, Ruler thought he had the damage there with the full stack WQ auto. Beryl lives. I think Pyosik did get that stack. Yeah, so he's sitting on 1 and he'll find Peanut once again.
Need to run him down. Trading aggro on the blue. The zone now going to fade away. All those extra dashes no longer available. Peanut now taking control of the objective. Chovy still under his tower for now, but Pyosik knows that he needs to get out.
So let's take stock of the game. There's been so much fighting, but only one singular kill in the 2v3. DRX are trying to contest this bot side to get Caitlyn the push as quickly as they can, try and get some stacks on this Kindred. All the meanwhile, though, Zek has been building a lead in isolation. 17 CS difference right now on this Ahri. We saw them trade ultimates a little bit earlier on, and now the Herald is spawning. Zeka quite low and no potions. Chovy the same, so Peanut will help him push out. Pyosik's looking for another stack, and he will get Peanut's Raptors sitting on 2 right now.
Definitely good after the fumble earlier in the game, after that gank went awry. And again, for Zeka, this is so much and means so much for the series as we move forward. Because we're really just used to talking about his Akali, talking about his Sylas, but if the Ahri can get added to the list as well, it's going to be big as Lahenz poking in from the side. Ruler level 6 as well. Deft and Beryl debating if they can just get aggressive onto Ruler, but the cleanse being there makes it so difficult.
It does, but then the target becomes Lux, it becomes Beryl. Ruler can just shoot out his ultimate onto this Lux and she will die with the ignites, with the Mantra Q. That's an easy pickup, so Beryl has to play with a lot of respect. The damage has been done to this bot side. King and no flash, doesn't get hit by the knockup, but the ultimate.
As his ultimate available, is going to throw it out, just knocking him away. But it is pressure on the top side. King going to be forced to back away from the wave. Should be an easy push out now for Doran.
So Herald is up. Peanut, is he going to start it? Yes, he is. So I think let's look at Pyosik here on the minimap. Is he going to go to Gromp and try to take the stack away to get to 3 and try to get to 4 as quick as possible? Or does he think he's in time to fight the Herald? Looks like he's moving up. 2v2 on the horizon. No ultimate for Doran, no TP, so that means Keegan can join this in a 3v2, and Peanut just going to reset this Herald. No mid push. Not confident enough to take it, and I'll give it over to DRX. You have to expect with Beryl basing, he can move up here, and Ruler, of course, is going to deny the Gromp to stop the stack from being picked up.
Good heads-up play to take that one away as Kingan now comes down. Here comes the Herald, definitely not ideal for Gen G, but remember, just a few minutes ago, it was about a 1,000 gold lead. DRX have been bringing it back. Even if they have not found that kill, keeping it within touching distance, the Herald really going to even out that discrepancy as Zeka continues to trade aggressively in the mid lane. No kill pressure on Chovy quite yet, but has to be careful.
Zeka is doing a great job. We were wondering what his pick into Sylas is when we give up the Akali ban. 20 CS lead, 2 plates, and he has a Herald. So now all of a sudden a win condition for DRX has arose. They can just put the Herald down mid here and just try to take a full tower because Zeka is winning his lane. TP back from Chovy won't be in time though because Peanut is on the Dragon. He almost picked up for Ruler. This should be an easy first blood tower, and this gold lead will go in favor of DRX. So bot lane has fallen apart, but they've now relied on Zeka. Are they going to keep going here? They see Doran top. They know Peanut's on Dragon, but they are going to back away.
Fishing with the charm, they will not find it, but it is on the back of Zeka. The individual advantage he was able to build, that they are able to use that Herald. The mid lane now, Deft walking down, trying to zone away. Pyosik on the way in. Is he just going to smite it? Baiting, taking it out.
No one had smite. Nobody had smite. That was really awkward stare down. Peanut just got it the last second. But, okay, so the Dragon does go over to Gen G, and now they're going to try to stop them from getting into bot to look for a plate. But very messy. I like the confidence, but that smoke screen did work.
Peanut waiting in the darkness. Big damage now going to come in. Karma firing it over the wall, chunking them out. Potentially trying to open up the option for a dive. Pyosik in the area, though, with the Lamb's Respite. Not going to give them anything else here.
Yeah, Peanut's going to take the base, and chunking them out is all you want to do in this lane. That's exactly what this lane's all about. Just poke, poke, poke. The more the lands, the better it is for the Varus. But it's Zeka right now who's sitting with the lead. 600 gold, roughly. That mid-tier one's down. Now he can start moving around the map. And I hold my breath for a second as Pyosik is still hovering around the spot side. Not much action to be done, but Ruler has no flash. They only have one Lux binding a CC. And he has got the cleanse to respond to it. Now he will get spotted on this pink. And the play will be off.
Play is going to fizzle, of course, on the bottom side of the map, really. Ruler continuing to build that advantage more and more. Getting that early Youmu's, having the tier stacking up as well. Now with the Umbral Glaive on Peanut, too, the game gets so much more difficult. The vision line for DRX is slowly but surely just going to get whittled down. And for Kingen on the top side, he's been staying in these lane phases for so long, but he's just running out of mana. Maybe vulnerable to a dive soon. It doesn't look like they're going to try to push any greater advantage here. Just happy to give Doran the recall.
Yeah, he should be fine. He has the TP, but Zeka just used his back to mid. Now has the Everfrost. Look at the item disparity in mid lane. Zeka should be able to dominate this, get the waves in, and start pushing towards the side lanes. Of course, Zeka was one of the young talents from BLG. He went across to the LPL, across to China, and he was a very highly sought mid laner coming into this year. DRX able to pick him up off the back of Kingen, who's actually a very close friend of his, convinced him to come over to the LCK, drop the LPL, and join him in the ranks of DRX, and now he's having a standout year. Regular season was very good, but the World so far, he is looking like a superstar.
And the evolution of Zeka has been a pleasure to watch, because we heard from Deft in an interview he did with Ashley Kang that he's always been a great player in scrims, but that bringing that level of performance to the stage has always been a struggle, and you catch glimmers of it when they're barely able to make it to Worlds, and you see more of it in play-ins, and then more again in groups and quarters, and now here we stand in semifinals against Chovy, one of, if not the best mid laner in the world, struggling. And obviously, Zeka getting the counter pick, but this is exactly what you want from your mid laner when you are facing down Gen G.
Yeah, and that's exactly it as well, because when you pick these counter picks, you need them to have value, and we're seeing the value come out of Zeka despite being up against such a titan in the mid lane. And Pyosik still hovering around mid now. Looks like he wants to push Chovy back, but this constant mid push is allowing Deft and Beryl to keep up with the tempo of Gen G. You can see they're first towards top, no Herald in their back pocket, 2 minutes from either neutral objective, so we'll see how the rotations go. But for now, it looks like DRX want to keep Zeka in mid. They don't want to put Deft in there. They don't want to have Zeka on a side lane just yet. And Ruler will start to have to give up the push, because of Zeka. He's the key right now for DRX to unlocking this map.
And it's very, very important that DRX do not take their foot off the gas. They try to continue to leverage Zeka's advantage or build advantages elsewhere, because their composition as a whole, incredibly, hold that thought, incredibly squishy. And when you look at Ruler and you think about lethality bars as we get later in the game, yes, this champion has been nerfed time after time after time, but a single good arrow in a late game team fight will take out half the health bars of every DRX member.
It really will, and we're on the cusp of the game breaking in either side with these neutral spawning. If Zeka falls, Gen G will push both these side lanes in so quickly and take either side lane tower. If Zeka stays alive, then they can make it so Deft is even again with Ruler. These next few minutes will be really important in dictating how the game will go around these dragon fights. So here comes Zeka again, up towards his top side. Ruler would love to hit this tower, but he can't because there's an Ahri around. He's just trying to poke Deft away. Can't walk up and hit.
Definitely difficult getting a few autos here and there, but definitely not able to fully commit to the tower as Lehens tries to push the vision line forward, grouping up with Peanut, regaining control here. Beryl has to be careful now that the binding is down. It's to back away.
Wow, okay. So they're going to give it up. Deft's getting chunked out. You talked about the lethality virus taking health bars, and Deft got hit by a few too many. They don't feel confident enough in the 4v3 to hold this.
Oh, and this is brutal. This is taking your time, just trying to make sure the enemy AD carry gets absolutely as little CS as possible. Goodbye to that cannon. Making sure that falls before the tower does, and now pushing the rest of the wave in.
So, Dragon in 25, Herald in 40. Looking at DRX's positioning, it's a bit awkward, isn't it? Because you've got your 3-man towards bot side looking for this Dragon, but Death solo pushing out top. King and TP's bot. Pyosik will find Doran, and Ruler will get his base off. Gen G will be the first to the objective with this numbers advantage, with Chovy having a TP, and it looks like Dragon is the call, so Deft's going to have to join his team as quick as possible.
That is the call. He's now running his way down. One item for Deft, the Gale Force. On the opposite side, Ruler not opting for a Mythic quite yet. Instead focused just on more lethality, more AD, Mana Immune, surely around the corner. But the Dragon, again, looks like it will be uncontested. Gen.G don't feel like they need to take this one out. Second Herald about to spawn. They will turn their sights towards the top side of the map instead. Don't really feel like they need the Dragon stacking as a win condition. And Infernal is going to be the soul this time around. So the stacking going to be more important than it was in the game 1.
Yeah, they had double TP, but they choose for the cross map. But DRX are around, and they're hovering to contest. They get the mid push in. Kingen has joined his team. Doran still on the spot side. Will look for the bot tier 1 that's incredibly low. So Gen.G right now are buying time for this Ornn to push in, take the tower, and then once the tower is down, then they will TP up with the Ornn and try to take this fight. So DRX are on a timer here. They have about 10 to 15 seconds to play with while Kingen's around mid before they have to go back towards bot. So they want to force something, but they need to make sure they're not too impatient.
Can't be too impatient, can't be too slow. Herald now going to reset, and the window's closed, really. Dorn can just TP up now. Kingen now has to return to the bottom lane. Dorn with a TP advantage can use his TP to come to the fight. So again, small trades continuously going in the favor of Gen.G in this instance, and Zeka, well, it was pretty massively ahead. Chovy getting farm on these side lanes has been steadily catching up.
He has got a shutdown on himself now, 150 gold, only down 10 CS. So that window's closed like I talked about. Zeka has to catch top, Kingen has to catch bot lane, and the Herald will go over. I expect that to be used in the mid lane. Try and take down that mid tower to stop the Caitlyn from being able to walk up. Oh, this poke Varus is doing so much work and getting that mid push as well, isn't it, Ruler? Of course, he's famous for the Varus. Actually, hang on a second.
Down, big damage, picking off supports. Not quite enough. The healing coming in from Lehens opts to empower the snare, so gets the initial healing there. As Pyosik, patience on the sidestep. Is Ruler just fishing, maybe hoping to catch the dash?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's looking for. Looked a bit awkward, but was hoping that maybe Pyosik would backstep and then kind of jump towards the backside, and maybe they could pick up the kill that way. Won't hurt him too much. There's no objectives to fight over, so that'll be back up. And it was the Varus ult from Ruler that solidified the World Championship, that actually caught out Faker in the mid lane on the Karma, and it's what pushed him to that world title. Of course, there's 2 world champions in this game, Ruler and Beryl, staring at each other opposite ends on the bot lane. Chovy, though,
fishing for the 1v1, will find it. Dash being matched for Dash. Everfrost for Everfrost. Trading back and forth, but Chovy still on the hunt. Chovy still fishing for more, but Zeka will make it out.
Nerves of steel from Zeka. Doesn't panic flash the chain. Knows he'll be all right. Knows it won't connect. DRX now pressuring on the spot side, and despite this lane lead that Zeka has built up for himself, he's actually losing out on the side lane when Chovy can take away that ultimate. Kingen right now, Pyosik right now is on 3 stacks. Needs 1 more to push himself to that 4. It's on the Gromp, but he can't find his way into the bot side jungle, so Gen.G are going to force towards mid. Zeka has the TP, Chovy does not.
And this is the struggle of playing against Gen.G when they deny so many avenues. Against Denwankia, it felt like a brawl. Left and right, trades back and forth. But here against DRX, Gen.G are bleeding them out. No avenues of attack, no options to come back in. And we look back to the start of the game, so much of this comes down to Peanut, the early jungle pathing, isolating the bot lane. And while Pyosik tried to force the play on the bottom side, the second that went awry, it felt like Gen.G were in absolute control. The one sliver of hope that DRX were really holding on to was Zeka, was his individual advantage, but it just has not amounted to anything greater than a laning lead.
Yeah, they're going to have to look for team fights around these dragons soon. The problem is, when you play with Caitlyn, the reason the push is so important is because then when you're first to the dragon, you can have a trap set up. Pyosik
over the wall, fishing out for Lehens, forcing the flash out early. Peanut now gonna find an angle there. Pyosik goes right back over. Maybe gonna look to commit a little bit more here. Dorn in the area as well. Chovy in top lane. Pyosik wants Lehens. Will be spotted out here. Play will stop there, but fishing for that opportunity, taking the flash away from the Karma. Big in the fights to follow him. Pyosik wants to keep this one going. He's got the Kraken Slayer. He does good damage. He knows that in the long fight, he can take down Doran.
This is great for DRX because now this mid push will mean that they can move towards bot. That tower is still available, and Pyosik trying to push Doran back. We'll see if Gen.G has a response. Chovy has the TP. I don't think they can step up too far for this because next mid wave's coming in. Baron spawning soon. They need to make sure they have some kind of topside vision. So Doran will clear out the wave. Flash down on Lehens will mean that DRX can look to punish that later on around these neutral fights, but DRX want to keep this dragon set up. 40 seconds on the spawn. Everyone's going to base. Gen.G coming out of base as well. Pings on the Baron, though. You can see all those pings on the minimap on the top side. I wonder what DRX are thinking. Def just picking up that rapid fire. 2 items on the Caitlyn. Ruler has the 2 items as well.
I mean, you do have double 80 carries, essentially. Can shred through that objective, but I still think it's going to take much too much time. Maybe a Desperation Baron, maybe sneaking something away is an avenue for now. Pyosik holding on to control on the bottom side of the map, looking to take down this Scuttle Crab. Right as a mark respawn, looks like that's going to be his 4th.
Yeah, that's big for the Kindred. But the thing is, they need Caitlyn in here. They need Deft to get down towards this river so they can place the traps down. Caitlyn pushes in lane, puts down traps, and makes it so it's hard for face checks to happen. But Gen G have already found their way in. They've gone through bot. Peanuts already in the river. Vision contest coming in. Zeka TPing back with the Banshees.
Fight's gonna be big. Chovy taking away the ulti. DRX gonna try to set up the pseudo frontline, use the traps. Gain point control they can. Right now fishing. Ruler, you're gonna get caught out over the wall. Zeka desperate to get a sidestep on the Lux. That's the Yomu's Ghost Blade. The extra movement speed, taking him out to safety. Gen G pulling back for now. Brief pause. 5K. Dragon getting lower. Junglers with smites this time around, wanting to go in, wanting to get a little bit more. Who will take it? In the end, it's ticking, it's resetting, but the Kindred will smite it and take it down. And now the fight turns as Kingen on the backside. DRX standing, 4 members strong, pushing in. They want to break Gen G. Kingen going over the wall will get locked up. Nobody going to fall in the end, but it is the Dragon to DRX.
DRX push Gen G back for the first time in this series. Ruler getting caught by the binding by Zeka, forcing him out the fight, meaning that it's basically a 4v5 from the get-go. The Dragon reset making the situation extremely awkward, but DRX get what they came for, losing a couple flashes on their solo layers, but forcing them back onto Gen G.
Ruler returning to mid lane. Atlanta, hope begins to build once again. Hungry ever for more action. You gotta fight with no kills. They want to see more.
And DRX, they have a lot of standing gold. Top tier 1, bot tier 1, they just need side push. It's a very different game from game 1.
Barrel. Locked down, Barrel clean binding over the wall. Barula coming in, Peanut flashing to the side. Barrel flashing out to safety, knowing the ult would be the end of him. Ulti will not connect.
Look at Zeka. TP behind, that's King.
It's going to be Peanut's in trouble. This would be everything. Peanut running. Kicking off to the side, the Barrel's going to be big. Zaka now leaping forward. Zaka trying to land everything. It looks like he's going to take down Lahed. Lahed still standing. Lahed still alive. Peanut finding, but Kingen finding one. Kingen looking for a few more, baby. That's the power of the Gragas, and Pyosik will live to see another day. Blocking him down the dashboard. The traps, it just keeps coming, but it's Chovy up to the side with the Lux Laser. Big damage, but not enough to finish the kill.
2-1 on the kill score. DRX pick up 2. Massive TP flank there from King and Zeka with the gap close. Summoners blown, and again Peanut loses his flash. Barrel, on the tip, they're almost falling to Gen G, who will pick up this tower. Lux Laser won't be enough to slow down the push. And the game goes back to a state of basing and vision control. DRX managed to punish Gen G this time around, and they're going to look to do so once again.
Credit to DRX, they've been finding the avenues, they've been finding the angles, they've been holding on despite a very difficult early game. Tracking now the items as we return. 2 on the Caitlyn, the extra range, but you can see how hard it is when these arrows connect from Ruler. In a game of auto attacks, Caitlyn's gonna win every time, but if it's just about those abilities, Ruler is hitting like a truck. Only King can really weather the storm. Barrel, Zeka, Deft, all have to be so incredibly careful. Pyosik as well. And now, the Baron and the sights of Gen G that got set up. It's absolute darkness. The blue ward being used, but Gen G waiting, hungry.
Zeka pushing out top. Pyosik actually stayed on the bot side of the map. He picked up the blue buff, which had a mark on it. Gen G really want to start this Baron up, but they don't have damage for it. Poke Varus can't get Baron down quickly. Sylas is not something like an Azir that can burn it down. They can only threaten it, and they need to make DRX walk into them, but they don't take the bait. Pyosik gets another stack on the back half of that. Peanut will pick up the Wolves to deny the next one. Let's take a look at the replay here. Peanut wants to smite away, I believe, the big Raptor, or try to take it away. Binding connects, trap connects, all the damage lands onto him. The E there, Knight's Calibernet to get the auto attack in. The ultimate means that
picture in picture. Live screen, the play now going out. Peanut may have been caught out again, leaping forward. That's going to be the pick. DRX.
That's massive. DRX are going to push it mid. That's a free tower.
Going to be big. DRX, the siege now continues. The power of the Caitlyn finally online. The sieging potential of the double 80 carries. They will break open mid-tier 2. Atlanta comes alive. They are ready for more. They are ready for the 5-game series, and it starts with DRX taking more and more advantages here.
And it starts with Kingen. Saw Peanut on the Wolves there while we went to the replay. Actually finds him on the pick. Deft follows up with the ultimate and the Gale Force. Second, they pushed down mid there and got the tower. DRX were pinging side waves. They need to push out these sides. Gold still down for DRX, but the game feels very even. DRX have so much playmaking tools, and this is what they lacked in game 1. Ways to gap close and connect onto Gen G. Sitting on 2 dragons similar to last game, but this time around it's an Infernal Soul. This time it's something that they can force and fight around. 45 seconds on this next dragon. DRX looking to take bases, looking to set up.
and they certainly are not out of the woods yet. Banshee's Veil here, very strong for Zeka to mitigate some of that initial poke. You can see Shadow Flame on the opposite side for Chovy. Surely a death cap to follow. This will be one terrifying Sylas. Crowd alive here, ready for more. 22 seconds on the Infernal. Peanut clearing out what vision he can. DRX taking control of the mid lane for now. Very easy for Ruler to just one-shot the wave. But this is the setup we talked about. This is what is so important when you have a Caitlyn on your team laying down the trap line. Cadril, you highlighted it so many times.
A lot of question mark pings in the bot side jungle here. Chovy has TP. He could TP behind DRX right now and sandwich them. The trap line is buying time to make it so Gen.G have to go through bot, but right now he's pushing onto this top tier 2. Gen.G have to fight this though. They're going to be on soul point. There's the TP. There's the double TP. DRX on the dragon.
Peanut up to the side. He wants to make it over the wall. He wants to steal it, but it will not happen yet. Doran in enemy territory. DRX taking their third dragon.
And they're out. They're gone. The top tier 2 is still alive. That's double global from Gen.G and no fight to happen. Dragon over to DRX, and now they're going to move in towards the top side. Doran gets hit by the binding, but no real follow-up here. Gen.G must be a little bit frustrated with this. They invested so much and got nothing from this play.
Ruler just has not been able to hit an arrow. DRX giving him so much respect in these exchanges, taking the Scuttle Crab, returning to the mid lane. Have to be careful about walking in on this one. Gen.G determined to get something back. DRX finally able to fight fire with fire in this game. No longer just letting Gen.G bleed them out. It will no longer be death by 1,000 cuts. Gen.G are going to have to fight fist to fist in this one.
Gen.G kind of have their backs against the wall in a sense right now because DRX will wait. They will just wait 4 minutes and they will fight an Infernal Soul. And Gen.G have the option of 1, try to force a Baron, but it's very hard with Sylas and Varus, or 2, play the waiting game with them and see this Caitlyn get an Infinity Edge. That's the biggest hurdle that they're going to have to overcome. It's so hard to bait DRX into these objectives, into this Baron, because DRX know they can't finish it. They know they don't have the innate DPS, but eventually they're just going to have to do it, I think, after they take these bases and pick up these next cores. Chovy getting close to that Rabadon's. Forces will come through. DRX need to keep mid-push, though. Pyosik in trouble.
For an angle. Pyosik locked down the snare. Surely going to connect now. Pyosik can throw down the Lamb's Rest, but it's stored from over the wall. Pyosik sidestepping. The healing now going to come in. Oh! But the combo is clean! Ruler and Peanut stand together. Collateral damage. The arrow from Varus. They will find the enemy jungler.
Incredible range there. Pyosik had the flash, but he doesn't flash in time. Jungler down for 30 seconds. Could this be the window for Gen.G to force it up? King and low on mana has the ultimate. Is going to base in TP. Gen.G will take this window, and they will force DRX to respond. Caitlyn ults for poke onto Beryl. Zeka has the ultimate. Kingen is back here. Lehens and Ruler looking for a target. Ruler no flash though.
Ruler caught out, knocked back into the wall. It's going to be a big laser! But it won't finish the job. It's just a support Lux. Doran getting pushed out of this one. And again, they don't have the damage to force the Baron, and DRX know it, so they move into the pit. They are fishing for the kill. Zeka leaping forward, looking to lock Doran down. The flashback of the wall. It's Chovy on the backside, but it's Chovy in turn who will be locked up. He's ignited. He dashes out. He's ready to dash back in, but it was not the right call. The shutdown for Deft.
48 seconds on the superstar mid laner of Gen.G. DRX have so much time to work with, and you can see it right there. Gen.G, despite getting a pick onto the enemy jungler, they just can't get the Baron down enough to merit DRX actually being forced to walk in, so they play the range game. Ruler lost his flash, so easy target for Kingen. DRX are not going to force Baron on the back half of that. There's still a top tier 1 up. There's still a bot tier 1 up, and this all comes off the back of Pyosik getting caught out. Doesn't panic though, saves the flash, uses the ultimate, and look at Ruler here on the right-hand side. Gets picked off by Deft, forces his flash out. Pyosik dies, but Gen.G crumble and fall apart around that Baron.
And the combo is clean, the timing's clean to finish the enemy jungler, but we saw in that play the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths, the poke, how quickly they can kill someone. The weaknesses, they cannot do this Baron, but they chose to start it anyway.
Chovy here dashing out, but that chain, did he really want that one to land? Maybe if he got the W in, he could maybe sustain through the Caitlyn ult, but the Gragas E stopped that from happening. Deft, 3 items strong now. Infinity Edge Caitlyn, despite losing the lane phase and being down 40 CS, he is incredibly strong in this mid to late game transition now. And all that time we've spent fighting around this Baron has given more time for this Dragon to spawn. 1 minute 20 seconds on that one. DRX are going to look to get vision around it, look to secure it. Even in a 50-50 scenario, they'll take that because that's going to stay there for the rest of the game. Gen.G struggling to find responses. They're going to try to go through mid here to deny the trap setup from DRX because Zeka, still on this top side, hasn't taken his base. Doran coming through the mid lane now for Gen.G. They'll group up as 5. Chovy with the bot push as well. 1 minute left on this Dragon.
Gen.G doing everything they can to make sure that they can get control of the bottom side of the map. You can see, again, the power of the poke from Varus. And Gen.G have the setup. If they are free to rain down these arrows from afar, they can take fights, they can find picks, they can win the exchanges. But if DRX get the setup, if the Caitlyn traps go down, it is so difficult, it is so hard for Gen.G to fight their way in. Now they stand as 5. They will not be split in the next one. Everything on the line for this Infernal Soul.
30 seconds. Peanut. He's gonna find Kingen. Playing with confidence. Chovy's gonna push out bots. Look at Zeka though. Zeka's going for an incredible flank around the side. Ruler has no flash. This could be a big, this could be a big
damage. The clutch over the line. And a fall of Ruler. Taken out of the fight, but they don't quite have the damage division. Now instead, turning back to Doran. Taking the Ornn out of the equation. The LD will hit nobody. Zeka! Zeka! Remember his name! It was his laning advantage. It was his charm. And it was his charm again. But Peanut can be the difference maker. He can look to turn it, but he will not take the risk. Instead, it will be Inferno for DRX.
And they're going to move towards the Baron, and they're going to get this top tier one. Gen.G realize they cannot enter the top side of the map, so they'll try to pressure instead. Kingen has the TP. They might get this bot tier 3, but DRX will get so much more. The dive coming in, though.
They overstayed. Kingen is now going to make it out. They need to trade this back for a major objective. Deft and Pyosik burning through it as quickly as they can, but now it's all high-stakes League of Legends. Every single choice putting them closer and closer to death. Gen.G taking the inhibitor, the parent. Now going to be the trade in the end, the Baron and the Infernal for a single inhibitor. DRX feeling good at the end of the day.
It's a consolation prize. They won't really mind about that inhibitor. They have a Baron buff and they have TP on King, and he'll just sit on bot and just push out these waves. This is 5 minutes of DRX domination. Who'd have thought off the back of their regular season, losing to KT, losing to Hanu Alive, losing in the first round of playoffs. 5-game series both times to even get here in the first place, and now up against the LCK first seed. T1 couldn't even take them down in the finals. They're sitting in a very, very good spot to take a win here to even up the series. Kingen will buff up these bot lane creeps, push in the waves. Bot tower's alive, but it's Zeka all the way. Flanks onto Ruler, finds a vision pocket, gets his summoners out. And then the knockback means that they turn onto Dora, and Zeka gets the reset on the charge. And then he decides to just send it, dashes forwards, E-Flash, just gets onto the AD carry of Gen.G. The world champion falls and DRX rise.
A beautiful, beautiful play. You can see the joy, the elation on the faces of the DRX staff. But again, remember, the DRX, while they are barreling down the bottom lane, while they do have so many advantages, they are not out of the woods yet, because Gen.G has not lost to this team this year. They have had bigger leads, and they have lost those games. So for DRX, it's eyes on the prize. They have to stay focused in this match.
DRX have been through the trenches to get here. So many 5-game series, regional and international. Up against EDG, they managed to pull off the reverse sweep. Push in bot here, push in mid. Zeka doesn't have the TP, Kingen does. They haven't started the siege just yet, finding it difficult to find the setup. A lot of poke coming out from Gen.G is negating a lot of it. No Bloodthirster onto death just yet, means he can't lifesteal through this poke. 3 minutes, 40 seconds though, on an Elder Dragon. We know exactly what that Dragon buff can do. It can turn the tide of an entire game, despite how far behind you are. And despite looking at an Infernal Soul, Gen.G need to buy time for that Dragon to spawn. If they can steal that, that could change everything.
And for now, the map resets. DRX, a minute left on the Baron. The Infernal buff will stay, but this Baron will fade away. Take a deep breath, Atlanta. We got time. We got a 3-minute timer in your corner. That is when it will become do or die. In the meantime, it'll be fishing for picks. It'll be looking for angles. It'll be fighting for vision, picking up waves, and looking for those final items. Perhaps DRX aren't content to wait. For now, pushing in, taking vision, looking to gain control over the map.
Kindred sitting on 7 stacks now. Pyosik does a lot of damage in these fights. So what happened with this Baron buff? With 30 seconds remaining on that buff, they've taken 2 side lane tier 1s. They're looking for this top tier 2 as well. DRX want to push in mid and move towards top. Poke coming in from Ruler, doesn't do too much damage. Plated steel caps onto Pyosik. Will pick up the red buff as well to get that innate regen on his health bar. This is basically the last Baron buffed up wave, and Gen.G will clear it out. The siege has stopped. DRX will back away, but they sit with a hefty gold lead and that Infernal Dragon Soul.
And how quickly the stakes have risen, and again, you highlighted how much DRX had been through to get to this series, to get to this match. But even in this game, it felt lost at times in that early game. The bottom side being shut down. The Caitlyn Lux, though, coming to their own in this mid game. Partly on the back of Pyosik and most certainly Zeka. highlight moments from this man across the match.
Oh, as well as Kingen. He's been finding so many picks for DRX. He's been the one setting it up or following up enough to make sure they can get these kills, and Zeka with that final fight, making sure they can get this soul in the first place. Gen G are stalling. They're waiting. They're buying time for this Elder Dragon, sorry, so they can find their next fight. Chovy looking for some kind of flank though, has the Ari ultimate. Ruler just picked up the Cyril. That's 4-item lethality poke. Varus now will dish out a lot of damage, but the later the game goes on, the more it falls off. 6 items poke champions never do too well, because at that point you have defensives, you have warmogs, you have full frontline tanks that can soak it up, you have lifesteal, so Ruler will be about as strong as he'll get for the rest of the game.
And without any setup CC, especially against a Gale Force on the opposite side, there's just so much movement speed. If you're just raw throwing arrows, it's very unlikely they'll hit. You have to throw them from Fog of War, you have to wait for some initial CC. Chovy now fishing for a pick on the Pioshik. But it was just the Ari ult expiring, I believe, so not overcommitting here. Pioshik actually the one who wants to kick things off. He's gonna get another charge out in that TP. Zeka's gonna be spotted though.
Yeah.
This is not quite the glorious flank he was hoping for. And Gen G with priority access onto the Infernal. DRX have put themselves in a very tricky position. A minute still left to the objective, but all of the vision right now belonging to Gen G.
Gen G realized they cannot go through mid, so they have to go through bot. Chovy's been having the side push the majority of the game. The inhib's down, so they can keep these waves towards DRX's side of the map, which gives them a pocket to play a vision. But look at DRX, they're just barreling down mid. 40 seconds on that Elder Dragon spawn. They want to take the inhibitor, force Gen G to base from that bot side respawn, but Zeka
careful, leaping in, forcing the flash out from Chovy, turning their attention instead. Everybody is recalling on the side of Gen G. DRX have caught their opponents sleeping. And we'll look to take this inhibitor down, uncontested. But meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, it is Peanut. Peanut trying to get a little bit more done. It's the 1v1 versus the top laner. Does he have the power? But no. Kingen just trying to buy time, just playing, maximizing the value out of the Infernal Soul procs.
Yep, he's playing around his cooldowns here, Kingen trying to chunk out Peanut as much as possible. DRX get the inhibitor. Peanut gets the bot wave in so deep that they can TP through bot. They have a vision pocket, they can play towards it. Ruder's gonna start it up. Gen G want a 50-50. They want DRX to flip this dragon. It's their only way back in the game. Will DRX give it to them? Where will Kingen TP? He's gonna TP in the pit. The stare down from Gen G. They want to finish this, but they don't have the health bars to tank it up. The poke, it's gonna miss. No flash on Chovy. Zeka, DRX are buying time for his ultimate.
There's no more room for split calls. It is Chovy on the bottom side. Chovy pushing for more. Chovy potentially looking to try and end or just at least leverage this wave in the bot lane, take open and take down that exposed inhibitor.
This is great from Chovy. They should be able to pick up this inhib. DRX have to force this. Zeka stayed. He could look to end. DRX need to get this down quickly. Chovy doesn't have the TP, but he could end the game. Kingen's here. No TP. It's the 4v4.
As well. They're trying to force the fight. It could all come down to a 50-50. Pioshik versus Peanut in the pit, but they're trying to zone him away. Doran already getting chipped away. Chovy running the fight to the side of DRX. Redemption could down, but Peanut, no! He's buying time. Pioshik, you madman, you genius, holding on to hope. A lamb's respite, indeed, buying the dragon a brief break so they can take it down in the end. But still, Chovy remains standing. One man versus the world. Will he be enough?
Never one without the other. Pioshik on Kindred keeps the dragon alive. Peanut smites into the Lamb's respite. DRX are looking to end this game to death. 1v2 against Ruler Lands. Barrels behind him.
No inhibitor this time. DRX and Deft will take the Elder, and they will take their first game off of Gen G in 2022.
What a turnaround for DRX. That game one, they couldn't find a single play. But you give Zeka a playmaker, and he will give you some kills. Manages to find Ruler so many times in those fights. DRX get a lead. DRX stack the dragons. And just a clean execution, no panic. On the end towards the Elder. They send Kingen back to base to deal with Chovy, and Pioshik deals with Peanut.
Beautiful game. Beautiful comeback from DRX again. The start of that game, Peanuts dissecting the map, splitting the map. The dominance that we saw from Gen G across game one and the start of game two was truly terrifying. But the fact that DRX fought back from that makes it all the more impressive. And now we look ahead, 1-1 at a game three. It's not gonna be about a reverse sweep today. What a game two.
What a game two. You can see DRX they've been through so much this year. Such a tough regular season, swapping in and out junglers, getting knocked out in playoffs in the first round in summer, 10 games played of 2 best-of-5s to even get here. Play-ins, group stage, 5-game series in quarters, and now they managed to even up the series against the LCK first seed, the team that was dominating not only them, but every other LCK team. 3-0ing the finals, 8-0 versus DRX, undisputed domination. DRX put a dent into Gen G.
Certainly did. Of course, while our team's ready up for Game 3, we're heading back over to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Draco. So welcome back to the analyst desk, where the State Farm Arena is squarely behind DRX. They're rooting for the underdog as they even up the series at 1-1. And it's important to note, this is the first victory that DRX has over Gen G this entire year, and it comes in the semifinals.
Comes in the semifinals, stops a 12-game loss streak that they had. We had Vedius showing all those like horrible stats that DRX had versus Gen G, and to do it at semis, this crazy path continues for DRX. It feels like the sky's the ceiling there.
And I will say, I was concerned after game 1. The early game was not looking promising, but DRX delivered in a beautiful way.
Now, all of that said, it was still a very slow pace of game as compared to what we had yesterday. But we do want to dive into the early game. I'm going to hand things over to Emily to kind of walk us through the way the junglers both approached these early levels.
Yeah, so Vedius already mentioned it didn't start off super well for DRX. I'm going to talk a little bit about why by talking about everyone's favorite thing, early jungle pathing. You're going to see here Peanut gets spotted invading, so Pyoshik is actually going to go up and invade on the opposite side. The only problem is down in bot lane, right down here, Peanut's gonna show here basically, and they've pushed this wave up, right? So Peanut comes down, he's able to cover. We can play the, yeah, there we go. So they get backed off. This wave gets kind of frozen right up here, and they get completely pushed off of it, right? Meanwhile, Pyoshik had already swapped away from where they'd pushed in early. He does show up here, and they have this play that they kind of fumble a bit, almost get it. But the most important thing happens here where Ruler ends up getting the first blood, and this is massive in a Caitlyn Lux lane, which we've talked about, the difficulty of execution, how you want that to push always to give you bot side pressure. This was a disaster.
I thought the game was over straight up, because not only did that play just completely punt the early game win con, but it was just the way it looked too, where Pyoshik maybe could have continued on, and with the Caitlyn Q that came through, might have had enough damage for the execute on the Wolf to finish it off. Didn't end up happening, and so I thought they were playing scared. I thought that they were on the back foot completely.
That's very much what it felt like, but one of the great strengths of DRX's comp is its range, its ability to find single targets and catch them out, and I think that they did a really good job of doing that as we entered the mid game. Peanut had an uncharacteristic performance where he was overstepping and he was being repeatedly punished. A lot of that credit needs to go to Kingen, but the rest of the team did a great job of just capitalizing off of these small picks. I do think DRX could have been a little more aggressive. I think this was a big window where they could have forced something like a Baron, but overall I think that the way in which they leveraged their comp, the very long range that they had, the incredible pick tools to split apart Gen G, it all came together to kind of separate and slow Gen G down.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was going to say, I want to give, obviously, Zeka here absolutely beasts this fight, despite the fact that Ruler does cleanse, ends up getting out. It splits the fight up, so they're able to turn. Zeka gets that kill, then lands this sick charm onto Ruler to get him out of the fight. The way he played these fights was so good.
I'll say it again, say it at the top of the day, just Kingen and Zeka, these two solo laners, these two young solo laners for DRX, never finish higher than 4th anywhere, regionally, in playoffs, in regular season, and suddenly they're top 4 in the entire world, continuing to make insane plays against this team they hadn't been able to beat, that everyone considers has 2 of the best carry players in the entire world in Ruler and Chovy, these godlike players who have all these more accomplishments and then more experience. They're still the ones finding these insane plays.
Yeah, and that's where, like, obviously, Zeka deserves a ton of credit. I do think Kingen had a really good performance in this game. He obviously had a rough time in the first game, but that is also Kingen being at the front line, splitting up these fights along with Zeka, is actually what allowed the Caitlyn Lux to play from the back of the fight, right? Like, no one could get on them, despite the fact that they started off getting massively behind to Ruler in lane.
And Vedius for Zeka to do it on the Ahri pick into a Sylas pick. Again, it's that idea that he had been reduced to a 2-champ player, I think, in the World Championship, but this is
this Ari pick is something that he brought out. He debuted in the LCK when it was reworked. He's comfortable to jump back to it, and to get the win on it, again, is going to continue to change the conversation around how now Gen G has to consider the draft phase from here on out. He also picks up our 1+ OP player of the game for getting it over the line here for DRX.
Yeah, and inherently when you look at DRX, it is always a team effort. It's just that in these pivotal moments, this man is a playmaker. I used that reference earlier, whereas Chovy is that calm, calculated, pristine perfectionist in a way. This is a man that will just flash in your face and he will make the play. Zero hesitation. He has nothing but confidence behind him. And I think that he demonstrates, alongside the rest of DRX, something that we love to see at Worlds, which is, yes, there's a pre-established meta. Yes, there are champions that are strong, that exist in the meta for a reason. But you should play what you're damn good at. And that is exactly what this roster does. It's how they've been able to get here. And the fact that we have really seen very little Ari at Worlds, he brings it out, he bullies the hell out of Chovy in lane, and then he goes on to make plays like that, just goes to demonstrate that this roster definitely has more left in the tank.
The bullying is what I want to highlight, because people talk about Chovy's laning being godlike. He was down 20 CS, he was shoved in under his turret, he bought Rift Herald with his own pressure, Zeka did, and then he was able to get it dropped mid lane, and that was kind of what gave them that foothold back in the game, was just off Zeka's laning. They broke mid turret at 11 minutes in.
Yeah, after I looked at that path, I was going on the headset to try to get it, and I was like, wait, how did DRX get Herald? And it was all off of Zeka's mid lane pressure.
And it's good that we brought it full circle, because after game one, we showed the CS differentials and the gold differentials of both Ruler and Chovy, but Zeka flipping the script on him this time and even doubling, tripling that amount. Gen G's going back to blue side here. Vedius, what do you expect?
Well, I think that they need a little bit more agency. Range was their biggest problem. When you run the Karma and the Ornn, you're very reliant on Ornn to face check, to engage. You always need him with you. And I think that this just limited Gen G's options. So I think they want to expand a little bit more in the draft and look for ways that they can actually go toe-to-toe with DRX.
You know, I'd forgotten about the Ornn. I blame Sheffius for this loss. It's all his fault. All right, well, Worlds is a gauntlet, and the best way to keep up with all the action on the go is Riot Mobile. It's home to all things League, Valorant, and more, where you can watch Worlds live, catch up on series scores, and chat about all the action with your friends. Check it out. We'll see you back here for game number 3 in just a bit.
Barrel immediately flashing forward, waiting on the binding, but the binding goes wide. The head still standing. One looking for more stacks in the mounting dread, but they cannot find the kill. Only the summoner spell on Ruler firing back. Oh man, he's a monster.
The 2v3 turned in favor of Gen G. Ruler has no flash. This could be a big. This could be a
big damage. The clutch rubber. Oh, it's all of Ruler taken out of the fight, but they don't quite have the damage to finish him. Now instead, turning back to Doran, taking the Ornn out of the equation. The ulti will hit nobody.
Red Bull gives you wings.
We're diving into this Assist of the Week presented by State Farm. With T1 behind and Elder on the line, Faker flies to the back line of RNG as the fight breaks out, completely dismantling RNG's teamfight hopes.
Feathers are already down. If they get to the backside, if they can get onto Gumi, it could all fall apart. But already, the ult is massive. The hostile takeover is big. Shadow on the backside. No! No, T1, how can you make this happen? You are absolutely slaughtering RNG. T1, when it matters, they stand, they deliver, and breathe. All the leads he built will fall away as T1 take the fight. Welcome back to the State Farm Arena, where we just got an exclusive look behind the scenes of yesterday's semifinal series, thanks to the 1+ Cam. Now, yesterday was awesome, but now that we're 1-1, I'm feeling pretty great about today's series too. That said, as good as the game was from DRX, as much as they mounted that incredible comeback, Gen G, the best in the LCK, number 1 in the LCK for a reason, and they are back on blue side.
They are. Blue side currently 2-0. We'll get a minimum of 2 games from now on. Similar bans coming out from Gen G, but this time around they're not actually choosing for a first pick. They're actually just gonna ban away the Sylas instead. This will shake things up. DRX have a lot to think about now. Aatrox, Caitlyn, Sejuani on the champ that slid through the draft. Viego, Graves, the 2 junglers that you think of. Lucian, Nami, something DRX have been taking away from Gen G these last 2 games. It's about trading OPs and making sure they can find what they want. There's the Lucian, Nami.
The question also becomes, how important is the comfort? Are Gen G concerned about something like the Kindred, or they feel like execution was ultimately the issue, or perhaps another piece of their draft that failed them? For now, as you highlighted, it really is just premier meta bans. Only the Heimerdinger really the one that stands out as a target ban.
So I wonder what the first pick will be here if they take away Caitlyn. Does DRX have the confidence to leave it up, I wonder, actually? Gen G then first picking it and DRX having a response is one option. Option number 2 is they take away Caitlyn, and then you're looking at perhaps a jungle first pick, an Akali first pick, a Sejuani first pick. They're going to take it away. So DRX do not want to deal with it. They don't have confidence in their response towards this champion. And now I think Sejuani, is going to be the best first pick there. DRX now the ones to respond. Akali could be a good option. Aphelios we haven't seen just yet in this series, I think could be another good option.
Aphelios generally feels like the best all-around AD carry in the meta. Certainly depends on what your composition needs, but if you are unsure, he is the jack of all trades. The start of this series felt like it was going to be all about the Sylas and the Akali. Game 1 certainly felt that way. Game 2, not so much. And perhaps now why we're seeing a departure from the immediate Akali lock, and of course DRX could still lock it here.
Deft hasn't played Aphelios just yet at Worlds. So the Viego is going to be the pickup. Akali still up. It's going to be Varus for DRX. I wonder if it's going to be more of an on-hit Varus, similar to what Ruler was rolling with in Game 1. Instead of going for that poke Varus, go for the on-hit. Sivir may be the response, but yeah, Aphelios not really a champ in Deft's wheelhouse, but it is in Rulers.
Interesting. What is the option going to be here? Because they can lock in the Kalista here. We may see an Ashe support response on the opposite side. Definitely Varus Ashe, not my favorite bot lane of all time, but has been historically known as that counter pick. Instead, the Karma now coming out, looking to fight for lane priority on the bottom side.
Trying to deny the push, exactly. So DRX have 2 options here again, just picking mid on 3 here, something like the Akali. Waiting to see the Sejuani flex on your top jungle, or picking support to match the Karma. It's hard to dig deep and find a champion that can contest the push against Karma, but Beryl has a lot of champions in his wheelhouse in terms of support. Renata could be something that works. It struggles with the push, but it can be a very good 2v2 lane in of itself.
There are only about 3 or 4 players in the world that I ever want to see play Ezreal. 2 of them are in this game right now, Ruler and Deft. It'll be Ruler trying his hands on this one. Karma Ezreal goes back a long, long time. Can be very safe, can be very dominant. The response on the opposite side going to be the Renata. Certainly more utility, more relevant CC in the fights, but it does not mean that the laning phase is going to be any easier.
Ezreal Karma, a lot of push, a lot of poke, and I think the DRX bot lane will struggle in that sense, but their team fighting will be strong. We saw what Gumayushi and Keria can get done with Varus, Renata. Now I think DRX could target towards mid. Gen G probably going to drop an Akali ban. They could also target towards top. Yeah, Renekton Sejuani, Camille Sejuani, and the things that you think about. Kingen has shown things like the Fiora, so maybe he's confident in countering that Camille. But we'll have to wait and see, because a Fiora ban here from Gen G and a Kali ban here stops this skirmish heavy power that I think DRX wants to lean into.
Yeah, anytime you have the Viego on your composition, you love to pair it with more heavy upfront burst damage. Now, I can't imagine we see another lethality bars, but it would pair nicely. Instead, for now, the Camille going to be banned away, taking their time here. Azir, remember, kind of was the king of group stage in terms of mid lane priority, but has been falling off pretty steadily. Could see it banned out. Wouldn't be surprised to see Gen G take it, but definitely not quite the pick that we once thought it was.
a very interesting draft here because they've actually taken away the Camille despite showing the Fiora in game 1 into the Camille. So they're very worried about that Camille on 4. So that maybe spells to me that they're deciding to put Sejuani top and they're looking for a jungler, something like the Graves perhaps on 4-5. Works very well on the late invades, can do really well especially into Viego in the early stages of doing those late invades. Narban here from DRX suggests to me they're leaning towards a tank as well to match the Sejuani. Gragas Ornn might be the pickup. So then the question is Akali still. Is that something that Gen G want to ban away? There's the Gragas ban because of the tank matchup. Akali's up, could be a pickup here on 4, but you could also counter mid. So now I think DRX are saying, do we have a counter to Akali? Looks like they do. Ornn picked up, and now I expect this Sejuani to go top.
Would certainly make a lot of sense. The second that Gragas ban comes out, it essentially forces DRX to either pick the Ornn or let it go through and not have a really reliable tank option on the top side for themselves. Kingen, of course, known as a carry player, but really made his mark in the team fights for DRX when he was playing Ornn in summer.
Chovies is here. He's going to get locked in. They have a lot of range and damage here. Actually, thinking about it, Gangplank would be pretty good here for Gen G, just in terms of range, poke, scaling as well. They can still opt into things like the Graves, but I think GP just suits their comp really well. They could also opt into double tank frontline with so much range. Maokai Sejuani, something along those lines. But Zeka needs to find a counter to this as the year. I think Akali will be his go-to. LeBlanc could work very well. But it is going to be Sejuani top and Trundle. That makes sense as well. Take away the resistance from the Ornn. Just have some kind of beefy frontline next to your Sejuani with the amount of scaling you have already.
And the Ornn, or rather not the Ornn, the Trundle Pillar is always going to feel incredibly good against immobile carries like the Varus. It is not something like a GP ult, but it will feel strong. Akali feels like it must be the pick. Zeka will lock it in. Wow. Chance to prove himself on it once again.
Gen G don't have that much spread damage, if that makes sense. All of their damage is coming from Chovy and Ruler. We talked about them being foundationally so reliable. They need to show it this game, because the later this game goes on, Peanut and Doran are just engaged frontline bots. Lehend is a shield bot, whereas on DRX they have quite a lot of damage pretty well spread out through. Ornn scales really well in terms of setting up damage as well, because of the percent coming through. Viego carry jungler, Akali, Varus, a lot of playmaking and engage. So Gen G need to get to break points of 3 items, keep front to back team fights going, and mark Zeka as much as possible. He's found so many flanks in that game 2 on Ahri. If he does it again in this game 3, Gen G will collapse. They will fall apart because they don't have the lockdown that they need to stop the Akali. The only thing they have is the Sejuani ult, which they need to go forwards.
There's 0 point and click CC for the Viego or the Akali. This is certainly going to be a tall task if DRX are able to split up Gen G, if they're able to stop them from fighting strong as 5. As we enter game 3, Gen G coming off the loss. Ruler, Chovy, iconic carries. Some of the most consistent, most reliable players in the world on Azir and Ezreal respectively. If anyone can take Gen G to a victory in this game 3, it has to be them.
Here we go, a best of 3 to decide who will go to the World Final to face T1 and Faker. Gen G and T1, of course, played the LCK Finals up against one another, but the rise of death and the crowd here in Atlanta are on the side of DRX2. The dark horse of the tournament. I don't think anyone, if you ask them a month ago, what do you think the semi-finals will look like, they'll say names like JDG and Top Esports, T1, Damwon. Gen G, DRX would be very low on that list. But here they are. LCK 4th seed up against the LCK 1st seed. 1-1 in the game score. Let's get into game 3. It looks like Gen G were trying to get some control over that bot brush there. Make sure they have the vision so the Ezreal Karma can get level 1 bot push. So they're not getting any kind of shenanigans in the middle brush from the Varus and the Renata.
Not too much explosive action going to happen. So we have a moment. Prime Gaming is giving away 150,000 RP to several lucky fans every single day of Worlds. You can head over to primegamingworlds22.com to enter. Make sure to put in today's secret code to get bonus entries. It's that one at the bottom of your screen, LOL66D2.
Good one.
Yeah. Got it.
You can read that out.
Locked that in. Pronunciated. But now, we get to talk about what has the potential to be a very explosive laning phase. But I imagine, Kadril, that short of lane phase disaster, this game is going to be so much more about the mid game, about the early spikes for champions like this Ezreal.
Yeah, and he's gone for the Conqueror here on Ezreal instead of the first strike. I think he's done that because there's 3 melee divers, so he can stack it up pretty effectively. But you might see a little bit of poke in this bot lane. Beryl can always flash forwards with the handshake level 2 if they can get it first. Bot lane's always about getting the push as much as possible, and if you're in range to hit champions, then of course hitting them will always be a good thing. Pushing them back. DRX get the first wave in, despite Gen G getting bot control on the brush. Zeka will have to trade health for minions in this matchup because of Azir's range in the early stages, and Tank's top is going to be just wet noodles fighting. We almost saw a solo kill last game with the Gragas and Ornn. I don't think we'll see one this time.
I'm just saying, I feel like it's a bit disingenuous to tell the world it's a wet noodle fight after we almost saw. They're wet noodles, but they will kill each other.
They will, and if they had Ignite, that would always help. These are two champions that sometimes did run it with things like the Spellbook, but not this time around. So Piosik's done his bot camps into top side, Peanut's done his top side camps into bot side, so DRX's bot lane will have to be a bit careful. We'll see if Piosik backtracks here. He could do Red Raptors and then go to that bot crap still, but DRX are going to struggle here to get this bot push in, despite having so much pressure now. Deft and Beryl have to play very far back because of where their jungler is and the information they currently have.
Lehen's Ruler not afraid to step forward, knowing that they have that information advantage as Kingen on the top side. What'd I say, Cadril? What'd I say?
Doran has the Ignite, actually. Didn't see that. Doesn't have the Spellbook, has the Grasp. So he could be a very easy dive target here for DRX. I think Kingen is intentionally hard trading, and Piosik can just pay a visit up here. I think they just need to crash the wave, and Doran is dead. We'll see if he can trade 1-for-1. Biscuit on Kingen, Biscuit on Doran. Is he going to ward the bush? Yes, he is. He knows something's up. Kingen needs to save mana here. He needs... Oh, he just used the W. I don't think they can dive now. He used the cookie. I don't know if they have the damage to kill this Sejuani. We're about to find out. Level up will help as well. Doran's holding the wave to make it so Kingen or Piosik has to tank. It will crash, though.
Last game, the first gank for Piosik was a disaster. Will this one be better? The Ignite now ticking down, tagging the tower, and first blood for DRX.
Easy does it. Yeah, easy does it. Kingen just great trades onto the Sejuani. No flash, ignites, but it's just a 1-for-0. So this was their game plan. Look at the CS in bot, though. Deft and Beryl are really suffering for this play under their tower, not being able to push despite having a good first couple waves. But a great dive there. First blood.
But important to highlight, said it, big discrepancy between top lane and bottom lane. In the bottom lane, Ruler and Lehen's are dominating. This is what we know this Karma Ezreal bot lane to do is as early as 2015 when we saw it, 2016, really rising in popularity. It's been in and out of the meta so many times. For now, really holding on to this advantage. Here comes Peanut through the lane, ready to just make sure that Ruler and Lehens can push this one out. And look at Beryl. He's just taking 50% of his life just to step forward and try to contest these creeps.
It's hard, isn't it? Ezreal Karma, so much poke. And your jungler doesn't have any lockdown either. So it's very hard. Ezreal incredibly slippery, the shield movement speed. And after these creeps die, we'll see what the CS total is. Looks like that's down roughly 11. And Gen G will just keep this pressure up. And what this will transition into is bot side invades from Peanuts, dragon stacking, bot push into mid to help out Chovy when he's trying to crash waves into Zeka. A lot of things they can use here. They can even use it for a Herald, but look top again, Doran.
There it is, Piosik stepping forward again. Now Doran in trouble, Doran taking it down. On the bot lane, it's the best of the time. In the top lane, it's the worst. The tale of two lanes here in game 3.
DRX putting all the resources up here. Ignite on Doran, no flash either. He is the man that DRX want to shut down to get their top jungle ahead, and Doran, of course, 3 years ago was on Griffin, actually was crying in a game 2 after they lost to, I think it was SKT back then in 2019. Did struggle with a lot of nerves, puts a lot of blame on himself. He's grown into such a reliable player for Gen G, but right now DRX have found the weakness. They've found kills right now in these early stages, despite their bot lane falling behind.
And so crucial now for Doran to weather the storm, to understand his role shifting, no longer about going even, just about surviving after suffering under so much jungle attention. You can see Peanut pulling ahead in terms of the individual jungle matchup. Big CS lead as Deft and Beryl finally starting to fire back, but topside is going to be a struggle. Peanut now moving in. Maybe, just maybe, they can try to force some kind of play here.
They don't have lockdown either, do they? It's only a Karma W that can stop Deft and Beryl from being able to move around so they can actually get the damage onto them. So Peanuts will transition this into a dragon. Quick to note, though, when the Varus gets towards level 6, it'll affect Gen G's bot lane a little bit because then they have setup. You know, Varus, Renato with the level 6 ultimates, Karma will be their target, so Lehens is going to have to play a little bit further back than he's doing now. Now he can just walk up in their face and just poke them as much as he wants. Piosik's entering this bot side river. Crab is spawning. Zeka is getting... He's catching the wave, but he is getting his way down towards this bot side river to help out his jungler. Could be a 4v4, but Deft's under tower.
Again, so many tools from DRX to kick this fight off, to isolate and lock down a single target, instantly trying to burn. Lehens looking for the reset. Piosik getting into the pit, but it ticked down, igniting, burning Zeka in the back line.
getting pushed out of his own shroud as the team retreats, but still, he will take down the Hens. DRX finding the kill in exchange for the Dragon. Can they get anything else? Ruler over the wall. Looking for poke. They've corralled Chovy. They've corralled Peanut. They're locking him down. They handshake it back into the waiting arms. And DRX take the fight.
Gen.G get the Dragon, but DRX know that there's a window here soon. And it comes off the back of who? It comes off the back of Zeka. Once again, manages to find the first kill in that fight onto the Hens. 4-0 scoreline, 2,000 gold for DRX right now. They are running away with this early game, and Deft getting that kill has actually put him ahead of Ruler.
Incredible position for DRX to find themselves. Pioshik as well has to be highlighted. 100% kill participation. You can see Gen.G control the objective, but these fights are so hard. They have no hard CC to lock down, to burst down, to take out a single target, and it makes it easy for Zeka to run rampant.
Look at him go, gets pushed back here by Chovy, but sees the kill in his eyes. Takes down Lehens, goes back into stealth, flashes out before Chovy can get the kill. Now it's awkward here for Gen.G because they don't want to flash out because they're confident enough to fight back. So they're waiting for their opportunity. Ruler out of mana though, and then this pullback from Beryl stops Chovy from being able to dash over the wall. Peanut flashes out, just about lives. Beryl playing that fight with so much confidence. Was on Damwon last year, of course, in the finals, is a world champion. Hang on a second, might be ulti. Cast the curse and die there. No, he levels up, should be all right. Deft fighting back
Deft
though.
stepping forward. There's no cleanse available. Ruler flashing to the side. Now they're fishing for a little bit more. Flash down. Beryl looking for the disengage. Handshake will connect onto 2. But again, both bot lanes playing on the edge here, fishing, looking for more, for kills, for angles to find the 2v2.
Pioshik gonna get a little bit of vision on this top side. Zeka is under tower, and they're forcing this Herald. Kingen and Doran are very low on mana. I think they have enough for about one combo. Zeka's ult is up, but Lehens is first to this objective. Beryl is a little bit slow, so the DRX take the 4v3 while they wait for Beryl. Does Pioshik look for the steal? He has no flash, but he has the ult. Let's watch Zeka though. When does he go in?
To the side, the Horn has been blown, but it will be interrupted. Looking for a bit of vengeance after that lane phase. Kingen burning, ticking, falling down. As Lehens will take the kill, the Herald as well, falling in favor of Gen.G.
Great ult there from Doran to stop DRX's engage. The second that Horn hits, Zeka will follow up straight away with his ultimate, and then Gen.G will have to retreat, but they can hold their ground when that ultimate's down, and they can get the objective. Gen.G still finding plays despite being behind. With this bot push moving towards mid, Lehens is first to that play, and Ruler, of course, used his flash to try to get the kill onto Deft. These legendary AD carries trading summoners back and forth. And we'll take a look at his Herald again because it's just Kingen's ultimate. If this hits, then they can look for the Sejuani. You know, Zeka can start to dash forwards, but Gen.G can stand tall.
Really just the Ignite being the difference maker there when it comes to finishing that kill overall. Now the Herald going to be an important tool. If used effectively, really can do so much to even up the goal, because when you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you see that across the board, outside of Beryl, DRX are ahead. Pioshik now fishing for an individual kill. Lehens getting out with the blast cone. Only making it out to safety, but Pioshik, despite falling behind in CS early, has just been so active across the map and is now starting to take camps away from Peanut and Gen.G.
Played over to DRX. Ruler's going to have to base. Deft's going to push in this wave. Dragon spawning in 1 minute 30 seconds, but Pioshik owns the bot side of the map. Peanut wants to take his red buff, but he knows the enemy junglers are around here. Deft's actually going to stick around. Doesn't have enough gold for the mythic, you have to imagine, just yet. Wants to pick up that shield bow before the dragon spawns, but will decide to back away as he knows Pioshik needs to go towards his Gromp. And the way DRX won last game was dragon stacking. It was getting that soul, the infernal one. We'll see if they try to stack that up again. TP on Kingen, no TP on Doran, so he can TP to mid tier 1 or bot tier 1 to help his team. There's a shield bow picked up for Deft.
And I think the struggle now for Gen.G is just going to be all about execution. Because you look at the side of DRX, and it's so easy for them to start fights. There are so many CC tools, there are so many reliable engage tools, and again, we've highlighted this a few times, but I think it deserves calling out again as a focal point. It's just Doran who's really that reliable engage. It is Chovy maybe with some sort of hero shuffle to make these plays happen. So Gen.G cannot afford to misstep or make any mistakes in this game, because coming back, if they get themselves in too big of a deficit, is so hard without reliable pick potential.
Herald placed, but Peanut got all the gold. None of it went to Ruler. So that's going to sting for Gen.G. You remember game 1 where they just invested everything into Ruler with the Herald. Yeah. Now they can't actually get as much resources as they might want. Deft still ahead. Mythic picked up 10 seconds on this dragon spawn, and I think Gen.G might have to just give this and move towards topside, but we've seen these teams in the semifinals take fights that we imagine they shouldn't. We'll keep our eye on Peanut though as he moves towards mid. He's going to take a recall. DRX pressuring down towards this bot side, expecting them to move towards the dragon
just afterwards. Still with a 1,000 gold lead, and will even up the Dragon's score. No cross map available for Peanut and Gen G as he picks up the Sunderer.
Atlanta cheering, ready for more. Dragon dropping in favor of DRX, evening it up as you highlighted. 1,000 gold advantage to them now. Bit of trading on the top side.
We want to
taking
kill
the
here.
tower. We want it. There it is! 1v1. Get the solo bolo guy.
My good God, Kingan's mechanics in that 1v1 were flawless. Flashes the Sejuani ult, follow us up with the ultimate, gets the auto in. Doran falls. Kingan having a fantastic series in his first Worlds semi-finals. Deft and the rest of DRX can rely on this top laner to go even or ahead, and right now he's running away with it. 2-1 on this Ornn. Pressure point for DRX, pressure in the bot lane from Deft. Zeka TP'd back to mid, getting closer and closer to that mythic.
Death Barrel taking control, taking over. Engage now coming out. Big damage to the handshake. Now being pulled back. Is it enough? Not quite to finish Lehens. We'll walk away fine, but again, Kingan. Game 1 was rough. Game 1 was difficult, but really coming back here in Game 3. Game 2 as well. I talked to Ashley Kang last night. She said, watch out for the Ornn. I was not thinking she was going to say that. I was expecting the Camille, Fiora, these carries. Instead, the Ornn here is Peanut now stepping forward, but Pyosik is in the area, and Pyosik is so strong. Won't be able to find anything else here, however.
That's 2 flashes. The jungle support just lost their flashes on the side of Gen G. Zeka is on the way and he's hunting. He's blocked by the Crux. He couldn't get around the wall there, but he does see Lehens, has the flash, has the ult.
Fishing for the stuns now, gonna find the lockdown, immediately gonna get the reset. Now he's the karma.
Oh my God!
And Brother will kill Brother as a hostile takeover gets the job done. Ruler taken out. Chovy is here. Chovy will try to strike back, but he's thrown in. He takes 1 back in return. Chovy trying to hold on. Chovy trying to keep the ship afloat, but DRX continue the push on the bottom side.
DRX pick up a couple kills once again. Lehens falls as well. All the gold from these plays over to the carries of DRX. And now in Game 3, with this sizable gold lead against the Titans that are Gen G, the LCK's first seed, dominating the entirety of summer and the playoffs. The 4th seed in DRX is striking back. So they got the flash out of the jungle support. Zeka comes down. Pyosik gets the kill instantly so he can get the Karma Soul. And once again, Beryl slams it home. Brother fights brother like you talked about. Peanut hitting onto Ruder. The cleanse isn't enough to trade in the 1-for-1. But what is enough to trade back is Chovy. Arrives a little bit too late. Maybe could have been here.
Well, that thought Beryl caught out. Handshake coming in. Beryl trying to retreat as much as he can. Will get burned down. Instead, will not be bailed out. Ruler grabbing that kill back in response. Gen G showing signs of life. 3K deficit, but they're holding on.
Hard to transition it into an objective, though. 15 seconds on the Herald, actually. Peanut's going to smite away that red in the face of Pyosik. I think they'll be able to pick up that objective pretty handily. No cross map available for DRX. 5 seconds on the Beryl. I don't think he'll be here in time if DRX want to take the fight.
Gen G set up around the objective. Ludens here for Chovy. Looking for that big burst damage. Looking to lock up and take down these squishy targets. Second Herald will fall for Gen G. First one, putting the gold into the back pocket of Peanut. Definitely not ideal. The second one, maybe they can use it to break down more of these towers. But it is not a free Herald. Kingan, given access to the bottom side, will deny a few more creeps before knocking this one down.
First brick, also be a lot of gold over to Kingan. 450 in his back pocket, no plates, so doesn't get upwards of 600. Will crash the bot waves in, and this is going to be a very tanky Ornn. And we talked about it in draft. Gen G's only damage is coming from mid and bot, whereas DRX have it coming from multiple sources. Zeka.
Not going to get anything else there. He still has the ult. Level 2 as well. It's going to be big if he tries to commit for the all-in. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Gen G trying to regain a bit of control of their own jungle.
Can they walk in? Red buff spawning really soon. I wonder if DRX want to keep this mid push so they can secure that. 1 minute on the next dragon, so maintaining bot vision is crucial. Zeka doesn't have the TP, neither does Chovy, so expecting Zeka to push out this or the next top wave, take a base, rejoin his team. Beryl's going to base for wards. Dragon stacking is everything. Deft, though.
Deft actually caught out a little bit here, but confident enough to keep trading, keep throwing down damage. Thorn waiting over the wall. It could be Pyosik who's in trouble, has the ulti. Can go unstoppable if he needs to. Waiting in the mist, fishing for another opportunity. And this game from Pyosik has been clean. 7 out of 8 kill participation. This is a guy who we know is feast or famine. He can be the best jungler in the world, and he can certainly throw a few kills away. But today,
most certainly in Game 3, he has been showing up.
He really has. He's had a very tough year, Piosik, being subbed in and out with Yuhan, having very inconsistent performances, but this series has been very good so far. We've seen his Kindred, his Viego, doing fantastic so far. 7 out of 8 kills, Dragon spawning in 10. Zeka's gonna take the base, Barrel's coming out of it with wards. Gen G actually just took a base as well. Top and bot lane in the Nexus Towers area, just running out of base. I think they'll be way too late to contest this Dragon, so DRX should be able to pick this one up pretty easily. Will they look for a cross map? Peanut has Herald. Could place it on mid right now if they really want to brute force their way in, but DRX will get this quite low before they arrive.
Peanut in the area. But you're right, looks like he is just going to back away. And you highlighted it again. The two players that matter on the side of Gen G are Chovy and Ruler, and if they are not ready to fight, Gen G cannot fight.
Peanut has the Herald. Is he going to place it? They're going to get this mid wave in and they're pinging towards top side. Gen G want to look for a cross map, but Kingen has TP. There's the Herald. There's
Doran fishing, locked down. Death now going to get taken out. They're trying to burn through, but he's still standing for now. Hostile takeover. Can he get it? He's been leveled out. He lives for far too long. Piosik now looking for a little bit more, and here comes Kingen. Barrel now trying to get something back, but Ruler just a bit too slippery. Zeka on the flank. The Herald will finish the tower, but DRX have their eyes set on the kills.
Ruler flashes away. Zeka is still hunting and looking. Peanut barely escapes. It turns into a 1-for-1. DRX want to force this tower down because Chovy's taking their top tower, and they should be able to get it pretty handily. Lehens with no summoners can't walk up too far, and DRX strike back on Gen G's play once again. Death living for so long to turn the tides, but overall, it's an even trade. Kill for kill, tower for tower. Summoners blown across the board.
DRX, you can see, trying to up the speed of this game. Chovy doing everything he can to get waves on the side lane, and Zeka now fishing.
No way.
The 1v1, the young prodigy versus Mr. Consistent, leaping back, he hits the mark. Chovy has to be so incredibly careful waiting, gets the TP out just by landing the shuriken flip.
He's playing with so much confidence, this kid, isn't he? Zeka being picked up by DRX from the LPL, coming over to the LCK, just running away, just playing with so much confidence in this series. Doran really good engage here. Deft no cleanse, just locks him down and gets the kill. It looks like Deft is just dead. Even when he comes out of the stun, doesn't flash. He thinks that he's just going to die, but the bailout buys so much time so you can get so many autos down onto Doran that he gets the reset. Ruler finally finished him, but it's a 1-for-1. Watch Peanut here as well. He gets so low. I think he flashes out to the side here and then manages to escape in the top side jungle by recalling as DRX keep their eyes on Gen G's bot lane.
Certainly, and the struggle is they have just barely enough bursts to finish off Def. Without Chovy in the area, it becomes so incredibly difficult for them to get anything. The bailout going to be more and more valuable if Gen G try to force these fights without both of their carries present. Chovy getting closer and closer to 2 items. Ruler just around the corner for the 2-item spike for Ezreal. Huge point of power in the game. Something that Gen G can look to leverage.
Gonna ult the wave here, Kingen. This tower should be fine. Barrel's hovering around. I think he can walk up in their face and just try to clear the wave. I don't think there's that much of a threat unless they hit the tower. Kingen's gonna land the knockup. The tower will die.
Chovy over the wall. Hostile takeover. Now dashing out to safety. That's the TP now coming in. Peanut is still healing up, still holding on for now. The TP has been canceled. Clean play coming in from Doran off screen to stop Zeka from coming to the fight, but Peanut will fall in exchange for the tower.
Good kill there from DRX. Barrel covering the weak side, knowing that there was something to get from that play because of how small the wave was. Chovy doesn't have a tower behind him. Does have the TP though. In comes Piosik, full committing.
Push back, not gonna matter when he's unstoppable. Chovy into the waiting arms of Piosik. Hand delivered by Kingen and Barrel.
4,000 gold lead, 20 minutes in for DRX. This was not what anyone expected from this lineup coming into the World Championship. They're going to move towards mid here. There's no objective to get from these kills, but Gen G, what is happening? They're falling apart. They're not finding any plays. Things are backfiring. Yes, Ruler's ahead, but the top side is in shambles.
You can see on the player cams, Peanut just doing his best to laugh it off. But this is not the team we expected to see. The consistency there to a certain degree, but losing so many kills across the map, and in this exchange, perhaps overstaying their welcome.
Yeah, I think Peanut tanks with bombies here, so he actually picks up the tower aggro. A few shots hit him. He ults onto Kingen, so he does heal up a bit. Doran stops the TP from Zeka there, but it doesn't really matter. Peanut doesn't have flash, nowhere to go, walking into enemy territory. He has a blast cone, so he could get out here, and the fact that there's an actual chance for him to be able to get out, Kingen just uses the flash and gets the kill, then they collapse on the Chovy with no tower. Don't think he has the passive either. We saw him use it earlier on up against Zeka in the 1v1 when Doran had the TP in to save him. Side lanes being dominated by DRX. Cross maps always trading ahead. 40 seconds on their soul points, and now they're looking for Doran. Doesn't commit the ult here, Kingen.
And Kadril, this version of DRX is terrifying. 4-11 the kill score against a team they had literally never won a game against until just 20 minutes ago. Now they stand 4K gold in the lead, 2 dragons up, 24 seconds till that next objective, massively ahead. 2-0-2, 2 items in the back pocket of Zeka. A similar story for Deft. Pioshik as well now with the Blade of the Rune King. They are so incredibly powerful. Learn Chovy, 2 items as well. The Gnasher's Tooth, the sustained damage is there, but Zeka not interested in facing them in the 5v5, looking for Doran here in the side lane, pushing him away, threatening, and now looking for the pick onto Peanut, but Peanut is a very tanky boy. Huge ult from Ruler, trying to burn down Death. The bailout will not be enough. It's clean.
TP from Doran to make sure they're safe. He knows Zeka is looking for a play. Hostile takeover is big though.
Big. Ruler now has to cleanse it out. Looking for the fishing for downtown. Now Pioshik getting the reset. 7 forward as the Karma wants to get the snare desperately. Zeka waiting over the wall. He's been locked up, but it's a clean ulti out from Pioshik. He will not be locked down. He will not be stopped. There's no CC left on the side of Gen G. DRX retreating back towards the Dragon, ready for the 4v4.
Piosik's having the series of his life right now.
Doran, handshake. Zeka on the flank, looking for Ruler. He gets it. He gets the R. He gets everything he wants, and now he can try to find another one. Zeka 2 lane again. Zeka, time after time, in the face of Chovy. Damn your church. He is here to win.
Do not forget the name. Zeka does it every single goddamn time on these champions. Akali, Sylas, whatever it might be, anything with playmaking, he will deliver.
And now DRX, 23 minutes into the game, 6K in the lead. They're gonna get that 3rd dragon from Deft on the bottom side. They're gonna get the Baron from the other 4 members of the team. They are slaughtering Gen G in the semifinals.
Don't think they can get the dragon here. Def doesn't have the confidence to finish it up, doesn't have the vision, and Ruler's coming out of base first, but let's look at that again. You think of this DRX lineup, you think of Def, you think of Def being the one leading the charge. He's struggling a little bit this game, but he's got rookies around him. Kingen and Zeka coming from KT trainees together in their friendship as best friends, convincing Zeka to come over to the LCK. And look what they can do in these fights, these rookies. No, we're gonna have to go back towards this dragon. Kingen looking for Gen G. This is soul points for DRX. Zeka on the flank again. Gen G, no lockdown CC. If the Sejuani ult's invested onto Zeka, then the rest of DRX can move forward. The Ornals will connect. They're trying to mark him as best as they can. Deft has no flash. Zeka has no flash. It's quick, hard to walk up. Gen G have a little bit of range.
Keep your eyes on the ultimate and the shuriken flip from Zeka. If either of those connect, if he gets into melee range, he will eliminate the carries. Hostile takeover, zoning away. Alti zoning away. Call of the Forge God used just to make sure that DRX can get the dragon. And now Gen G staying in the area, just trying to waste as much of the time on the Baron as they possibly can.
They don't pull the trigger either. Once the dragon fell, they decided against finding the fight. DRX, 1 minute 45 left on this Baron buff. They've used it to get a dragon. Not so much towers yet. All the tier 2s are alive still for Gen G. Upgrades coming through from the Ornn. We haven't even talked about the amount of scaling that the Ornn can provide to these champions like Varus and Akali. But it's the skirmish-heavy mid-jungle that Gen G are just struggling so much to deal with. They want range, they want to poke you out, they want to chip you down from a distance, but DRX are not giving them a single inch to work with, constantly finding a way to get on top of them with the Ornals, with Zeka, with Pioshik. And now it looks like the 1-4 is coming in. Siege onto mid with 4. Zeka ready to respond and move mid when he's needed.
Zeka playing without fear. 10 pages in the book. The Magi is stacking away. Happily sitting in bot lane against 2 of the opposition. A slow, steady siege in the mid lane. Gen G have to find a way to break this, but it is so hard. The ulti now connecting from Deft, but there will be no follow-up yet. Breaking the tier 2, setting their sights on the bottom lane already. Zeka has the wave in. They are ready to collapse here on the bottom side. Gen G forced to follow. Forced to be led around the map by DRX as they search for another tier 2.
Good macro from DRX so far. I think they dropped a mid-wave there. They had a little bit more pressure on that next wave. They could have looked and stayed longer for that tier 2 bot, but they'll be happy with that. They're sitting on soul points. Similar situation to game 2. DRX can afford to just play the waiting game. Eventually Gen G will have to fight them on this dragon. And when they do, that's when they'll strike. Magi's 10 stacks now for Zeka, building towards the Void Staff. He is going to do so much damage. Level 16, one combo will shred through either of these Gen G carries. The only damage that they have is in this Azir and Ezreal. And DRX
see how they set up. But for now, it's about patience, taking their time and punishing Gen G when they walk up. Gen G building towards spikes, looking for Void Staffs, looking for Cyrildas.
Hoping to get those items on the board. Desperately need them. The Ornn so incredibly tanky already. Pyosik closer and closer to the GA, making it that much harder to lock him down if you don't take into account the fact that his ult already going to make him unstoppable. Fearless as DRX step into enemy jungle, but Ruler still strong, still has to be respected. Pyosik and Beryl backing away. 2.5 minutes till the Baron spawns, 2.5 minutes to the Infernal Soul. DRX ready to fight for it. Gen G need to take that objective away. It's so hard now for Gen G, Cadril. This is a team, again, when we look back at their history, when we look back against their history, against DRX specifically, have come back from insane, nearly insurmountable deficits.
Yep.
But today, and here at Worlds, something feels different because this is not the DRX we saw in the LCK.
This is DRX's meta. You think of those games that they lost them in the regular season, the best example of that. Hang on a second, it's Peanut.
Quick stun, bit of follow-up damage as well. Pyosik stepping forward, Lahen's there to make sure Peanut can get out.
Yeah, best example of that is first round robin. DRX game 1 against Gen G in summer. They played the Seraphine, Lulu Kog'Maw, they played supportive style. Deft was the only carry on that team, on that lineup, and despite getting leads, they still fell. But with playmaking on Zeka, with tanks and carries for Kingen rather than just being a frontliner, this amount of playmaking means that Deft is relieved from the amount of pressure. Beryl joining the team, of course, as well, gives way more communication. He can be a voice for DRX, where Deft can then focus on his game a bit more, relieve all the stress and carry that needs to happen to win these games, offload it to players like Zeka, who love to play skirmish-heavy champs. And then you can see what he does with these fights.
Terrifying. Level 17. He shows up in your lane and you walk away. Already the Void Staff completed, no more stacks to the book because Gen G will not give him the fights. Deft clearing out the wave as best they can. Again, it's not about these side lanes, it is about these objectives. We are 1 minute away from the last chance for Gen G in this game. They cannot afford to lose another fight.
And they know that. They're trying to set up as quick as possible. Mid-wave's coming in, they need to push that one out, but DRX are going to be there to stop them. Doran is top right now. He's going to move his way down. He's going to TP in, actually. They really want this mid-wave. They really want control over this bot side river. Baron spawning at the exact same time, though. They can't afford to trade, so they're forced into this bot side river. They'll get a bit of control as Zeka pushes in bot. TP down to get this tower, but he'll be a looming flank, and Deft needs to be careful.
Good sidestep, catching out Kingen. Kingen going face first into the pillar. He will break it, but now he's forced to flash out to safety. Chovy fishing. Kingen going golden, trying to buy a bit more time. Hostile take over the flash, coming out as well. Ruler hitting Chovy left and right, and it's Zeka onto the back line, but for now he's only hitting Doran. Fishing for the angle, trying to get something done. It's into the back end. Again, it is Zeka! How do they do it every single time? This man might just be the cleanest Akali in the world. DRX take the fight, set their sights on the mid lane. They don't need the Baron.
And they're gonna end. Deft kills Chovy, TPing from Kingen. DRX don't care about this dragon. They don't care about soul point. They care about match point. They care about series point.
DRX, a victory march into the enemy base as they move to match point versus Gen G.
That man on your screen, Zeka, is making miracles happen here in Atlanta. Gen G are starstruck. They need to change the draft. They need to change the pace at which DRX are playing it. In game 1, DRX matched the pace. They said, we'll play a slow game. We'll pick scaling. We'll pick Azir. Game 2 and 3, they throw it all out the window and say, we're going back to pace. We're going back to skirmish. We're going back to things like the Akali. And it's working. And Gen G can't keep up.
I'm blown away. The individual levels of performance we are seeing from Zeka, from Pyosik in this game across the board. To weather the storm of the Lulu or the Karma, Ezreal on the bottom side. Ruler, though, you can still see all of Gen G still smiles on their faces, knowing the challenge, the task that stands in front of them. But are they still the favorites?
And Beryl's on the cusp of doing something Damwon couldn't. You know, taking them down, actually winning this series. And Gen G have really been tested here at Worlds. Summer, regular season, playoffs, they were never tested. But at Worlds, in these best of 5s, they're struggling.
Certainly are. And it has been incredible game 3. Have to see how Gen G fire back. But with our teams bringing us to match point, we're breaking down that game at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Welcome back to the analyst desk here, where there is a near 20,000 strong army behind DRX in the State Farm Arena. The fans have been popping the hell off for Deft and DRX as they are now 1 game away, Vedius. 1 game away from a world final.
So it was loud yesterday, right? T1 was in the arena. There were a lot of Faker fans.
It's gonna be
and when
loud.
Faker does things, you know, people get excited, okay? I was not expecting that same level of excitement for when Deft and Zeka were just popping off. This arena, when they saw Zeka lock in Akali, it was just like you could feel the floor rumbling, and everyone just knows that he's guaranteed to do something amazing, and he did just that.
I feel like you can also feel DRX almost like feeding off of the hype, right? Like this crowd is so behind them, and then this game is really the game where they stop being hesitant, right? Like we saw them hesitant on that bot side playing game 2. We saw them hesitant in a top lane gang. They're already chanting, let's go DRX. But like, they are absolutely at this point, and in this game specifically, the way they blew it open, feeding off of that.
Yeah, Pyosik was all over the map. Got to give a head tap to Kingen for kind of getting them low and setting this up. But with this initial kill, getting a little bit of extra gold into Pyosik, he was able to start running around the map. They keep picking him off in the top side. Eventually, that's going to spill over to the bot lane. Pyosik's this guy who is inconsistent. We talked about it in kind of the regular season and playoffs, getting swapped out even for Juhan and stuff. And then to come in and dominate on both his Kindred pick, which is obviously known for, his name comes from that, but then also here on the Viego, just absolutely smurfing. His ultimate usage was so good.
It's an incredible story for Pyosik, a player that has been a part of DRX for pretty much his whole career, and he's just a core part of this organization. They continue to invest in him, continue to believe in him, and even this split, sharing time with another jungler, the fact that there wasn't that much faith in him, the fact that people believed that the team was better when he wasn't playing, for him to have this level of glow up at this World Championship has been an incredible story and journey for him.
Yeah, it's really cool because I think the big thing for me for Pyosik is that when he was initially scouted, it was like, okay, he was scouted because he has these pocket picks, he has hands, he can develop as a player. And it hasn't been this like smooth improvement of like, oh, we started here and then, you know, we're rising up a little bit and like now we're here. No, it's been a very bumpy up and down road. And honestly, like the confidence he had in this game 3, like, yes, is it a simple setup to be like, okay, on the wave, you know, we're going to stack it, we're going to dive at level 3, we're going to revisit it at 5 minutes, like, no, that's not a revolutionary play, but the confidence and coordination he's had with his lanes, their setups, that's not something they had all year. It's amazing.
Yeah, but there's also something to be said for not making it more difficult than it needs to be, right? You know, and they are executing on the level that they need to. You talk about that aggression and the mechanical skill that's behind it, and Mark, what it nets is it nets solo laners who are set up for tremendous success, so it doesn't just stop at Pyosik.
No, I mean, both Kingen and Zeka are just turning heads this world. You heard Cajal mention the fact they were both KT trainees, and then Kingen was the one who convinced Zeka to come and join DRX. But I don't think the pitch was, we might make world finals. I don't think that's what he said to Zeka. These two guys, so young, but doing so well. Their first Worlds appearance.
And what's crazy about them is they're basically just no names. There is no pressure on their shoulders. There was no expectations upon being able to achieve something. Like, their careers have been nothing but up and down bumpy roads where maybe there was a chance where they could have turned it into something. The fact that they've leveled up at this World Championship has been incredible to see. And who would have thought that coming into today, it would be this top side that would be far and away outperforming that of Gen G.
Mark, you peep those 2 more solo kills for Zeka?
I circled them.
He's now in the double digits. He's in the double digits.
I circled them for a reason in the pre-show.
He's over 10. He's at 11 solo kills at Worlds now. That is astronomical for a young player. He's absolutely popping off. And while we've already talked about 3 of the members of DRX, we have another one to talk about in Barrel, because in this game, he made every second count. And thanks to reliable Cisco network, he comes in to save Deft in the mid lane, using that Renata to its fullest potential.
It's so many storylines with DRX to talk about. For Barrel, it might be his 3rd straight World Finals appearance. If they can find one more win here, he's such a good player. Keeping Deft up there so he gets some extra damage out and turn this fight around. It would look like a glimmer of hope for Gen G that he was able to snuff out.
Yeah, and for Beryl, I think it also hasn't been a smooth ride for him, right?
No.
Because we remember previously when he was kind of cited as a problem on Tamwan as a weak link, along with the bot laner at the time, Ghost. And even this past split, people are like, I don't know about Beryl or how well he's doing. And to come out and have such a strong Worlds performance for him as well. I know we're hitting a lot of narratives, but it's just amazing to see.
I mean, we have to, because again, DRX is on the precipice of making it to the World Finals. And hey, I'll take on bumpy road to 3 straight World Finals.
Yeah, there you go.
If that's all it is, a little bumpy ride, I'll take it. But Vedius, let's talk about how maybe we get a game 5.
Right.
Because now the pressure is on Gen G, and I honestly have to believe they're feeling it because they were the favorite coming in, and now they got to put 2 together back to back.
My eyes go towards Peanut. This man, during the regular season and throughout the LCK summer, was touted as the best jungler in the LCK. This man knows how to get early advantages. He's hyper efficient with his jungle pathing, and often he is a part of what helps Gen G get these early leads. But so far in the semifinals, we have not been seeing him step up, and we've been seeing one too many blunders that I think he needs to get under control.
I would love to see the draft change. Trundle, Azir, Ezreal, Karma, that is so uninteractive. It doesn't have much priority or playmaking in the early game. It feels like they just assume they're better. That's like almost
That's
an
exactly
ego
what it
draft
feels
where you're like,
like.
we're just going to scale and beat you. But like DRX is like, you can't just do that to us. We're going to make plays. We're going to kill you. And they didn't really have any tools to try and counteract that through the first 15 minutes.
I mean, what I think is super interesting is after game 1, we're all saying, this is such a difficult matchup for DRX because it feels like that Gen G is just you, but better. And then coming into game 3, it's almost like Gen G says,
Yeah,
we're
we
just
are.
them,
Yeah.
but we're better. And then DRX said, no,
Nope.
no, you are not.
Well,
and now they're so close to being able
DRX
to take
said,
it.
We're something different now. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. This Worlds has been about DRX finding a new identity, and it is paying dividends. So for Gen G, the pressure is on because after 8 years of struggle, Deft is now just 1 game away from claiming his spot on the finals stage. We'll see if he and all of DRX can punch their ticket to San Francisco
There we
in
go.
game 4 right after this. Over the wall. Looking for poke, they've corralled Chovy, they've corralled Peanut, they're locking him down, they handshake it back into the waiting arm, and DRX take the fight.
Has the flash, has the ult.
Fishing for the stun, now gonna find the lockdown, immediately gonna get the reset, now he's the karma, he gets forward, and Brother will kill Brother as a hostile takeover gets the job done. Handshake, Zeka on the flank, looking for Ruler, he gets it, he gets Nori into the R, he gets everything he wants, and now he can try to find another one. Zeka 2 lane again, Zeka, time after time, in the face of Chovy, damn your church, he is here to win.
Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing. Racing to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far and start walking. Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing. Racing to the moonlight and I'm speeding. I'm headed to the stars, ready to go far and start walking.
Yeah, that's the most I can give you.
Fine. Then it's time for the ace up my sleeve. My beloved squishy pig with...
With original holographic cover art.
Hey, Ash, what you selling?
Save the references, Jake from State Farm. I'm saying goodbye. This little piggy went to the game store.
You don't have to sell your favorite games. State Farm has coverage options, so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Thanks, Jake. Hands off the squish!
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
Red Bull gives you wings.
welcome back as we gear up for what very well could be the final game in this best of 5 series between DRX and Gen G. And yet again, we are witnessing history being made. Gen G were indomitable. Gen G were nigh unstoppable domestically. For many of these series have looked the same at Worlds, but today, DRX are firing back. This was expected to be the clean sweep. This was expected to be maybe one win for DRX, but now it is Gen G on the back foot, looking to recover in this 4th game.
I wonder if they leave Silas open this time and just go back to the first pick. They're gonna ban Akali, yeah. I think this is the direction they should go in. Gen G back on the blue side where they won game 1. DRX found a response on red, and we saw Caitlyn as their last ban. Aatrox is up, Silas is up. Just talk about the Caitlyn, the Sejuani, Viego. A lot of power picks now available. And Gen G are gonna first pick Silas. They are crazy if they don't take away that Silas. So we'll see what DRX's response is. Ryze could be a good one, but we haven't seen that from Zeka just yet.
No, we have not. Ahri, the standout, the surprise pick. We did see it domestically, hadn't seen it as much at Worlds. Seeing in the hands of Zeka, though, piloted it well. Even in a difficult game, found the picks, found the angles necessary to take Ruler out in the team fights. But DRX, you can see, debating what the final ban should be. It will be the Caitlyn. The Silas up and available. Chovy, is he confident enough to let it go through to pick something like the Ryze?
No way. No way are they giving Silas over to Zeka. I'm shocked.
Will they
It's
take
Akali
it?
ban as well.
And you have to think that they just want something with more proactivity for Peanut. They saw what Pyosik did on the Viego, how impactful the early game can be. Aiding now what the choice is going to be, and every pick feels so incredibly high stakes for the side of Gen G as DRX take their time here. But if they don't lock the Silas in the first 2, you have to feel that Gen G will take it away from them.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some kind of counter they're thinking of. I think Gen G are going to go Ryze into it, so DRX are not even picking the Silas. I'm so surprised because right now, Zeka is 6-0 on Silas at Worlds. It's his best champion by a mile, but I think they're scared of Ryze, you know? I think they're scared of picking Silas blind and running into it. There's the Ryze. Yeah, they were really worried about it, so good read by DRX to then counter the Ryze with something else. They didn't fall into Gen G's trap. They've gone for the Kindred though, and I think Gen G were teasing the Ryze. No, they're just gonna insta-lock it. There's the Ryze, Renekton. Gen G have recognized what the problem is. It's topside. Yes, you can get a small CS lead in bottom focus down there, but they need something to fight back with on this top side. Ryze, Renekton is their answer. And now what is Zeka's answer to the Ryze?
Debating what will the option be here. Letting the timer tick down. Letting mid lane go through.
Yeah.
Opting for the Gragas, opting for the safe topside matchup, trying to mitigate some of the potential power that could be present there.
Smart. Yeah, there's loads of picks into Ryze. You know, you can go from mages like Azir and Victor to assassins like LeBlanc, even team fighters like Lissandra. Adaptation here from DRX to take away Aphelios, gonna start targeting Ruler a little bit. And we expect Gen G to ban away those mid laners. Varus Karma would be an easy 4 pick here for Beryl. There's the Renata, so I expect double ban to support then. But we'll have to see what they have planned, but it's on Zeka. The amount he's done this series so far for his team. Going back to a control mage is not the style that I think DRX want to play or even we want to see.
Certainly, and he and Pyosik were what defined that 3rd game. Pyosik now once again on comfort, opting for the Kindred over something for Zeka. So it is on him once again to dig deep into the champion pool to show us more as more and more safe scaling. Late game 80 carries are taken off the board. Maybe this time around, DRX want to press their advantage on the bottom side, want to try their hand at dominating the bot lane, but that is a tall task in the face of Ruler and Lahan, regardless of the champions.
I wonder what bot lane they're thinking of here. They have taken away the Karma. They could go many directions right now. They could go really aggressive. They could go for some kind of... The craziest thing they could go for, of course, something like Samira Nautilus, right? But you expect them to play a bit more tamed. Ezreal would work into the Varus again. Xayah is another one that could be an option. Jhin as well, but is that going to be Zeka's Galio? Taking a page out of Faker's book. Trying to match global with global. Have the Galio ult on top of the Realm Warp to match the side lane plays. Xayah Rakan would be dangerous for DRX to deal with, but they have got counter pick support. They can go Varus Tum. They could even go for some kind of engaged support like Leona Nord to match into the Rakan, but I think Xayah is a very smart pick into the melee champions that DRX have so far, given the options that Ruler has. He can always ult the Varus ult. I'm a fan.
And definitely you can see the Gen G are finally ready to fight fire with fire. They're not worried anymore about playing clean, about playing precise. They have the tools needed to skirmish, to fight back in the early to mid game. They will not make the same mistakes they did in the draft in Game 3. Final pick here for Lehens. The linchpin to this draft. The Nautilus now locked in.
That's surprising that they go for Nautilus, because Beryl has a lot of options now. Tom Kench would do really well in the lane. Braum would do really well in shutting down the champions they have. I think Braum is actually an incredible pick here with double AD carry into Renekton, Ryze, Viego, Nautilus. A lot of short range. It's such a good pick. Can always E the feathers coming back as well. So I think this was a surprising Nautilus pick. Can be countered really easily by Beryl. A lot of different changes here from DRX, especially in the mid lane, but sticking to a similar kind of concept of the double AD carry, the tank top, and Beryl now on this Braum.
Well called on the Braum pick, Cadril. Excellent read on the situation. Of course, the potential for stuns, the ability to mitigate so much what the Ryze and the Xayah want to do in a front two backs team fight, as well as empowering the level 1. We'll see if DRX want to go for anything. Braum, one of the strongest level 1s in the game. And Gen G, again, finally ready to fight fire with fire. So many skirmishing tools that they can look to leverage, but for the first time in this series, we are not looking to Zeka. We are looking towards Deft, we are looking towards Pyosik as the dual carries on this lineup to bring it home for DRX.
The solo lane duo, the brothers in arms, the best friends in Kingen and Zeka are no longer the carries, they are the supporters. They are there to help Deft get ahead and help Deft get to his first Worlds Finals.
Conversely, on the opposite side, Gen G giving every single member on their team the opportunity to step up. It is not just Ruler and Chovy anymore, but Peanut and Doran getting in on the equation. Potential for this Renekton and Viego to absolutely take over the game. Something that has to be respected.
I think the Xayah gave them good scaling because of the on-hits, right? You know, Xayah, with crit items 3 or 4 can be a huge pain to deal with. We saw T1 around the Elder Dragon against RNG do something similar with Gumayushi on that Xayah. But the Renekton, Viego, Nautilus just hurts your scaling so much as a composition. I think Gen G's best spike is always going to be the mid-game, and if they don't get ahead, the longer the game goes against Braum, Varus, Kindred, they run out of gas, they run out of steam to actually get the backline down. So Chovy needs to get the ball rolling in this game, get Zeka under his tower, but Zeka's running Predator, and he's going to try to match these Ghost Realm Warp roams with his Global and his Keystone.
And you can see Zeka identifying it's not about him versus Chovy. It's about getting his lanes ahead. We're going to have to see him show us more again. We've seen what he can do. We can see him solo carry, but now he needs to support and get the rest of the team. DRX have the luxury. They can't afford to lose one more. They can also close it out here, and for Gen G, it is now do or die. Betting it all on Chovy's Ryze, on Ruler's Xayah, Peanuts Viego, Doran's Renekton. This is high-stakes League of Legends.
Gen G haven't really been in a position like this for a very long time where they're down in a series. You talked about Braum level 1. DRX agree. Double AD carry with a Braum. If a Q hits, they're as good as dead. Peanut, what is he going to do? He's going to run around here. He could wrap towards the enemy blue. This would be really smart, actually. What he's going to do is do the switcheroo, run to the enemy blue buff, take that while they're on his red. Bit of smoke and mirrors here by Peanuts. Really smart decision-making to just run to the enemy jungle and do the exact same thing to Pyosik. They don't actually have a ward on the entrance, so DRX have no clue that this is happening. And as Pyosik clears out these bot camps, he'll think to go towards his own red buff, so we'll see what he covers. He could full clear bot side and keep a split map, or he can move towards the top side and keep his own red buff alive. But DRX don't have information right now. They think Peanut's top side. Peanut could look for a great gank on bot lane in the next minute.
And how much is Peanut willing to gamble here? He has the creative pathing, he's taken away the blue. Once that gets spotted out, they'll know that Peanut is on bot side, but until they see that blue buff taken, they will have no idea for sure where Peanut is, because he's going to Wolves. He still doesn't know, but Peanut, he knows it is do or die. He does not want to flip it on a bot side play. Instead, opting to recall, opting to reset to take the small advantage.
Smart there by Peanut, just take a base. Get out of there as quickly as possible. If you get collapsed on, you're dead. No red buff, Kindred will chase you down, Braum will run across. And he trades 2 camps for 2. Red Raptors for blue Grom. Pyosik still has no idea that that's gone, I believe. Just as Wolves in the top side. So Peanut will get level 3 off Krugs, and Zeko will get these mid waves in.
Pushing course, Galio early on can be very frustrating to deal with as we get later into the game. Chovy going to be able to run circles around him. It'll be more about the big taunts, the big engages in the fights for the Galio. Meanwhile, on the top side, as expected, Renekton coming out on top early on. And Pyosik potentially going to show his face here in the top lane. A lot of good setup for him, the mounting dread. Going to make short work of that Renekton if they can make the play happen.
Good idea there from Pyosik. Do Krugs into red, keep red buff up as long as possible. Now Peanut is behind Ruler and Lehens. Sweeper there to get out a little bit of vision. I think they're just here to cover, to get the wave in. Maybe they feel threatened by a Kindred gank because of the split map. But the Crab is up, and they're going to deny the mark. They're going to deny the stack, and Pyosik still yet to do his red buff. I think Doran here can take top Crab as well, so there will be no Crab for Pyosik to pick up, and Peanut will look towards mid here. Zeka hasn't crashed the wave just yet. They're going to set up onto the mid laner. Nothing to do there, though.
Peanut showing his face a lot, just trying to create pressure in the lanes, but in the meantime, Pyosik is just farming up, already at a 1-camp lead, 2-camp lead, rather. One of those CS going awry, and should just leap over the wall here, but will be spotted out by the Scuttle Crab. Crucial that Doran's able to move down and take that one.
Oh, this timing from Doran. Doesn't spot out Pyosik. Puts a ward on the blue buff, though.
Where's Peanut going to go?
He's going to start it up.
That ward is so important.
No smite. That ward from Pyosik will spot Peanut as he moves. Chovy has mid push, but he's extremely low on mana, and Kingen is fighting Doran right now to make this an isolated 1v1. Pyosik doesn't have the smite though, so he doesn't have the confidence to pull it out and try to finish. Pyosik thinks Peanut doesn't know he's there, but he actually does. That's why Chovy's making sure he's around. Doran hasn't come down just yet. 2v1 in favor of DRX as of...
Waiting on the smite.
Yeah, smite's coming up. He's got it.
Pyosik just going to take this one away. Great use of the lanes there. The side of DRX, Kingen opting for a trade. Zeka taking advantage of the fact that Chovy is out of mana. Has to use that burn through that mana bar to get pressure in this lane, and Peanut is really the one suffering here.
Peanut doesn't know where Pyosik is still. There's a ward on topside river. There's a ward on the Scuttle, of course, as well. But Pyosik is based in fog, so he's still unsure where Pyosik is. So was a bit hesitant to start this one up. But I think given the amount of time that he's spent not seeing him, he can assume that Pyosik is backed away and moved towards his bot side camps, which have respawned. That Grump's actually level 2, so that helps him out a little bit. Barrow looking for Lehens here. Contesting bot waves.
Lehens just fishing for that hook onto Deft, hoping for that opportunity. Be a bit of a trade back and forth. The Winter's Bite will not connect, but Pyosik now showing his face once again on the bottom side of the map. I think maybe hoping to catch a respawn here on one of the camps instead. Level 4, but happy to solo the Dragon.
See if their bot lane can move. I think Gen G have the bot push, so he's sneaking this one under their nose. DRX are actually holding the way. Beryl's playing bodyguard here. What he's doing is stopping Lehens from getting into the river despite not having push. He's just body blocking the enemy supports from being able to check or get information. Needs to be careful though, because Peanut is behind Gen G's bot lane. A hook could mean a flash could be a follow-up.
Is also super low at this stage. They're starting to trade, they're getting aggressive. Beryl needs to get out of this one. Unbreakable already burned, Ignite now ticking, but Beryl will walk away safe. In the meantime, Pyosik just trying to take the Dragon. It's getting lower, it's ticking. Peanut waiting over the wall. Can they finish it? But yes, just barely they will find it. Now body blocking, stepping forward, Zeka. The bouncer at the door, making sure Chovy will not find first blood.
And Chovy flashes there to try to get the EW, but Pyosik dashes over the wall to drop vision. That means that Chovy cannot land that. It would be ideal if Chovy can get the root, because then Peanut can flash stun. But Pyosik was having none of it. Very risky, I have to say, from Pyosik. Took him so long to get that down. Doran levels up to 6, he should be all right. But he almost died and lost the Dragon there. That would have been such a big waste of time for the Kindred.
But the absolute confidence, again, that Pyosik is playing with right now, incredible to watch. Outmaneuvering a little bit here in the early game as well as sneaking away. Of course, it does cost Barrow his flash. DRX, bot lane, very aware of what they needed to commit. Trying to make sure that Dragon would go down uncontested. Right now, big advantage on the bottom side, 46 to 61. Ruler's going to make up most of that, but it will still be a small edge to Deft. Zeka returns to the mid lane and keeps the pressure on.
Herald's up very, very soon in the next minute, and DRX needs to establish some kind of topside control. They don't want Gen G to get that Herald to get the ball rolling. Chovy's got the spellbook, so he swapped this flash over to Cleanse. You'll need that against Galio Braum in the next fight, so I expect Gen G to contest it as well. Doran's had the top push the majority of this game, but Kingen's very happy on this. Gragas will just be a massive meatball for his team, disrupt the fights with the ultimate. And he's slowly stacking this wave, I think, because of the Herald spawn, but Pyosik's taking a base, and Gen G have the majority of their pinks on the bot side of the map. You can see that kind of line from their entrance to the bot side brush. And it's just a question of which bot lane moves first.
Absolutely is. One of the nice things about Zaya, obviously, she can match that wave clear when she's given access to the wave. Those feathers, the pullback, giving you so much control. Lahen's level 6 around the corner. Hook now going to connect. They're trying to knock down Barrel. Going to get the root, but Barrel, the unbreakable, living up to its name. He will not fall, but a good health trade means that Gen G access to the river, as you highlighted, Cadril, can take control before the next dragon spawns.
Gonna move towards mid here because Chovy's basing without TP. That pink ward might spot them if they look for Zeka, and they're just here to catch the wave. But we'll see what DRX does to respond, because I think Peanut's gonna start that Herald up. Pyosik is on the way. Deft is still bot lane. He doesn't actually start it yet. No, he did, so he's pulling it out. Pyosik's around. Deft's moving up, but Gen G have all the vision to know exactly where DRX are. They're engaged, a little bit lackluster. They need to hit a hook. Barrel could be close to 6, as well as Lahen's on this mid wave. They're gonna contest it.
Remember, this is the top side power that Gen G drafted for. Fishing for that stun now. You can see Viego in the bush, Peanut in the bush, waiting. Reset here big, though. Now Lahen's looking for the engage, trying to find the lockdown. Locked out Barrel, unbreakable, but now should surely fall. But here comes Zeka and the rest of the team. They're gonna lock out, they're gonna find first blood. Barrel still alive on the backside. The Lamb's respite, buying so much time. Gen G knows they need to get something back, but Deft is unafraid. Deft is still free firing at the pullback from Ruler. It's clean, but it's not quite enough to finish the job as Zeka dives into the back line. Still standing for now, but surely he should fall. And everybody is so low. Oh, are they still alive? But the feathers fly. Ruler finds one, wishes for 2, tries to find another. Barrel will finally fall, and Gen G fire back.
Such a back and forth fight. It turns into a 2-for-2. I believe Lahen's falling very, very early on in that fight, but he's back towards this Herald. Gen G will start it up. Pyosik's move towards the bot side to pick up his mark on the crab, so they will lose this objective. Very messy there. Doran didn't get his combo off. I think his flash didn't close enough distance to be able to get onto the back line of DRX. We'll see this again. So Lahen's just hooks. He gets a little bit of vision knowing that someone's in that bush from Chovy. Goes onto Barrel, but Pyosik doesn't panic and use the Lamb's respite. He just focuses down the Nautilus. As he dies, he ults for Barrel to get the heal. Zeka zones away Ruler. The ultimate from Deft is good, but let's watch Doran there. I think he tried to flash stun, but he didn't get it onto Pyosik. His model didn't move. Could be a spectator bug. And then Ruler is the one who turns this, gets Barrel low. Peanut chunks them out. DRX tried to fight back, but Ruler stays alive.
The last second root from Deft's ulti there, catching out the Renekton, catching out Doran, stopping him from getting more look at the blinking health bars. The unbreakable from Barrel. He should have died in the first exchange. He dies in the end, but he keeps his team standing. Excellent back and forth, but finally a bit of good news for the side of Gen G. Their top side 1-0-1. The damage, though, all about Ruler.
World champion AD carry showing why he is such. 30 seconds on the Dragon. DRX have kept on relying on this soul to be their main win condition this entire series long. Gen G have struggled to find Dragons past the mid game. A couple of early ones, but Zeka will look for the plate, has the Predator. Pyosik taking a base will move towards this bot side. We're going to get another fight around this Dragon. You can see on your screen there at the bottom side, Doran is just giving up top waves. He doesn't have TP. He needs to be here in time for this fight, so DRX will probably have to give this one up. We'll see what they can get in response. Kingen will be way too late, and Pyosik as well. But he's going to try his best to get down there by the looks of it. They're going to start it up, though.
Gen G, big Barrel again. Getting hit for the hook is big. Unbreakable going to buy a few more seconds. He needs to leap back into the arms of Pyosik. Now the retreat coming out. The hook coming in from over the wall. Big ulti coming in from Deft. And that's the pick now on the backside. Kingen looking for the avenue, looking for the entrance, but the side steps are clean from Gen G. They will not let that cast connect, but it's Pyosik back onto the Dragon. Pyosik with priority access, the pick. Giving the Dragon over to DRX.
That's the power of the Braum. You hook in, you're not getting out. You get locked up, you get stunned, you get knocked up, and all of the damage that you tried to do on that hook just gets blocked by the Braum. So, really good pick up there by Barrel from the draft. Trying to get this wave in, gets the stack on the cannon, gets the kill, and gets the Dragon. Ocean Soul this time around, but DRX already halfway there.
Certainly are. Pyosik waiting in the darkness. Zeka trying to look to lock him down. Goes golden, waiting out the taunt. It's clean from Chovy, but how will he escape? The Ghost now coming out, retreating to safety. Forced to flash, burn both sums just to make it out of the gank.
Rice and Chovy going to be in a very tough spot to contest these mid-waves. Pyosik doing work around the map. If you'd have told me 2 months ago Pyosik would be 1 game from a World's Finals, I would think you're a madman. I think you're crazy. But this series, he's been outperforming Peanuts, one of the best junglers in the LCK, and he might find another kill here. Doran, no flash, gets knocked, but he'd slice and dice his way away. But that's another mark for the Kindred, sitting at 3 in 12 minutes.
And again, this is the story of DRX. They were not the team that was supposed to make it out of LCK. A lot of people had Sandbox no matter who you had. See now though, Deft can survive the dive here. Stepping forward, Charge gonna come in. They'll get a few plates, but not a lot else. DRX constantly surviving, constantly evolving to push further and further into this tournament, but Gen G are the first seed in the LCK for a reason. You saw in the last fight how much damage Ruler did with 0 items under his belt. Have to respect the potential as we get later into this game.
And you just touched on it a little bit earlier on. I'll save that for now as we watch this replay. Hook hits, shield comes up, stun lands from your double AD carry. On top of the Varusult, you have nowhere to go. Knock up as well from the Brown. Chain CC is too much for Lehens, and he falls. DRX get the dragon. But you just talked about it. A lot of people thought Sandbox would be the 4th seed from the LCK. Prince was having a fantastic split, and their mid-jungle was finding so much success on things like Ari and Vi, but DRX overcame them despite losing in the first round of playoffs to them. They overcame KT, and they've overcome everything. Worlds is where miracles happen, and we can see that right now from DRX. I've never seen a player like Zeka have such an incredible upwards trajectory in the space of 1 or 2 months.
Has to be the most meteoric rise in history for any individual player. To go from middle of the pack to potentially the best, fighting for that opportunity now. Chovy holding on the taunt, now coming in, King and ready to go in over the wall. Chovy, goodbye! You don't gotta stopwatch anymore. Peanut now running, doing what he can to escape, to survive, but DRX are descending upon Gen G like wolves.
Look at them go, and they're not done just yet. Kingan's trying to find Peanuts. Doran's hitting the top tower. He'll pick up the first turret of the game. Pyosik is around. Beryl is moving up. Deft's pushing out bot. We'll see if they take this fight. We'll see if they try to take down the Renekton.
Looking to burn down Doran. Doran popping the ulti, the burst if he can turn here, but he's running out of fury. The Kolomik not going to connect. Looking to finish the job with the mounting dread, but just forcing the flash, and again, DRX finding advantage after advantage. The gold within touching distance, but 2 Drakes already to their name.
Pyosik's turned from a liability to a powerhouse jungler. Him and Beryl are running the map right now. Q-Flash misses from Beryl onto Chovy, but new kid on the block. Zeka lands the taunt, and they get the kill onto the mid laner of Gen G. The dive works. Peanut gets out. But DRX got what they came for. It's the kill onto Chovy with no flash that they forced earlier on.
Yep. Getting everything in that exchange. And you know Chovy's kicking himself because maybe he could have just flashed on the earlier play, kept the stopwatch or vice versa, but burned everything and so had nothing left to defend himself. Flash just around the corner. We'll be able to survive the next play, but DRX already setting up a chokehold on the top side of the map, ready for the next Herald.
It's a checklist here for DRX. Push out lanes, make sure you cover, set down vision, push out the next wave, then look for the setup in denying their face checks. But a bit of an awkward spot right now because with 45 seconds on the Dragon, I believe Herald is spawning soon as well, and both these teams want to crack open that mid-tier 1. So DRX look like they're posturing on the top side. They want to get this Herald first. The first objective to spawn. Zeka has the ultimate, no TP. Chovy has the Realm Warp, no TP. Double global on the mid laners. They can join this fight at an instant. Pyosik doesn't want to stay in that pit for too long. DRX don't have any point and click engage without the Gragas flash, but they have a lot of threat. That means Gen G cannot be the ones to engage. The hook cannot connect because there's no stopwatch, and Beryl will turn the fight with the Unbreakable. Chovy's here. Zeka's here. DRX have started up the Herald.
DRX go back so incredibly well. Beryl holding on to all of his cooldowns, knowing if he burns the Unbreakable too soon, it could mean the end of the fight. The Herald being contested. 4 members of Gen G in the area. Now 5 as Chovy descends. Zeka ready with the ultimate to respond. The hook going to connect, but will not catch Kingan over the wall. Herald now being taken out, knocked down by DRX. Gen G walking away empty-handed, but here comes Zeka. Just fishing for a bit of poke, hoping to maybe burn a summoner spell. Walking away, knowing that they got what they came for.
Gen G are first to this Dragon, though. Sole point for DRX. They do not want to give this one up. No ultimates used on either side. Kingan using the wall on the hook. Beryl face check. Finds Doran.
Again, the second the concussive blows have marked you, it is so hard for you to dive into the back line. There's a Braum, there is a Kindred. You need so much time to burn down DRX.
So much pressure on both these teams fighting for a Worlds final. DRX are going to start it up. Chovy a little bit split, has the Realm Warp if he wants to rejoin his team. Lehens and Peanut together as a jungle support, looking for a hook onto Beryl. He has no flash, but he has the Unbreakable. There's the Realm Warp, but he doesn't choose to take it. He wants to sandwich the rest of DRX with Doran on the flank.
Over the wall. Hook now going in under the Braum. Zeka onto the flank, fishing for the angle. Will lock up Ruler. Ruler immediately going to cleanse. Now the fog coming into the Braum. Ruler untouched to the backside. Keep your eyes on the feather. They could just be everything. That's going to be the shutdown. Doran leaping forward. Ruler untouched. Now Gen G, opportunity. Peanut stepping forward, peeling back now. Barrel and Deft, the last two standing. Kingen off to the side, but it is Gen G taking the fight.
Peanut takes down Pyosik, picks up the Spirit Form, and then shuts down DRX. The engage from Zeka was good onto Lehens, but the follow-up of the solo laners of Gen G and Peanut is enough to stop the Soul Point and stop DRX in their tracks of finding themselves towards a Worlds final.
And again, you talked about the pressure in that fight, but Gen G pulled off, they execute. Now trying to keep the pressure up, that bot lane tower so low. To be able to take it soon, and again, denying Soul Point, buying themselves more time to get items under the belt of their carries.
And this fight would turn on its head if Pyosik could get the ultimate off. Lehens dies. This flank from Zeka are really good in forcing the bot lane of Gen G back. Kingen's marking Chovy, but watch Peanut and Doran here. They find Pyosik, they get the shutdown onto him. He cannot use the Lamb's Respite. If he could, they would have turned this fight, but the reset there for Peanut picks up the soul, pushes DRX's bot lane back to allow Chovy and the rest of Gen G to take down Zeka.
And this is the level of decisiveness we needed to see from Gen G if they wanted to bring us to a game 5. They cannot hesitate on these cooldowns against this Braum or against this Kindred. And now they fish for the dive. Kingen trying to buy as much space as he can. The tower surely set to fall. Chovy now chasing, running. This Gragas, there's no way you can make it out of this one. Locked up, the CC coming through. Kingen will fall. Doran on a killing spree.
Herald placed in mid. DRX are playing on 2 lanes here. They'll look for mid tier 1 and top tier 1. Gen G, great pick there onto the Gragas. They get the tower. DRX quick to respond in terms of trading these objectives. Zeka should get this top tower. Chunk onto mid. And that's the power of the Herald. It gives you a tempo cheat. You know, if you don't have a push in the lane or you're not confident enough to siege because they have wave clear, it's a cheat button to make sure that you can answer a cross map just like that from the side of Gen G. Good kill though. And Doran on this Renekton sitting at 3-0 and 2. Incredibly strong in this mid game.
And look at the gold within touching distance as we crest 20 minutes.
Oh, Lehens
caught out. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the concussive blow stack. Zeka waiting off to the side. The support surely going to fall. The ruler has to be watched, has to be respected. On Doran, Chovy on the front line. They put them into the meat grinder, taking them out one at a time. DRX overstepping their welcome in the enemy jungle.
That's the second time the Renekton stun is stopping Pyosik from getting the Lamb's Respite. Gen G's win condition in these fights is very clear. Get on top of the Kindred, lock him down before he can get the ult, and then play the fight out from there onwards. Lehens is going to be the one to tank all the damage and probably fall in the fight, but allowing them to move forwards with the Lamb's Respite down is what's helping Gen G win these fights. And DRX didn't even have the damage to take down the support of Gen G in a 3v1. Zeka was a little bit far away. Pyosik couldn't get his full combo off, manages to get the E damage out. Barrel blocks out Ruler, but it's the stun again with the ult's Fury. Pyosik can't do anything. He might need a QSS this game or some kind of Mikhail's.
And we very much see the role reversal from the previous game, where it was Ruler and Chovy trying to dish out all the damage to carry the team. This time around it is Deft and Pyosik, and if you cut that Kindred down, all of the damage falls with it. Yes, Zeka is building AP. Yes, he has a bit of burst, but it is not enough against so much sustain on the opposite side. Divine Sunder, the Renekton healing. It's hard to match. For DRX, the execution has to be clean from this point out because Gen G have fought back. They've gotten out of the deficit. They have the lead, and their characters are stronger in the skirmish.
They are 1 minute 40 seconds on the Dragon. Baron's up. Gen G have much better options in rushing down the Baron this time. Before they had Sylas and Varus, not so good on the rush, but Ryze and Xayah are. You can use the Ryze ult, push in mid-waves to tier 1s or tier 2s, ult towards the Baron as 4 or 5, buy yourselves an extra 5 to 10 seconds to rush it down. Alternatively, you can use it for a turn. We'll see what Gen G opts into, but right now it's all about bot side control, saving Chovy, making sure he can push out these waves, making sure he's safe for when the dragon spawns in a minute's time to rush that one down, slowly stack up these dragons. Very even game right now. Slight gold lead to Gen G, but DRX have that extra dragon in their back pocket.
And again, credit to Gen G, keeping the mental up, even after a difficult early game in this one. They fought back here in the mid game, keep it within touching distance.
Ruler building towards 3 items. Will be the late game insurance for Gen G. Doran will get them through the mid game. Chovy and Ruler will get them through the late game. Set up in their favor. DRX, not enough vision to walk into this river just yet. They need to see resets. They need to see champions on waves. Atlanta supporting DRX right now. Supporting Deft and his mission. His long mission to get to that Worlds final.
And it's good to hear, even in the face of a team that was called by so many, myself included, the favorites for this series in Gen G. The crowd still willing to rally behind names like DRX. You can understand why after the previous games, but here in the mid lane, Ruler trying to take control. Second item now completed for Deft, ready to fight back a bit more in this fight, but again, it's all sustained damage. They don't have the immediate reliable burst, and it's Gen G moving in uncontested to take their second dragon of the game.
DRX don't have the vision to fight this, do they? They're just going to give it up. No real harm done. Evening up the dragons. They need more time for Deft to pick up a third item. They need more time to set up. Lehens has the flash, has to use it against the Chains of Corruption from Deft.
Bit of poke coming in the mid lane. Gen G posturing, 4 members, 5 members coming into the area, just in case DRX try anything tricky around the Baron. You know, you can feel the tension.
Yeah.
For Gen G, it's all an elimination match every fight. Any misstep could be their last in the tournament. DRX rallying, holding on, fishing for these farm and opportunities to just scale more into the game.
Zeka forces Doran back. One mistake could cost you everything. For Gen G, it could cost them a World Championship final. For DRX, it could...
What? Oh.
Chovy, did he just...
Yep.
Did he panic, or did he have smite on a spellbook or something?
I think Fat Finger on the flash, potentially. It is hard to say without watching the replay, but potentially a sign of nerves setting in. We look at Chovy so often as this player who is mechanical, methodical, almost robotic in the precision that he plays League of Legends with, but he talked about it in some of the videos. It's not that he's not afraid. He overcomes it to perform at the level he does, and you have to wonder if this pressure, this insurmountable, seemingly endless amount of pressure on this stage in front of a crowd that's so ready to cheer for DRX is getting to him as we get later and later into this series.
Yeah, it's hard to know, but it looks like it is. Down in CS a little bit right now, down a level, lost his flash, so DRX know that, and they're going to try to capitalize on it. Vision war continues around this top side for Baron. Both of these teams paying a lot of respect, don't want to overextend, want to make sure that they're taking high probability plays, but they can take a risk. DRX have good Baron rush. Gen G similarly. Just need to get the vision out. They need to push the opposing team back and then force them to come into you. That one ward, giving a lot of information over to Gen G right now. What's the play? Peanut giving information to Lehens. Doesn't have flash. Push in from Doran on the bot side. 2 levels up onto Kingen, who has to group with his team. Push in the next wave. Has the TP.
Kingen missing out on CS just to be around for that play. Does have the TP, as does Doran. But gonna give up a lot of CS and a lot of damage on that bot lane tier 2 tower. Just to posture, just to fish for a potential opportunity. And Doran really a monster in this game, 3-0-3. Last game was very difficult for the team overall, but he is showing up on this Renekton.
Yeah.
Really prioritizing his pieces and his key to success instead of the bot lane has now paid off for Gen G.
And he will have Guardian Angel in the next base, you have to imagine. Will be a real pain for DRX to get down. They have the AD carries to kite back and deal a lot of damage, but if he can find that stun onto Pyosik again, Gen G will win the fight. Pyosik
off the wall, Barrow to follow immediately, fishing for the opportunity, but he's still gonna get locked on the flash forward. Barrow and Pyosik, the dynamic duo. Support and jungle now turn their sights on the Baron.
That is the window they've been waiting for. The jungle support strikes. The Baron is up. TP in from Doran. They haven't started it yet. They're baiting it. Realm Warp for Vision. DRX don't even start up the objective. They get a TP, they get an ultimate, they get a pick. Zeka knows Doran's up here.
But you know the pressure on them because the second he went down, Doran immediately TP'd. They can't afford to misstep. You see the pressure time and time again, but it is Zeka zoning, looking for an opportunity, trying to lock down the Renekton. Pyosik coming over the wall, ready to deal the damage. Concussive blows have marked him. Ignite has marked him, and there is no one here to protect him. It is Doran versus the world. It is Doran versus DRX, and DRX come out on top.
And they're capitalizing on Gen G's mistakes. Peanut disrespecting topside Vision. Doran TPing up there a little bit too early. Is now the time to start the Baron, I wonder. 2 items on Deft. Doran 30 seconds, no TP. Ward in the pit though, no pink down from DRX, so Gen G have all the information they need. Ultimate coming up from Peanut soon. Zeka doesn't have the Predator up just yet, but he wants to zone them away. Don't forget about the Kindred ult, they could bait it once again.
Looking for that opportunity, locking Peanut out of the pit. It's going lower and lower, there's no jungle, and it does not matter. That is the Baron for DRX. Peanut now has to run unstoppable on the retreat, but DRX have got what they came for. Zeka zoning, DRX eyes on the prize, they will take the objective.
And they are so close to booking their ticket to the World's Final. 2 picks, a Baron, 30 seconds on this next Dragon to put them on soul point. All of DRX take a base. They run down towards this bot side river. Gen G need to respond. Chovy swapped over to the Smite. This could be their last stand.
And the gold, dead even. This game, skill versus skill. It is not about snowballing. It is not about beating the opposition with your wallet. Outplaying and outmaneuvering. Catching Peanut, taking the objective, setting their sights now on the Dragon. And it looks like Gen G know that this is not their time to fight. Giving soul point away to DRX, knowing they cannot afford to take this. Peanut perhaps can fish for the steal, but instead happy to just go back to his own safety of the jungle.
It's Ruler. Ruler versus the world now for Gen G when he gets that Infinity Edge. 2 levels up on Deft. Despite these picks, I think Gen G's team fight is still incredibly strong. DRX need to respect it. They're playing 1-4 right now. Kingen doesn't have TP, but neither does Doran. Ruler is showing on mid to catch the waves. When he gets that Infinity Edge, he will melt through the front line of DRX. But as of now, with this Baron buff, that's 1 tower. Can they find more?
Doing so well to mark the flanks on the side of DRX, pushing forward, and this is such a hard situation for Gen G to fight. They have to be fully confident when they pull the trigger. Again, a single misstep can cost them everything. In the mid lane, Kingen pushing in already, trying to get more gold out of this Baron buff. Already plus 2k on the Red Bull Baron power play. Looking for a bit more. This tier 2 surely will fall. The rest of his team now on the bottom side, playing across 2 lanes. Doing what they can with their range advantage, but respecting the potential for Gen G to pull the trigger here in bot lane.
DRX keeping up the siege. Proving absolutely everyone wrong. Looking for this bot tier 2, looking for the win. With this Baron buff, 45 seconds left. They got the mid tier 2, they got the bot tier 1. Realm Warp from Chovy after clearing mid waves to help defend.
Will they commit for the fight? Lahen's ulti, the big sources of CC, where will they go? Deft ready to disengage at a moment's notice. The taunt waiting in the darkness in the brush. DRX, confident, it is slow, it is steady, it is methodical.
They're gonna keep up the pressure. 3 minutes, 20 seconds away from that soul. They wanna keep Gen G in their base. They're gonna have to base soon though, because they have a lot of gold to spend. Watch Kingen's ult, he might be looking at it from over the wall. There's the ult.
Lock up, now trying to take out Doran. Doran, how much more time does he have? Follow-up lock-up is gonna hit Lahens, it might hit Ruler as well. They're trying to lock down everybody. Chovy being pushed away, it will be the tier 2 falling. Gen G know better than to commit on that one. The recall is immediately coming out. DRX got what they came for.
Good macro and good patience from DRX. They didn't disrespect Gen G, overforce any kind of dives. They don't want to make any mistakes with the lead they've been given. And now they're ahead up against Gen G, who were stronger in the mid-game with this Renekton, but all those picks and that Baron have put them in the lead now. Zeka is ahead of Chovy. Ruler, though, has picked up the Infinity Edge. Ruler is the one who needs to stand his ground and carry Gen G to this Game 5.
So much pressure on a single player. But if it had to go on anyone, you'd want it on the man who's lifted the trophy before, on the world champion. Ruler, no doubt, the most consistent. He did it in Game 5. The Lucian, the Quadra in the face of Damwon. Can he bring Gen G to a Game 5 here?
2 minutes on the Dragon, and there will be a moment to take a breath until that spawns. Neither team will look for anything else. There's no objectives to play for, there's no towers to siege down. There's only waves to catch, and 2 minutes to discuss how you're gonna fight this. Gen G gonna give some respect to DRX as they get the waves in and push into their jungle to get some vision. Chovy being very conscious not to get caught out on top wave. He's gonna join his team and wait for the waves to crash so he can catch them. And 1 minute 40 seconds left. I think DRX will have the setup, of course. It's just whether Gen G can find a way in, an avenue. Through mid it looks hard, but through bots with Doran's push, that might be their way to fight the Dragon.
Keep your eyes on the vision. Flanking wards and teleports, perhaps the avenue to get into the back line of DRX, to do what they did twice already this game and delete Pyosik instantly in the fight. Ruler only getting stronger. Similar story for Pyosik. 3 items for both of the respective AD threats on the side of DRX. And I love this from Zeka. No tanky items, here for full damage. That combo, ready to take Ruler out at a moment's notice if he missteps.
Waves being pushed in, Chovy taking his final base before what you expect to be the last team fight of the game.
But there is one play that DRX could do to catch Gen.G off guard, and looking at their vision, they might look for it. They could bait a Dragon Start, then they could all go towards the Nash and actually force that as Gen.G tried to deny that soul. Luckily for Gen.G, they have the Realm Warp, they have the Rise ult to keep up with that kind of pace and that decision-making. Chovy swapping over to the heal. Gen.G need to get mid-waves in so they can get information to work with 30 seconds left. Deft coming out of base, Pyosik and Zeka coming down towards mid. Both teams want to get mid-wave in. Peanut face checking.
Stepping in, this is risky. Peanut goes unstoppable. The mark's already hitting him, but he will retreat. That's lots of summoners already burned. The heal now coming out. Chovy taking that one out. DRX looking to fight their way in. And you can tell the pressure, the arena. So quiet as every single person in here waits on the edge of their seat for this moment. Could be the defining moment of the game. 10 seconds left till the soul will spawn.
Deft is farming Raptors. They're going to go onto mid-wave here. DRX are going to go through mid. Gen.G are going to go through bot. Crab over to Peanuts. Movement speed in the fight might help them out a little bit. No flanks just yet. Chovy could ult Lehens behind them or something along those lines, but it's very dangerous. This is it. This will decide everything. Deft looking for the dragon. Pyosik has the smite, has the Lamb's Respite if he needs it.
Battle lines drawn. Either side looking to hit the dragon, either side looking to risk the 50-50. Why flip the coin on your future here at Worlds 2022? Taking their time now, arrows being charged up, poke being traded back and forth. All it takes is a single misstep, a single mistake, and either side will leap into the enemy backline. 6K getting lower, DRX think this is their opportunity. Barrel looking for the knockup, and he's going to miss it! And it's the soul! And it will be a slaughter in the pit! Pyosik and Deft back to back as brothers slaughtering the front line and the back line of Gen.G. It is Ruler versus the world, but the Gale Force will not be enough.
He's dead! Kingan's gonna get the kill! No, Ruler turns it around! He gets Kingan! He gets Barrel! He falls! It's 3 members of DRX left! Chovy has respawned! I'm not sure if they have enough to look for the full end. Chovy's gonna have to clear the wave. DRX 3v1, can they take the win?
Chovy versus the world. A heroic effort from Ruler to buy time, to buy space, to give an opportunity to hold on and fight again. But the odds only stack more and more in the favor of DRX. They have taken the soul. They will take the Baron. Gen.G on their last legs need to find a way back.
What a fight from DRX. Barrel buying time for Pyosik. Nets them such powerful buffs to look for the win. They're waiting on the respawns of Barrel and Kingan to make sure everybody has a piece of the Baron buff. And with 5 members strong, the siege is inbound. 1 minute to set up, but look at this from Barrel. Just goes straight forwards, tells his team to finish it, just drops the ultimate. Look at that. Splits them up so much. Then watch Kingan's ult as well. Just splits everything. No front to back whatsoever. Pyosik gets the dragon. Flashes away from Doran, who was looking for the stun. And then the double AD carry turns.
The knockback into the taunt of Galio. It is clean team play and execution. And while Gen.G do what they can to fight back, while Ruler does what he can to fight back, all he does is delay. Cannot find a greater victory. It is still clean play and a pleasure to watch, but not enough for Gen.G to turn this one.
And Barrel gets the last laugh as he kills the world champion and takes him down for the full ace. Frustration on the side of Gen.G, elation on the side of DRX. I don't even think the coaching staff can believe what they're seeing right now. They're watching their team climb from a losing in playoffs round 1 of the LCK to Sandbox to almost pushing their ticket to the World's final.
Barrel looking for Ruler! It could just be everything. He's forcing it out now, buying as much time as they can with the Lamb's Respite. They want to keep this fight going. DRX do not want a slow game. They find their pick. They find the angle. Doran spotted out. He will not be able to TP back to help the rest of the team. The siege begins for DRX.
Zeka doesn't have the TP. He's trying to gap close as much as possible to be ready with the Galio. There's the TP from Doran to help the wave clear. The Baron buffed up creeps are coming in. Gen.G are slowly holding on, but DRX will start to move forwards. They'll start to push them back. They'll start to look for a base break, and they'll get it. Inhibitor will fall. DRX put a dent already into Gen.G. The world champions from 2017, looking incredibly vulnerable right now. DRX looking for Nexus towers.
Barrel blocking what he can. A lot of damage under the Nexus towers. Zeka already breaking open mid lane. A second inhibitor surely will fall. Gen.G knowing that this next fight will be their last. Stepping back. Buying brief moments.
They're gonna force it.
They get it. Stepping in. The carries are so strong. Doran goes into the meat grinder, and he is taken out.
is waiting in the World Finals. Gen.G shell-shocked. And for one moment, the world stops spinning. The sun refuses to set on the dreams of Deft. In what could be his final year, he has one shot at a title. Something he's never had in his entire career before.
DRX are limitless. Every time they have been doubted, they have stepped up. Your predictions against them, your doubt is there, Ambrosia. They are unstoppable. They are the first team to go from play-ins to finals. This is Def's first final. It is the third for Beryl. Zeka, on his wings, on his back, on his Akali or Silas, he has made his mark on this stage.
Keep doubting them, and they will only get stronger. Heartbreak for Ruler. What has been such a successful last 6 months.
Uy, ¿qué fue? ¿Dónde ganó de Ricky? Se acaba de volver, weón. Quiero, ¿qué pasó? ¡Ah, no! Ganó de Ricky, weón. Ya ni forma de que hayan jugado otra. Ultimate F. Huevón. Va a ser Def contra Faker. El video se hizo canon, huevón. El video de TikTok. La concha de su madre, ¿en serio? No lo creo. No, huevón, sí. Ya está, ya pasó ya. Estoy viendo repetición nada más. Al Ultimate F. ¿Quién es el que la caga, el que la vende? El top seguramente. O el mid queriendo hacer una play. El carry 1 vs 1. El soporte por un war. El jungla. No, Pino, no me das que fue tu culpa, weón. No fue por Pino. Ya, a ver. ¿Quién es ese soporte? Jungla. El jungla creo va a ser. Va a ser el Pino el que la vende, creo. Este es Alma para RX. Pues. A ver quién ya trolea acá. Te juro que puedo volver, weón.
Looking for the dragon, Piosik has the smite, has the lamb's respite if he needs it. Battle line drawn. Either side looking to hit the dragon, either side looking to risk the 50-50. Why flip the coin?
Pero está bien, yo estoy feliz.
On your future here,
ganó bien. Ya está, fue bueno. Oye, no, me dejé, me quedé jato y después me fui abajo un rato a hacer otras cosas. Y acabo de ver. Ancestral, digo, Alma. No hay daño. Uy, ¿qué pasó con Chovy? Se quedó parado como puto. Ah, mucho CC del Varus. Ya fue, pues. Ya me lo voy a ver en Onibia, ya fue. No puedo hacer nada, ya está ahí. Ah, bueno, ¿cómo termina esto? What the fuck, Ruler. Ruler. ¿Dónde mola? Esa no era la última. Acá es la última. Esa no fue la última. Yo pensé que esa era la última ya. Hasta ya. Z, soporte. Mira los tops. ¿Qué están haciendo los tops ahí? No, top y medio. Puta madre, weón. Oye, Renekton, anda con tu equipo, huevón. Se cree nazo, este concha su madre. Para un poco de Ruler. No, sí, man. Oh, me da pena un poco de Pinut y Chovy, weón. Aunque todavía ellos están más jóvenes, tienen más oportunidades, pero Def ya se va a ver su poquito en las montañas, ahí bajando de helicópteros, metiendo bala al narcos. Uy. No, el top, no, weón, tú eres esperado, weón. Ya cago, ya está, la agarraron al medio. No, ya. Imposible ese Galio. No, Z. Fayosic. Como gime de mierda. Todos mirando a Def. Solo. Qué rico. Ahora si no, yo voy a ir sí o sí. Yo te digo, yo voy a ir sí o sí, voy a ir al cine a ver, weón. O sea, yo por Def y por Faker, weón. Jugadores súper antiguos. Va a estar bien interesante, ¿eh? Suave que lo suben el precio de las entradas, mano, me cago. Voy a ver sí o sí esa huevada. O sea, solo con gente de 45. Mano, qué chucha, ¿para qué trabajo? Para gastarlo. A ver, películas, vamos a buscar por películas. ¿Sale así? No sale así. ¿Tengo LOL sale? ¿Cómo lo encontré otra vez? Ya me olvidé, weón. Sin el planes. Ahí está, final de cuentas acá está. Dijo Brian que era 38. El último hubo que voy a ver. Hoy una noche, sábado 5 de noviembre. Huevón, queda poquito tiempo. Ahora quiero ver acá. Ah no, puta, no hay incómodo. Brasil, Centro Cívico, Chiclayo, Módulo, CP Norte, ¿qué es esto? Plaza Norte. Plaza Norte, supongo, ¿no? San Miguel, Plaza Norte, pues. Ajá. Oye, huevón, no. Mierda. Están separando, huevón. Mierda, están separando. Solo es una función, pues. Puta, yo me meto acá, creo J15, ¿no? Solito ahí. Acá. ¿Dónde mierda me compro? Más ratito me compro, tengo que ir a comer ahorita. Celebración este weón. Se enfermo de mierda. Oh, nice. Sal por allí en India. T1 versus DRX. A ver, ganaron a Edward y a Genji. A Royal Never Give Up. Interesante, ¿eh? Bueno, ahí se acaba. Más tarde vuelvo para ver esta vaina. Puta madre, caos. A ver, así está en Plaza Norte, pero a ver. En otro cine, ponle atrás, cancelar. Centro Cívico, Mall del Sur, Primavera, San Miguel, Villa Salvador. A San Miguel, a ver cómo está San Miguel. Ah, la mierda, peor, weón. Peor, San Miguel ya está peor ya. Ok. Hoy día sacaba las entradas buenas, ¿eh? Y me voy a ver al fondo, creo. El de 14. Quiero estar al medio. Me da hueva estar acá a los costados. Ya, peque chucho. Ojalá que no se llene, ¿eh? La vaina es que se va a llenar porque me he caído 2 cabros acá. Al fondo.
New T1 dynasty, or is the end of potential end rather of Def's story one of victory?
Uy, verdad, me quedé
one
en
of
el
elation against the most insurmountable odds I think we have.
How have they done it? How have they beaten EDG? How have they beaten Gen G?
It's
incredible.
It's a good question. We'll ask the analyst desk later, but for now, we're joining G-Sun on stage with both Deft and...
No, ese huevo en su cara. Parece de anime ese huevo.
Back to Zeka. Congratulations team to team
Este quién es? Seca. Ah, creo que sí.
Then you 듣는 건가요?
Con cayó.
Vice
Van a llorar, ¿qué fue?
barely made it to Worlds, but you guys pushed through since finals. How you guys were on? 올해 DRX가 정말 많은 산전수전을 겪은 스테이지를 거쳐 극복하면서 오늘 이렇게 계신가요?
한 명 한 명 빼놓지 않고 다 올해 그 상황에서도 그냥 아무렇지 않은데 정신.
Yeah, able to steam to cave.
Ahí se quedó, recién va ahí. Asegurado, para mí otra para ti.
Someone with so much knowledge and experience. 그렇다면 제카 선수는
Nada más, ¿no?
선수라는 정말
Si no te veo con plata en mano, no te creo.
엄청난 경험과 경력을 갖고 있는 선수에게 어떤 점을 배우고 계신가요?
Parece Byte.
그냥 프로게이머를 하면 국경을 보면은 그냥 모든 점이 존경스럽고 배울 점이 많다고 생각해서 너무 좋은 선수인 것 같아요.
Solo tengo que pagar ahorita.
I mean, I respect Deft for everything he does. You know, there's just everything he does is something I have to learn from. And back to Deft, then what can you learn from Zeka, a player that is so young but popping off here at Worlds? 그렇다면 또 역으로 제카 선수 엄청난 신인인데 이렇게 월드 무대에서 놀라운 활약을 보여주고 있잖아요. 데프트 선수는 제카 선수에게 어떤 부분을 배울 수 있을까요?
사실 그냥 뭔가 매 경기마다 발전하는 게 보여서 사실 뭘 배운다기보다는 그냥 부러운 것 같아요.
33 soles está.
I mean, he's doing a fantastic job in every game.
Ay,
It's
solo
not,
puedo comprar una,
I can
man.
learn.
No tiene vouchers disponibles. Oh, solo puedo comprar una, no puedo comprar para más gente. Ah, no, imbécil, yo escogí una butaca, pues, claro. Espérate, si cojo más, ahí está.
And Zeka, this Worlds has become your superstar party, and next up is a matchup against Faker, the unkillable Demi King. Do you think you'll be able to take down the GOAT and become the next superstar?
Continuar.
그리고 제카 선수는 이번 월즈 무대를 통해서 이미 슈퍼스타로 자리매김을 한 것 같습니다. 이제 나머지 하나의 남은 매치업은 바로 페이커 선수인데요. 이런 불사 대마왕을 꺾고 또 제카 선수의 이름을 여기 남길 수 있을 것 같나요?
일단 젠지 이기는 거에서도 엄청 힘들다고 생각했었는데 이렇게 막상 이기고 나니까 잘하는 팀 상대로도 저희가
165 lucas las 5 entradas.
No
he comprado todavía, huevón. No estoy comprando.
Even coming today against Genji, we were pretty nervous about playing against them, and we made it happen. So now that we are facing T1, even though they are a very strong opponent, we were able to gain confidence.